A girl sobs, and a nun kneels beside her, smiling like nothing's wrong. A church spire rises behind them. Watching, the boy already wonders, why does her smile never match the crying? Now a line of children stares straight ahead as a stranger's shoe fills the doorway. He's heavy-set, ringed, smoking a cigar like he owns the room. Two kids stand right under him, and he's already decided which one he wants. So the man leads the boy out to a waiting car, and a hand reaches after him too late. The others just watch. Meanwhile, the nun gathers the rest, praying with eyes that don't match her voice. What comes next isn't school, blades between teeth, fists clenched through pain, scars nobody explains. A boy answers calmly, needle to his cheek, it already has a name. Gifted education. A woman stands by a wall of knives, calling the man behind her a special discipline officer. A silver-haired man in a priest's collar smiles and gives the real orders. Obey the buyer. Rows of kids kneel in white, waiting their turn, and one of them, Sion, gets shown a photo. Memorize this face. Now this boy spots it first. A car's been tailing them, and he warns the man he calls father. The man brushes off the warning, calls him a kid seeing things. Then he grabs the boy's head and forces him toward a photo. Shut up, he snaps, and memorize it. The boy answers flat, yes, father, order received. Rain falls around them, and the man just looms over him. Bigger, unreadable. Then it all breaks at once. An impact so hard, the number 76 brands itself across the sky. And for 1 second, there's only noise. The car flips. Does surviving this mean he finally gets to stop being what they made him? He stares down at a man bleeding out beside him, in shock. Then he grabs the man's wrist, blood tracking down his own face like tears, and something in him goes very still. Because by the time the gun comes up, he's not answering to Hyunho anymore. He's Sean now, crouched behind a wrecked car, aiming steady, a rifle at his side. Sean fires from behind the wrecked car, while the bearded gunman blasts away beside him. Then he's the one down, screaming, blood cutting through the dirt on his face. He's not okay. Nearby, two suited men square off, one begging, one snarling back. One gunman aims down at the hooded boy kneeling by the wreck. His partner floats the obvious move, just deal with him. Then he stops himself. He's still a kid, he mutters, and lets him go instead. The suited man crouches over Sean's bloodied, unconscious body, checking if he's still breathing. Then he grips his collar and hair, hauling his head up. He apologizes under his breath for what comes next. A bloodied hand reaches out of the shadows, Sean still holding a gun. A bleeding man grabs his wrist hard, refusing to let go. Why does he still fight for him? Off to the side, the blonde gunman aims at a man crawling from the flipped car. Sean peers out from behind him, eyes gone red, gun held low and ready. Somewhere close a leg lies torn open, a dark shape standing over it. Then the bearded rifleman takes a round to the skull while he's still aiming. Blood bursts upward as rain pours down under the Gothic tower. Meanwhile, at the church running this operation, a gray-haired man smiles over the children's files like inventory. He murmurs over their photos. These kids, weighing who still earns their keep. Sean's profile gets stamped deactivated in red, erased from the ledger for good. The priest smirks under the crucifix like it's nothing personal. Somewhere else, a fist slams down on a newspaper marked the same red. Rings flash, a tattooed knuckle catching the light. Somebody's not happy. Turns out he's already blending into an ordinary crosswalk crowd. Just another face heading home from school. Probably living in hiding now, everyone assumes. Just a regular kid. Now, a fist cracks out fast, and the swing that follows blurs everything around it. By the time it settles, a kid's on his knees between scattered boxes, head bowed. Hyunho and the others just watch, smoking. Honestly, Hyunho leans down, smirking. What's he even trying to say? The kid startles, sweat breaking on his face, and blurts out a flat shit before catching himself. Then he catches himself, thumbs up, insisting it's a perfect shit score, 180,000 points. Nice save. Of course the whole group loses it, laughing and slapping hands. Somebody hollers that Yusef's fist scores the exact same number. So, somewhere in a dim alley nearby, someone snatches up a dropped notebook fast. A blonde classmate shoves the black-haired boy hard, grinning like it's a game. The other barely reacts. Then the two collide in a scramble of legs, one red sneaker flashing. Fists start flying between them, a friend shouting for them to knock it off. One of them vows he'll match Yusef's number too. Then it's over and the black-haired boy just cracks his knuckles, smiling like nothing happened. A hand starts shaking, fingers twitching out of control. His bespectacled friend spots it and swears under his breath. Then he grabs the blonde boy, thrashing and screaming now, holding him down. He's like this again, he mutters, out of order. So Yusef's temper hasn't cooled, teeth bared, fist already swinging at nothing. The others just brace, waiting for it to pass again. Hyunho just watches, calm behind his glasses, a faint smile forming. Then his fist snaps forward. One hit, and it's over. Yusef touches his cheek like it might be broken, then grins anyway. So it's really 180,000 points. He breathes, pleased with the damage. Hyunho just glances back, satisfied, and walks off. Yusef calls after him that he's leaving. No argument at all. Now, Yusef circles back, rubbing his forehead, temper still simmering. He can't let go of the insult. He grabs Hyunho by the collar, right in his face. Was that really not a perfect score? He can't fight here, Yusef warned, so follow him or he's dead today. His grip tightens on Hyunho's wrist. Understand? Hyunho just stares back, unbothered. not even a flinch. Yusuf wipes his mouth and keeps pushing about the score anyway. Turns out the shop just ahead shares Hyunho's name. Right there on the sign, Hyunho Snack Bar. Somewhere else, an empty gym floor. Just a dark mark scarred into the wood and no one around to explain it. Old woman's already smiling, warm as always, the second they walk in. Well, Hyunho's grip on his skewer tightens. A stranger nearby clocks him. The grin that follows is slow, hungry, like he's found exactly what he came for. A blade flashes near him. What's this guy's angle? Before Hyunho even decides, his hand's already moving. A blade's in his own grip, lunging down at the stranger's shocked face. He pulls back just as fast, sweat cold on his skin, breath short. What just moved through him? Meanwhile, inside, Mom's pinching her own cheek, laughing as Yusuf leans in to tease her. Hyunho tells her they have to go, friends are waiting. Naturally, she doesn't argue, just wraps up a bundle of food fast, then stands there beaming, bags in hand, proud to send him off fed. Old woman hands a boy a free bag of food, no charge. Sion tells her not to, but she's already smiling, eyes crinkled shut like it's nothing at all. Off to the side, a man in a suit watches, face unreadable. The kid grins, bag held high, already thanking her for the meal. Then the man's hand closes on Sion's jacket, hard and sudden. Sion's eyes cut to Yusuf, some message he can't get out. Yusuf's already saying goodbye to old woman, not even looking back. Sion's hand goes up like he might call out. He doesn't. Sion's jaw is tight, sweat cutting through rain on his face. The old woman turns away when he pushes about it again. He explodes anyway. I told you that, he screams into the storm. Down the road, Mom stands worn out in front of the shop, hands folded together. All she manages is that she's happy, like keeping this family fed costs her nothing. So elsewhere, a fist clenches until the knuckles go white. Hyunho yanks a torn, sauce-stained shirt into the air, demanding to know what happened. The stain's still wet on the school badge, stitched to the collar, deliberate, not an accident. A hooded upperclassman hauls Sion in by the collar, grinning. He forces him down at the table where the shirt came from. Hyunho doesn't step in. He just smirks, asks if Sion's planning to cry to his mom about it. Sion grips what's left of his blazer and looks straight at Hyunho. Was friend ever real to you? He asks, voice breaking under the mess. Hyunho answers by dumping a drink over his head instead, right as Sion threatens to tell everyone. A hand slams the table, sauce and rice scattering everywhere. Sion sits alone after, drenched, glasses cracked, saying nothing. Something in him just decided. Meanwhile, back in that rain, a gloved hand closes around something long and red. Hyunho looks up sharp like he heard it too, did he? A man closes in on Sion and the only thing in reach is a pen, red-capped, held up like a blade. Now, back at the shop, Mom stands alone in the fog, apron heavy with rain. That's why, she starts, then stops, like the rest costs too much to say. The pen catches the light, held too tight in his hand. Sion glances sideways, jaw locked, gripping it flat against his own collar. He's taken every hit without swinging back. Then, without warning, he drives it forward with a snarl, blood already flecked on his face. The clash leaves the classroom soaked in blood, desks overturned, classmates scrambling for the door. Over it, a man's face twists wide-eyed and snarling under something dark raised above him. The hooded bully leans against the ledge now, blood dripping straight off his fist. Then an officer bursts through the doorway and freezes, staring straight at him. Hyunho. That's as far as he gets. Off to the side, Yusuf's eyes narrow, sweat sliding down his cheek, already sensing this is about to get worse. Turns out, somewhere else in the building, an ordinary classroom sits untouched, just rows of desks, and a kid with a bowl cut, no idea what's happening 2 floors up. Outside, 2 officers stand over a shattered window, blood streaked down the railing below. Books and broken glasses litter the floor inside, blood pooled across both. More officers arrive, looking down grim-faced, already treating this as a crime scene. Hyunho stands in the middle of it, broken glass at his feet, an officer right beside him. His fist is bloodied, raised, still shaking. Did he do this? Blood keeps dripping, off someone's fist, off someone's swing, and right now nobody, including him, can say whose. Now the beating doesn't stop. Fist after fist slams him into the wall, while people below just crouch and watch. By the end, he's hauled up by the collar and pinned against the glass, face bruised, barely conscious. Outside, the building looks calm again, flowers blooming below the windows like nothing happened. Nearby, a garden stone carries an old engraving. Do it, and it's done. Meanwhile, a hooded man eyes the boarded up building next door, already planning his next move. Smoking and smiling, he's got the cover story ready. Hyunho was just pushed while they were playing around. Sion breaks into a nervous sweat as a heavy-set man behind him holds out a pen. The hooded man stands over them, briefcase and bottles scattered around, ready to make it official. Turns out there's a second man in on it. Gold earring and cigarette. He tells a young man exactly what to say. Confess, say Hyunho was pushed. He grips the kid's shoulder, smiling, reassuring him it's nothing to worry about. The young man reads the document, sweating, torn about what he's being asked to sign. The earringed man lays out the loophole, calm and cold. No plaintiff means no lawsuit. Of course there's money on the table too. A briefcase stacked stacked with cash bundles. He hesitates first, then stands over the bills, smirking, tossing something between his fingers. Two more figures close in behind him, and now he's boxed in with no way out. Somewhere else, an older woman breaks down in tears. Hyunho sits alone, silent. How do you fight back when everyone's already decided you did it? So, night falls, and the target's apartment building looms under a clouded sky. A masked man confirms the floor, 5th, while a hooded figure lurks close behind, watching. The elevator light shows 5, then stalls halfway down. Inside, a pack of masked men wait with bats and pipes, confused why it stopped. One of them gives up and heads for the stairs instead, tense, gripping the railing. Honestly, not one of theirs. It's Hyunho, mask pulled down around his neck, eyes sharp, he's already waiting for them. They think a stalled elevator will slow him down. Instead, a fire extinguisher props the doors open, and Hyunho's already past it, pipe in hand, climbing alone. Why set a trap this obvious unless they wanted him to see it? Naturally, something's wrong. A man in black freezes mid-step, eyes wide, while a hooded shape ducks low by the railing. Another figure catches the movement and turns, sharp. Over there? So Hyunho freezes on the stairs, mask up, pinned by a stranger's shadow. The man leans in and says he only needs 2 questions. What kind of man corners a kid in a stairwell for that? The man peels his scarf down, smirking like the question just cracked a memory loose. He's seen this family before. Turns out he's replaying an old memory, watching them from a distance. Yusuf grins, sharing skewers with the neighborhood kids outside the snack bar. Hyunho stands there too, arguing quietly with his mom, unaware he's being watched. Another memory surfaces. A hooded man, blonde hair catching the light, watching in silence. Behind a scarred, tattooed operative near a ladder, a second hooded figure raises a metal pipe, an ambush mid-strike. But the man doesn't flinch. He was waiting for this. Just in time, he smirks, turning to meet the strike head on. Next thing, the two of them are running together, laughing like old friends. Meanwhile, another flash hits. The blonde man doubles over laughing, accused of secretly guarding him the whole time. One of his own crew, protecting Hyunho this whole time. Why? Now, back in the stairwell, a fist locks around fabric while an attacker smirks over the weapon between them. A wrist snaps up to block the next strike. Someone's hand finds the fire extinguisher lying on the floor. Yusuf swings a metal bar hard, snarling a curse at the hooded man, holding the extinguisher. It doesn't land. The extinguisher connects first, and he's thrown backward through the air. Naturally, the hooded man keeps swinging. Something small and sharp skittering past his leg. He snaps his head up, alert, hearing something new. Then he levels the extinguisher nozzle and sprays. Hyunho's in it now, teeth bared, moving through the blur of the fight. He grabs a knife as masked men close in from every side. One pins him down. Yusuf swings the extinguisher down with everything he's got. It connects, and the attacker drops. One of the others hisses, this one's not playing around. But a hooded man with a knife grabs him from behind, and Hyunho goes tumbling down the stairs. He hits hard, teeth gritted, muscles straining. He forces himself back up. Well, 2 silhouettes wait for him at the top of the stairs, weapons raised. Instead, Hyunho swings first, and the extinguisher cracks across the knife man's face. He staggers back, cursing through the blood, but Hyunho isn't done. The last man grabs for the extinguisher too, and for a second, they're both wrestling over the nozzle. Hyunho wrenches it free and swings. The man's face goes slack, blood and light blurring together as he drops. The crew came for 2 kids in the stairwell, figuring it'd be quick. Instead, it's Hyunho standing over one of them, boot pressing down as he warns him about the bone in his foot. Yusuf still catches a fist and goes down. Proof the fight isn't over. His eyes stay locked and the words come out flat. Don't touch a kid without his parents say so. One more crouches sobbing, an older man just watching, grim, while Hyunho lays out the 3rd rule, the one that matters most. He stands over the next one calm and controlled, blood spreading across the pavement as a bloodied hand reaches up, still screaming. Now cut back to the snack bar counter for 1 warm second. The old woman is smiling, telling anyone who'll listen that Hyunho's friends are all her own kids too. Back in the stairwell, one more of them goes down under a boot planted near his head. Yusuf's fist comes down hard. Somewhere against a vent, blood keeps dripping long after the sound stops. Meanwhile, inside Dead Mansion's gothic compound, a knock comes at the gate, and a nun answers holding up a phone lit with one word, Korea. Her face goes serious before she even speaks, and the priest catches the name at once. Pass it to me, he says. Turns out that's what the call is about, and even Hyunho has to wonder, is this really what's still underneath? After everything he's built? He stands alone now, the crew down around him, while the readout comes in cold, infiltration, weapon skills, and even VIP assassination. He steps past a dead man's body like it's nothing, school shoes inches from the blood. So, cut to a quiet courtyard. Cherry blossoms falling over a stone building. A statue of King Sejong holding an open book. Hyunho stands small in front of it, just a kid again, for one more moment. 5 years back, a boy flinches from a tall man in a dark suit, hand raised like it could actually stop what's coming. Even then, one question was already there. Why him? The man remembers it clean even now, pressing his hands to his face. That was already 5 years ago. Back at the church, the priest looks up at the crucifix and grins grins wide enough to show gold teeth, breathing out, "Oh Lord." His hands clasped together in prayer, dark marks inked across his fingers, a ring catching the light. Then the order goes out, hurry up and bring him back, by any means necessary. They've already pulled his file. Silver hair, a fresh wound over one eye, a rosary knotted at his throat. Somewhere close, a woman straps a rifle to her thigh, already moving. Turns out the hooded man outside the snack bar is Kwon Byung-woo, Yusuf's father. He folds into a full bow, apologizing in front of everyone. He swears he'll cover every medical bill and every bit of damage this did to the boy's mind. Behind the counter, his mother's hand goes still over the sauce bottles. She won't turn around, she won't say a word, just stares at the counter under the sign that reads Hyun Ho. A girl in her school uniform bolts past a parked car. She's had enough. Meanwhile, a suited man grins at something that clearly didn't go his way. "Oh, it didn't work?" he says, almost delighted by the failure. He straightens his tie, not the least bit worried. He tells the frightened old shopkeeper they're leaving now. Then he wipes his hands on a handkerchief, mid-sentence about how efficiency matters most. Whatever he just did to finish the job, he doesn't need to say it out loud. The old man freezes mid-wipe, rag still in hand. His eyes go wide. Now, in the back of a car, a bearded man presses a handkerchief to his nose. This, he says, is exactly his kind of job. Rain streaks the windows as the car rolls towards some rundown block. He can't stand the smell, can't understand how anyone runs a business out here. Well, he asks what happened to that kid. Someone should have finished the job and called in by now. In the front seat, the other man watches the window, jaw tight. So, they pull up outside a hospital, Sanlim University Sungsim Hospital, lit up against the night. Inside, the boy in the hospital bed goes rigid the moment the door opens. It's Hyunho, and he knows exactly who just walked in. The suited man looms over him now, and all Hyunho can say is, "Three principles?" The nurse starts recounting what she saw, something about him suddenly. A hand cuts her off mid-sentence. Kwon Byung-woo freezes, one eye wide, hand pressed hard against his own face. He asks for just a moment alone, then leans over to check on the boy himself. Behind him, someone slips out of the room, and nobody stops to notice. Kwon Byung-woo stands alone under a slash of blood-red text. What did he just figure out? The suited man's hand closes around Hyunho's face, pinning him to the bed. He leans in close, earring catching the light, eyes cold. His fist tightens on the rail beside Hyunho's bandaged arm. "A wrench to their house," he says, letting the threat hang. Is that really what he thinks Hyunho did? He smirks, flicking his fingers near his tie in no hurry at all. So Hyunho yells and fights back, and a blow catches him square in the chest. An alley, empty now. Boxes scattered, a bag dropped, and one shadow slammed hard against the wall. The uncles close in fast, one boot already cocked back to kick. Hyunho's pinned between two of them as a huge gloved hand rears up to strike. He asks the uncles what this is about. Beside him, his bag and lunch lie crushed, the ground stamped with the sounds of a beating already underway. He goes down hard, hair flat against the concrete. The man standing over him doesn't even raise his voice. "Things don't always go as planned, do they?" he says. The suited man loosens his tie unbothered, a strip of torn cloth still hanging off his glove like a trophy. He doesn't rush, not even close. A black-gloved hand drops onto the back of his skull, ready to grab and lift. Hyunho's eyes stay open, wide, awake, still watching, even flat on the ground under someone's shoe. Since when do uncles hit like this, he wonders, ribs already screaming. One of the suited men grabs his wrist and pins it flat. He leans down close, starting to explain what comes next. Fear finally cracks the defiance on his face. The bespectacled one adjusts his glasses, calm as ever, cold all the way through. A polished shoe comes down on Hyunho's shoulder, pinning him flat to the pavement. Then the man starts to speak again. "This is," he says, and lets the rest hang in the air. Well, by the time they're done, the alley's gone quiet. Sunset light falling flat over the wreckage. Somewhere close, a voice cries out, then nothing. Meanwhile, Yusuf walks it off across town, knuckles raw, cracking them out of habit. He drops onto a crate and shakes out his arm, wincing. These men, he mutters, can't even tell a dislocated joint from a broken one. His fist won't stop trembling. Whatever he was about to say about the three, he swallows it back down. He grabs his bag and keeps moving. Hyunho drifts past a stranger at dusk, still dazed, when the man starts talking behind him. Up ahead, the old woman freezes mid-step, groceries clutched tight, her eyes going wide at what she sees. A pair of dark shoes plants still on the pavement. Yusuf spots him and throws up an awkward hand. "Ah, hello," he blurts, sweat breaking out despite the casual wave. Now it's the snack bar, a fork-spearing sausage straight off the plate. Yusuf sits hunched over his food, quiet and wary, working through it without a word. The old woman sets down another plate, telling him to have some, gentle as ever. Hyunho stands off to the side, watching with a hard, unreadable stare. Then the old woman looks up sharp, a gasp catching in her throat. Does she already know what happened to him, he wonders, bracing for the question. Yusuf eats like he hasn't seen food in days, plate after plate disappearing fast. He drains his glass in one go and slams it down empty. "Well, thank you for the meal," he calls out, while the The owner just watches, worn thin. Honestly, he goes quiet after that, fist clenched tight in his lap, whatever's eating him, staying unsaid. Beside him, the owner keeps slicing food without a word, her face turned half away. Somewhere else entirely, Hyunho lies wired to oxygen and an oar bandaged unconscious. It's the memory about to break his mother's guilt wide open. Meanwhile, at the shop, Hyunho's mom chops vegetables with her hands shaking near the blade. She's crying before she even notices, tears falling onto the cutting board. Her son ended up like that, and she couldn't do a thing about it. She doesn't even feel the knife slip. It cuts clean across her hand. Across the table, Sion cries too, quiet, like it's the same wound. Yusuf sits beside him, and the whole diner feels tipped over with grief. Now mom turns toward the window and tells him quietly, "I'm sorry, Sion." She can't finish it. She just leans over the empty table and cries without a sound. The plates on the table sit empty and scraped clean. It's the only proof anyone ate here at all. So, across town, Byung-woo Construction wraps its third quarter numbers, and the tower lights up for it. Kwon Pyung-woo raises his glass, riding high on the results. Up on the balcony, he tells the room his company has come this far. Of course, the men below bow like it's scripture. Honestly, a waiter keeps the wine coming, and he leans back, eyes closed, soaking it in. Then, more wine. One of the guests waves his bottle around, mocking someone, demanding it louder. Then it happens fast. Blood sprays and glass shatters as he's thrown backward. A blonde young man already mid-swing above him. He's down, he's sprawled by a cart, and he isn't moving. Yusuf grabs his wrist and twists, calm and focused, despite the rage right in front of him. "What's with this brat?" the man roars, but this guy doesn't even flinch. Naturally, the bald bodyguard squares up, sure his size will end this fast. He swings a mug at Yusuf's head, and it hits nothing but air. Then Yusuf's fist lands, and glass and blood go everywhere at once. Blood beads across Yusuf's fingers, where the glass bites into his skin. It's the cost of fighting with a broken cup. Turns out the guards are still coming. One shouts, "Get that blonde kid," as a fork flies at his face. Yusuf throws a plate next, and another man drops in the dark. Around him, the room freezes at the blood pooling on the floor. A scarred man barks the order everyone's already thinking. "Find that blonde kid." The order goes out, and word starts moving through the hall faster than he can. Well, across the room, an executive with a goatee goes still over his wine glass. Blonde-haired kid, something in his face says he already knows the answer. Under a cloth nearby, Yusuf is already hidden, knife ready. He's waiting on a suited man who has no idea he's there. He strikes fast. A cluster of men go down before they can even shout. Then he crouches, breathing hard, blood dripping from his hair. Done for now. Now the crying comes too, fist balled tight, grief and fury tangled into one motion. He swings something heavy, a bell torn loose, and it connects hard. A hand shoots up, too slow to block what already lands. Blood blooms across his sleeve. He kicks a chair into two more suits, one of them snarling, "That brat." Then he's airborne again, dropping his whole weight onto the bald man below. Debris flies, one eye locked through the blur of his own hair, and he keeps moving. The bald man swings a tray down at him, pinned beneath a table, and it lands hard. When the dust settles, the bald man's down for good, and someone new is already stepping into frame. Of course, there's another one waiting. A man in glasses peels off his glove like the fight barely counts. "Do it properly," he sneers, before Yusuf's fist clenches and the dark closes in. The glasses man grabs his wrist and wrenches it hard. Yusuf strikes back anyway. The scream says everything. Yusuf stands over the last one, blade planted in the floor, a fresh cut bleeding down his cheek. What's left of the security detail keeps its distance now, nobody stepping closer. By tomorrow, this is going to be a story nobody can explain. Meanwhile, up on the balcony, a gun swings down and lines up on Yusuf below. Why is Sean the one aiming it? The shot fires, smoke still curling off the barrel when his own hand starts shaking. Another gunman's already on the stairs, aiming down at Yusuf standing over a body on the floor. He wants to know if Yusuf runs with some Korean crew, and Yusuf starts to say no. Hands up, blood still on them, a fresh cut catching the light on his cheek. Well, whatever Yusuf says back isn't crew talk at all. Snacks, the gunman repeats, like he's sure he heard it wrong. The barrel's already against his skull before he can explain. The gun swings to Sean next, barrel leveled between his eyes. "No," Sean says, flat. Then his head snaps forward, and the gunman never sees it coming. Naturally, the gun goes flying before the man even registers he's been hit. How many more of these does he have to walk away from? He grabs the man's collar, and they go down together, off balance, tumbling toward the stairs. Turns out the fight's already spilled outside, rain hammering down on a body that isn't moving. Someone's shoulder heaves once under the downpour, and that's the only sign anyone's still alive down there. Yusuf's still going. Fist already split at the knuckle, he swings again through the rain. The punch lands, and it leaves a mark that isn't going to fade anytime soon. Blood sprays from his skull as he screams. Then it's just a blur, motion and static, too fast to read. Now, across the wreckage, Yusuf goes still, half his face lost to shadow. He's not thinking about the men on the floor. His father's absolute command is louder than any of this. A man in a suit lies collapsed on the tiles as the chandelier above him keeps swinging. Somewhere close, a voice remarks calmly that efficiency matters, flat against all that blood. Barely conscious, he tries to speak, something about taking care of it, and the words die with him. Sion presses the gun near near his own bloodied shoulder and snaps that these are unnecessary words. The third principle, he says, and fires straight up at the chandelier. If a parent's safety is threatened, that alone is reason enough to act. So the chandelier shakes, crystals trembling from the shot. Below, the second man drops, sprawled and still. The threat is gone. Sion walks out through the doorway as gold and debris scatter. Like father, like son, someone says. Nearby, bloodied and bare-shouldered, Yusuf looks away. Both of you are the same, he says flat. Then the scene cuts cold, an ore bag dripping in a quiet hospital room. A nurse adjusts the line beside the bed, tending to the patient with practiced calm. She climbs the stairs after, back turned, saying nothing. Prepping a fresh syringe, she asks him something offhand. What were those 3 principles he mentioned? Hyunho goes cold. How does she even know that phrase? Hyunho sits up fast. What is that reddish color doing in his line? She only smiles, adjusting the drip, and promises that half a dose alone won't kill him. Meanwhile, in another room, a gloved hand closes into a fist beside a man bound to a chair. The interrogator drives a needle into his arm, demanding an answer he won't give. Elsewhere, a masked figure pins a struggling woman down, injecting her too, calling it the absolute 3 principles. A single tear slides down a young man's scarred cheek. Then he's screaming, panicked. He swears he knows nothing. The masked man grabs a woman by the hair, forcing her head down. He wants to know what she told her father earlier that day, or he'll change the question. She kneels beside a black bag as a blade hovers near someone just out of frame. She holds up a phone, a fresh cut above her eye, a pearl necklace catching the light. Standing over a hall full of fallen bodies, she says it plain. Codename Sean. Word reaches an elder hunched in a dark study, gripping the phone tight. Use their power, he repeats, low and tense. Turns out the truth flips hard. She's the one standing, heel pressed on a man twice her size, the rest broken around her. Word already spreads that this just became top priority. The elder grits his teeth into the phone, sweat sliding down his jaw. He gives the order flat. Never happened. Now he tears through the shelf himself, books and papers crashing to the floor. Behind him, another robed figure stands over the wreckage, sorting through files stamped sold out. So, a file falls open on a photo marked sold out. A row of faceless kids under the stamp. One man grabs it and freezes, hand flying to his head. One file jumps the line before all the others. Sean, stamped lost, just became priority number 1. Meanwhile, the masked woman is already moving, one hand at her earpiece, blood still drying on the wall behind her. Beside her, a man grips her arm through the broken glass. Yes, understood, he says. The two of them step over a dropped knife and a cloth sack, crossing the wreck on foot. 2 suited men saunter past broken wine glasses, laughing, not looking back. She watches, then reports in, smoker confirmed, and the man they call Barcode Head. They'll strike once the pair clears the scene. Of course, Barcode Head jokes about how kids dress these days, combing what's left of his hair. Smoker just glares, unimpressed. Behind them a sign reads Byungwoo Construction. One of them wonders out loud why their boss never shows for nights like this. One of their crew turns up outside a school gate, a fresh bruise under his eye, watching students file past. Footsteps land hard and deliberate nearby. He's not the only one here with a plan. Honestly, a new face slips right into that school hallway without anyone blinking twice. A student bows and calls her teacher, cheerful as any other morning. She waves back like she belongs there. Turns out the smile isn't for the hallway at all. Alone a beat later, her mouth curls into something sharper. Something thrilled sparkles behind her eyes, like she's already celebrating. The frame blurs, hair and shoulder dissolving into memory. Then the memory lands. A nun kneels in a courtyard, gripping young Sean's wrist while trained kids spar behind them. You were the best of them all, she tells him. Back in the present, she glances through a window, smile faint but sure of something. She already knows more than she's letting on. Through the glass, Yusuf stands over a man bent double on a desk, casual as ever, smirking down at him. Her smile drops. That was Sean's move, she realizes, right down to the wrist grip. Our boy's still bragging, recounting the warning he gave the bowed-tattooed man. Don't act up, Yusuf Kwan, or else. Across the room, a young man clutches his skull and shouts, pushed past his limit. The young man lunges across the classroom, fist first. Through the window, her face goes tight with alarm. For a flash, a darker memory cuts in. A hooded figure pulls a wire tight near a boy's face. A body lies limp on the bunk above. Everyone in that room knows Yusuf doesn't lose fights like this. Just like that, he's flat on the tile. The big man looming over him like it cost nothing. The strongest, he thinks. So why? The fist comes down anyway. Wait, hold on, sorry, Yusuf begs, arms up. Through the window, she just keeps watching. She doesn't move to help. Cut to Hyunho, face half in shadow, unreadable. Who is she, really? Why does just watching her make his stomach drop? Well, Hyunho stands at the front with papers in hand, voice steady for the class. Yes, this is a school assembly, he confirms. Now he's about to explain exactly who their guest speaker really is. Hyunho studies the file. Is its subject still bound by the 3 principles, even now? He decides to keep watching and grinds the pen down until it sparks. Turns out this isn't new. In memory, a nun watches young Sean study while the other kids scratch their heads, stuck. Good children of Dead Mansion, she taught him need brains as much as muscle. Meanwhile, Mom clears her throat, awkward in front of a man in a fur coat. Elsewhere, a woman frets. If this is a disguise, even that should have stayed hidden. A blonde man holds something sharp near Sion's face, watching him without blinking. His jaw locks, tendons pulled tight over the table's edge. Then he slams his own head down, temper with nowhere else to go. Well, across town, a blonde woman sits alone on a closed toilet lid, cigarette burning low. She stares at the scar on her forehead. Old sketches nearby show blood and a raised knife, and she wonders if it is all coincidence. Now, somewhere off-screen, the orders change. Change of plans, says a voice over a wrapped bundle on the floor. A hand yanks a girl by the hair, and she stumbles out through a doorway into the street. Yusef clutches his head on the sidewalk, groaning about the pain. The girl just watches, flat and unconvinced, not buying it. Of course, Yusef spins around, fist half raised, like he has caught a threat. An old man shuffles past, hauling 2 heavy trash bags, one leaking plant stems. Yusef's eyes narrow anyway. Sion steps up first, taking the bag before anyone else can offer, and the old man thanks him by name. The group walks on together, Hyunho grinning wide, the girl distant beside him. Is he really just one more kid on this street? Skewers hiss in the fryer oil, steam curling up. Old woman works the counter while the girl watches from behind her, quiet. Honestly, the closer she looks, the more Yusef eats like an animal, sauce already smeared near his mouth. She chews her own and wonders, quietly, what this loud kid really means to the people around him. She bites down, certain now. You're not Sean, kid. The tteokbokki hits her tongue and she yelps, fanning her mouth with her hand. She gasps that it is way too spicy, eyes watering, while the vendor looms over her, amused. Naturally, the vendor hands her water before she even asks, and she grabs it fast, tongue still out. Just like that, Yusef smirks at her ruined composure, red-faced and sweating beside her. So, her face settles into something calmer, one finger tapping her chin. Whatever plan just clicked into place, she is keeping it to herself. Cut back further still, to a small Hyunho grimacing through spicy food of his own. A nun holds his hand and waits it out with him, watery-eyed but calm. Now she's still catching her breath from the chili when a hand catches her sleeve from behind. Across the stalls, Hyunho boxes up a takeout order. He keeps his head down, just another face in the crowd. A young man grits his teeth through the burn, refusing to flinch. She watches, blowing on her own cup, face still flushed from the same test. Old woman asks for help with her bags, and Sion jumps in without hesitation. She rewards him with tteokbokki, then finds one more thing for him to carry. Always yes, of course. Meanwhile, Hyunho's mom watches all this with narrowed eyes. It's the same wary look she gives Yusef, hauling a marked box past the school gate. Job done, he stretches with a satisfied smirk, while old woman hands over another bagged snack. A schoolgirl pays for her snack, and old woman starts counting out change. Then, a fist slams down. A blade drops out of nowhere, swinging for her neck. The shop dissolves into blurred motion. Yusef launches into the air, weapon in hand, cutting toward whoever's gone after old woman. Turns out she saw this coming. She smirks through it all. Behind the counter, the cook flinches at the noise as sparks jump off the power lines outside. She swings hard, the mansion's old rule spilling out of her as she strikes. Her fist connects and blood sprays from his mouth. So footsteps close in behind Hyunho. Why won't she stop following him? He swings around, gripping a stick tight, done pretending not to notice. He blurts her name back, Aunt Rachel. They end up face to face, the stick locked hard between them. Her smile turns fanged. So it really is you, Sean? He wrenches the stick back, shouting the same question at her. Sean? The name lands wrong, foreheads nearly touching, and her smile never wavers. Now, Sean's grip tightens on the stick between them. Something about her story doesn't line up, and he says so flat out. He tells her plainly that none of it makes sense. He swings first, wordless. He grabs her mid-motion and throws her clean into the air. Both of them crash down together, a tangle of limbs and dust. Expected this to end fast. Instead, she's the one standing over him, fist in his collar, face unreadable. He just stares back, jaw tight, saying nothing. Turns out that grip drags something old to the surface. A memory. A boy kneeling amid men he's already put down, blood on his hand. Then a shape in the rain, face lost behind soaked hair. He looks up shaken, the rain around him suddenly too real. What was that? His jaw clenches, eyes narrowing, teeth gritted against a memory he can't place. Nearby, Rachel reels back, bloodied, nose bleeding, flinching at unseen words. She turns and walks alone into a dark alley, past pipes and idle machinery. Meanwhile, a man bolts through the alley, cursing, sprinting past crates like something's chasing him. A bloodied stranger waits there instead, face hidden behind dark hair, hand raised. Hyunho only catches a glimpse, and the question won't let go. Who was that? Across the city, a furious voice tears through a gothic building at night. On the phone, Kwon Byung-moo roars about a target who slipped the net. How could you let him get away? Rachel and another operative come down the stairs to explain, and the excuse is thin. One moment of guard down. That's all it took for him to vanish. So, in his private study, the director isn't buying it either. His fist tightens, jaw set, already smelling a lie under the official story. Then he turns turns back to Rachel, calm again, already handing down new orders. Back at the snack bar door, old woman lays into a man for cutting the line. Rude, and she says so. Old woman and mom walk down the hallway together. Mom trails a step behind, worry written across her face. Alone in a dim chapel, the director kneels before a wall crucifix, hands clasped, back turned to everything, moonlight the only company. Well, back at the counter, mom flinches at something just said to her. Eyes wide, she asks what he means by that. Old woman warns a masked man off, telling him plainly to stay away from their Sion. He steps closer anyway, and she keeps eating, unbothered, letting the warning stand on its own. Sion just looks down, quiet, caught between the two of them. Now the masked man calls himself Munsik, smirking as he tells her to feel the guilt. Old woman just grips his shoulder and lectures him instead. Being an adult, she says, means owning up. She warns him never to come back, still smiling as she says it. Munsik just says no. Her smile drops cold, and she asks if he's really picking a fight over this. Then she rounds on the hooded man beside her. She demands to know if he's ever really seen Sion's face. He looks back, calm on the surface, working something out underneath. A young man nearby smirks as he adjusts his collar. Then his fist tightens on his own shirt. He'd always figured boys just grew up that way. Then the grin turns cold, and it's not a boy's face looking back anymore. Meanwhile, Hyunho catches someone lingering close behind him in the dusk. A small knot of familiar faces watches from a distance, old woman and mom among them. Turns out none of them ever decided to start checking on him. It just happened. Mom breaks down in her apron, sobbing that he needs a real parent, someone who won't look away. So, old woman rounds on the man, jabbing a finger in his face, accusing him outright. Mom cuts in fast, bowing low, and apologizing before things go further. Old woman says nothing back, jaw locked, fist trembling at her chest. Now, somewhere across town, a caller reports to the director that the first attempt has failed. In the alley, coat and umbrella left behind, old woman stands alone, still shaking. She held her ground. On the other end, a woman with glowing red eyes takes the news with a smile. Somewhere above the city, another watches the glowing red cross, already thinking ahead. Well, it looks like any other night at our 100 mart. An old man picks through the bread while a masked figure watches him from the shelves, unnoticed. A gloved hand closes around the device, thumb resting on the button. The woman holding it presses it to her own chest and snarls that no one gets to take Sean. Beside Heinho, a tall stranger warns it'll cost him if he tries. Then the trigger sparks for real. On the wall, a hidden device blinks red and starts to beep, already armed. The explosion tears through the store in one violent burst, throwing Hunho with it. What just happened? He's still mid-air, debris spinning past his face, and he doesn't know yet. Water sprays down through a cracked sprinkler overhead, mist blurring everything around him. Hunho looks up, hand raised on reflex, and spots an armed shape behind the chain link fence. Who is it this time? The masked man levels his gun at him through the fence, red eyes cold under a wide-brimmed hat. You can never be Sean's parent, he says. Not you, not anyone. The masked man fires through the chain link, and the blast throws Sean back into the dark. He's not down, not yet. Now close behind, a capped woman coos his name through the rain, like she already owns him. A few aisles over, a young clerk grabs a frying pan, ready to swing at whatever's coming. He drops it and walks forward instead, and the kid beside him can't believe what he just did. A leg swings through the fog and debris, somewhere out of sight. Through the fence, the clerk locks eyes with the capped woman, the boy frozen behind him. Now, somewhere in the smoke, a young man wipes his tears and swears he'll free someone from that old woman. A gun's already on the boy beside him. Fists clench, bracing for impact. The next second, he's smashed clean through the ceiling and crashes to the floor below. Well, the masked woman aims her gun and grins. The third principle. A masked man's boot cracks down on the fighter in maroon. She draws a knife next, promising to take him back in one piece. The blade drags across his side and blood pools under his shoe. Turns out it's not blood, just ketchup, squeezed from a bottle marked Hino. Meanwhile, fog rolls through a hollow, cave-like dark somewhere else. A blonde fighter's fist connects again and again, and the figure under him just laughs it off. Then a spinning kick sends him flying, and he lands gritting his teeth through the pain. A red-eyed shape looms over him with a curved blade, and for a second it isn't even real. Is this a memory, or is it happening right now? Spray blinds him, sharp and cold, and he throws a hand up against it. Through the fog, a blurred shape drifts closer, carrying a light. A boy crouches in the snow, hands over his face, screaming that he can't see. He's lost, sobbing that he doesn't know where his mom went. Is that him, buried somewhere in his own memory? An old man begs him for help, soaked in the rain, terrified, alone. So, back in the now, a fist tightens around a knife on the wet ground. He grits his teeth, a fresh scar cutting his brow. The hooded woman leans in close, red eyes glowing, knife low and ready. Yusef's eyes go wide. Sweat runs cold on his brow. He finds him bloodied on the ground and drops into a crouch, braced to fight. Yusef leaps and drives a kick into the capped attacker, right there among the shelves. They grapple hard, blocking blow after blow, until she pins him close. This is a liberation operation, she hisses, not a robbery. Her blade dips toward his face, a tear already sliding down his cheek. He slaps her head back, buys himself half a second. Not enough, the blade finds him anyway, opening a clean line across his cheek. Now Yusef stands over canned tuna in the dark store, scar fresh, jaw tight. Meanwhile, Hyunho gets thrown clean through a wall of cans, and the attacker just watches him crash, grinning. Somewhere close, someone screams his old name into the rain. He's barely back up before the next hit sends him flying again. She closes the distance fast through the fog, fist cocked for the finish. Hyunho swings first, aiming straight down at the eye, glaring up under her cap. Two blades come at him at once, and he barely twists clear of both. He catches her wrist mid-air, throws her back, her weapon spinning off into the dark. So this really isn't a dream, is it? Not with people actually trying to kill him. She loses her grip near the railing and spins out of control. Upside down, she drops straight at Hyunho. Is she trying to save him or finish the job? Hyunho grabs a strap of her coat over the railing and hauls. Rain pours down both of them until his grip finally holds. Well, now he's standing in the rain, soaked through, not looking at her. She glares back, forehead scratched, and spits that his precious family is just stuff too, same as her. Who calls their family stuff? Hyunho snaps. Turns out the words drag up a memory. A girl crouches inside a shopping cart like cargo, fog rolling past, a boot coming down over her. If she's stuff, she decides, she'll act like it, her clawed hand already shooting through the grate. She kicks the grate apart, metal shards bursting outward. Close by, a hand presses a button on the device chained to her wrist, a remote waiting. Young Sean walks past her cage and tosses the same line right back. She's stuff too, isn't she? She claws through the bars, screaming his name. He doesn't stop. Honestly, the memory pulls back to a man crying in front of a child, rain pouring down. He drops to grip a knife on the ground, begging her to say she's alright. Then his voice turns hard. Why isn't she with her mother? A boy holds her, asking if she's okay, then looks up through the rain. Someone's running straight at them. Sean. Sean's hand shakes as it reaches for the boy, the room torn apart around them. The boy's mind is racing, wondering whether Sean being here means Rachel's hurt. He starts to ask who, and stops. Sean crouches close, unnervingly calm, and asks the boy for a number. What good is a number to a kid this scared? The boy sobs it out, lunges for Sean, now slumped, and shouts to use something, cut off. An old memory surfaces. Someone once held him up as a small boy, murmuring easy like that kid. Then the same hand turned to warn off a masked man crowding too close. Stop drawing attention, he tells him, or pay for it. The boy in the memory goes dead still. The man's finger raised in one last warning. Stop now. Then the knife comes anyway. The older hand pulls him in close, taking the blow meant for them both. Now Sean carries the boy home on his back, asleep at last, worn through by everything. The old woman meets them at the door, soft with surprise that the kid actually fell asleep. It's the first quiet moment either of them's had all night. Meanwhile, across town, our bake mart is still smoking. Firefighters walk the last survivors out through the haze. One bystander, frozen in shock at what's left. Night falls over Dead Mansion's gated compound, spires black against a clouded sky. Well, inside that compound, a man jolts awake in an unmade, lavish bed, his phone refusing to stop. Damn it, he mutters, too early for this. He grabs a robe by the mirrors, then storms forward, snapping that this line isn't for casual calls. He crosses the room on bare feet, steps to the desk, and picks up an old rotary receiver. His eyes go wide. He knows this voice. On the line, Sean stays flat and unreadable, a boy sitting quiet at a desk behind him. Then he needles the man, asking if Rachel and a kid were really bait enough to catch him. Turns out the man's grip tightens on the phone. He needs to know if Rachel and Eugene are dead. Sean doesn't blink. Send as many people as you want, the result stays the same. Alone now at a table inside the snack bar, Sean lays out his reasoning. Threaten a parent's safety, he says, and he steps in, simple as that. On the other end, someone walks him through the mansion's third principle, the doctrine behind whatever's coming next. Well, back at the mansion, the kneeling man jolts like he's just been struck. Then he grins wide and wrong, phone pressed to a chest inked with a heart. Barred light falls across him like he's the one behind bars. Good, the voice tells him, then turns cold. Send Eugene back. He stays on his knees by the door, hearts and wings inked up his skin, waiting on what's next. So elsewhere, Yusef steps into a doorway mid-call, glancing back at the classroom. Someone slumped over a desk in there, and, he says, still talking, still watching. Above the kneeling man, a shape looms in the dark, ram horns and skulls inked across his back. The voice calls Sean innocent, almost fondly, the way a hunter pities something already caught. At the base of his spine, a blade hangs cold against bare skin. Back at school, Hyunho slumped asleep at his desk when someone pokes him awake, calling him a brat. What just grabbed him? His eyes snap open, red-rimmed and startled, right into Yusef standing over him. Now in the memory, a plate sits in front of a boy, and someone off-panel orders him to eat it. Who'd eat this, he wonders, staring in dread. The marks already on his face say this isn't the first time. His keeper walks him through the alley that night, needling him about how tasty it was. Turns out he ate the whole plate, fast and messy, sauce smeared everywhere. They laugh. Someone's coming. A masked woman descends descends the stairs, cap pulled low, eyes glowing red in the shadow. She looks straight at the boy, and one name leaves her mouth: Eugene. A hand grabs Eugene's chin and yanks him around. She tells him to come here, and he answers with a whispered yes, already shaking. He climbs toward her, small against her shadow. His keeper watches from below, clutching the food bag like it might save him. The blonde one holds out a bag of food, gentle for once, telling him to eat well. Off to the side, someone clocks Sean watching in silence. Too relaxed, they mutter. The woman leads Eugene away by the hand, promising they'll meet again soon. While he glances back once, tear marks still fresh on his shirt. His keeper fades into the fog behind them, gone. Honestly, what follows is worse. A masked man looms. Spitting that brats like him should have been tossed out long ago. Fist up, Eugene can only stammer an apology through tears. A voice calls down, "Hey kid." Another boy leans over the edge, bandage on his cheek, holding out a black bag like it's nothing. Elsewhere, Eugene walks holding someone's hand, glancing back with one wide, worried eye. Who's holding his hand this time? Then it's just his face, tears streaming, forced to call the food tasty while someone's hand hovers just off frame. Of course, the shadow gives way to something else. In the present, a heavy-set man in a cap looms over a hunched Sion, saying Hinho's tteokbokki really is that good. A black mask changes hands near a folded coat, quiet and practiced. The blonde one grins, sly under the bandage. "Let's go there again," he says. Naturally, the flashback jumps ahead. Eugene crouches in a stained suit, gun still in hand, a dead man slumped in the chair behind him. One eye lit orange, calm in a way no kid should be. Well, further back still, a Gothic church tower. A woman in a fur coat looking down at a boy on the steps. She names him Eugene, then makes it official. "From today onward, I am your mother." He answers with one word: yes. She's already smiling like she owns him, tipped back in her chair. Behind her, a portrait of two puppies watches from the wall, like this house just collects pets. Turns out, proving his value only ends one way. A man lies slumped at his desk, blood soaked through his shirt. Across town, another convulses over a ruined dinner, poisoned mid-toast. On a hillside, the priest-robed old man asks how many times this has happened now. The fourth, Eugene answers, holding up 4 fingers, calm on the surface. He grips the boy's chin and wrenches his face up in the open field. Eugene doesn't flinch. He just stares back, jaw tight, fingers closing around a hidden ring. In the graveyard now, he warns Eugene what happens to children who get disposed of. Eugene looks down instead at a ring and pendant in his hand, gravestones blurring behind him. Now the demand comes. "Prove your value," he tells the boy, half his face lost to shadow. Then the verdict lands. From this moment on, he's disposed of, Eugene. Eugene grabs at the retreating adult's sleeve, refusing to let go. "Just one more," he begs. "If you give me another chance." "Chance?" the man just repeats. A fist rises over him, and Eugene chokes out an apology. Bruises already dark on his neck. Nearby, another boy just watches, calm, a shopping bag in hand, a bandage on his cheek. "I'll give you one last chance, Eugene," a white-haired man warns him. So, years later, that same warning becomes an order. He's told to kill Sean's parent, the old woman herself. Meanwhile, on a rooftop at night, someone kneels over a black bag, a scarred figure watching from the shadows. A memory cuts in, a crying child once forced to call his own abuse delicious. Just a shadow now, shapeless, gone before it settles. Turns out, he decides it with a smirk, flexing his fingers. He'll take that kid back. A hand locks hard around a wrist. It's Sean's. Is he really about to let them take Eugene without a fight? The masked woman grips Eugene's shoulder as Sean climbs the stairs toward them, insisting it was agreed the boy gets handed back. She leans close to the crying kid next, asking if he's really not going after that old woman. Is Eugene about to hand her the one answer that gets the old woman killed? A hand presses against a fresh bloodstain on someone's back. "The kid just said it," the handler smirks, hand on his hip. Eugene seized from behind, tears breaking loose, as the handler turns to finish it with a hooded figure. So, the handler grips his shoulders and shoves him forward. Fail this, and the old woman pays for it again. No more chances. Now Hyunho grabs Yusef's wrist before the swing lands. Yusef doesn't flinch, dead calm, eyes locked on him. Not subtle. Of course, this guy repeats the same threat again. He'll break him into pieces, over and over. Just like that, they're at the table instead, and Yusef's the one yelling. "But why are you here?" Honestly, Mom just laughs and asks why he's even asking. Yusef admits showing up like this feels a little off, though he keeps eating anyway. Mom sets more food down while Sion and Yusef eat. Since Sion's place is empty tonight, Yusef tells him to just crash here. Sion lights up inside, not passing this up. Turns out it's Yusef's first time in this house too. Meanwhile, the living room sits quiet, shoes still wet by the door, laundry swaying on the empty balcony. Yusef sits at the low table, turning something small between his fingers. His eyes drift toward one closed door while Mom scoops out the rice. He asks if that's Hyunho's room. Mom confirms it and he asks to go in. He opens the door on a dark room, then steps inside barefoot, quiet about it. The room's empty, just a chair, a bed, city light leaking through the curtains. On the desk, a cap, folders marked eco-file, a binder tagged AA60. A basketball workbook lies open, notes crammed in the margins, homework basically. Then a framed photo on the shelf. Young Hyun-ho, flowers in hand, wrapped in mom's arms. Alone in his room, Hyun-ho turns a small photo in his hand. Just Sean again for a second. Does he even remember being just a kid? Mom appears at his door with a plate of food. Caught off guard, he glances back. A hand snatches at the framed photo, quick and rough. Elsewhere in that same quiet room, Hyun-ho stands holding another photo, a man and a child. What's he even looking for in it? Then quietly, a memory surfaces. Young Hyun-ho wiping his mouth, saying, "Thank you for the meal, ma'am." Small, sincere, the closest thing he has to home. The omelet memory fades out on her smile, soft light catching every wrinkle, warm. That's the last easy dinner he remembers. Now the mood shifts hard, right there in the same house. A boy sits slumped over cold food. The only lesson he's ever learned runs through his head. Earn your keep or you're just dead weight. A boot slams down on the table beside him. Not needed, someone spits about a family member, and his fists go white-knuckled under the wood. He doesn't flinch, he doesn't answer, he just stares ahead, and something in him goes cold and stays there. So the argument over what a family even means turns physical fast. A blonde handler grabs him and twists his arm. He drags the boy screaming across the floor, while mom only watches, worried but not stepping in. They settle his sleeping arrangement without asking him. An empty room, Hyun-ho's name still on the door. Mom just smiles, gentle on the surface, something uneasy underneath. Outside, the apartment tower sits quiet under a moody night sky. Inside, Hyun-ho lies rigid on the bed, eyes sharp in the dark. What's keeping him staked out like this, wide awake at this hour? Yusuf won't stop complaining about the floor, dragging his blanket around like a wounded man. Hyun-ho just watches him, unbothered, tension coiled somewhere else. Then the door creaks open, just a crack, light spilling into the dark room. Who's out there this late? Through the gap, Seon slumped asleep over a tablet at the desk, oblivious to all of it. Down at the snack bar, old woman hands a warm plate to a stranger she just met. Kind, without a second thought. She has no idea what he's come here to do. Turns out that kindness was never part of his training. In a graveyard at dusk, a masked man once knelt this same boy down. Become necessary, he was told, or become nothing. His fists press into the dirt, and years later, that same hand wraps around a gun. He raises it through a cracked door at a man slumped over a desk, unaware and unarmed. Steady now, the shot goes off, and whatever happens next changes everything. A hand turns the knob, and the memory drags him further back. In the end, someone once forced this same boy to his knees. A gun pressed to his own skull, punishment for failing one time too many. He watched it all happen over another man's shoulder, sweat running cold. "Kid," Yusuf mutters, catching movement in the dark and sitting up sharp. It's Eugene, ducking his face away fast, folding back into the shadow. Through the gap in the door, Eugene's gun lines up on the desk where Hyun-ho sleeps. His grip tightens with both hands. The same vow plays in his head one more time. I have to become the family he needs. He levels the barrel steady and doesn't look away. Turns out, in the same stretch of dark, a hand turns the door handle, quiet and slow. Eugene's already inside, kneeling, gun hidden behind his back. Yusuf walks in half asleep, barefoot, no shirt on, and turns to find the boy crouched right behind him, sweating. Now, Eugene glances into the dark and draws the gun out, his hands shaking so hard the barrel wobbles. He levels it at Yusuf, screaming now. Yusuf doesn't flinch, calm like he's already won. Eugene fires, nothing. Why are there no bullets? Turns out Yusuf pulled the bullets himself hours before. Now the gun's dead weight, and Eugene's caught, hands raised, empty. Under the mask, something shifts. Recognition, maybe. Eugene doesn't wait to find out. He curses, drops the gun, and comes in with a knife instead. The blade comes down fast, a blur through the dark. Yusuf catches his wrist mid-swing and takes a kick to the ribs for it. They're chest to chest now, teeth bared, the knife trembling between them. Neither one gives an inch. So the noise cuts through Hyun-ho's sleep, and he's up before he even decides to move. Light spills through the door. What's happening in his own room? He's yanked straight into the fight, a blade flashing past his face mid-air. When the scramble settles, he's the one holding the knife, and Eugene's down on the floor by the desk. Yusuf holds a finger to his lips, glaring hard, teeth bared under the calm act. Just calm down for a second, okay? It doesn't sound like a request. Well, Hyun-ho keeps one eye on Eugene, tied down on the couch, and grips a blade between his teeth to free both hands. It's a mistake to relax. Eugene breaks loose and swings the restraint strap like a whip, catching him off guard. In seconds, his own ankles bound tight, the cord cutting in. Hyun-ho strikes back hard, aiming for the hand that's holding him down. He ends up crouched, knife out, one leg still tied, watching for whatever's next. Eugene catches him with a spinning kick, and Hyun-ho goes flying, blade still gripped tight. He slams down hard, then he's airborne again, flipped upside down near the table. Hyun-ho crosses both blades in front of him and stops the follow-up strike cold, not this time. Then the room goes dark at the edges, and it isn't the fight anymore. Years back, another room. A grown man swings a small boy upside down by one ankle, whip already raised. That boy is Sean, still gripping a knife in each fist even upside down. The man mocks him by name and raises the whip again. Why does his body already know this fight? Young Sean doesn't wait for the next hit. He lunges in with a knife, demanding the man actually face him instead of just swinging blind. The blade ends up an inch from the man's throat, and the memory cuts out right there. Another memory rises now. Same age, a different fight. Yusef locks onto his wrist mid-swing, knocking something loose from his grip. Fine, let's do it my way, he warns, and a kick sends Hyunho sprawling, glass shattering beside him. His foot slams down, and for a second Hyunho looks like he might turn it around. He comes up swinging, knife flashing, and Yusef actually flinches back. Then Yusef's fist connects square, hauling him up by the collar for more. Yusef crouches over him grinning. He goads him back up, warns there's more coming. This guy just grins back through a split lip. Yusef isn't walking away clean, blood on his mouth, and his fury is barely held. Now Mom storms in, the snack bag crumpling hard in her fist, demanding to know what's going on. Yusef's fist is still raised, Hyunho shielding himself with a torn snack bag. A third kid just stares at his own feet. Busted, both of them. A sharp command freezes Yusef mid-motion. Of course, morning exercises is the story he lands on, straight-faced. Behind his back, Hyunho quietly hides a toy knife. I can't win, Yusef shouts, and for once, it's not really about the fight. Turns out this particular memory belongs to someone else entirely. Eugene can't kill the old woman with Sean standing right there. A direct hit is completely off the table now. We're family after all, he tells himself, the word sitting wrong in his mouth. Family, again, that's the same excuse that opens every door. Meanwhile, the old woman pulls him into a hug, her hand resting on his bowed head. Sean just watches from behind. What is he really after? She pats his head warmly. Yusef just watches from the side, silent, saying nothing out loud. A shadow falls across the wall, unexplained, unplaced. Someone carries the boy inside through the doorway, half asleep. Just like that, the memory fades. So back in the present, Hyunho knocks on the sliding door. A voice inside questions the hour, and before he can answer, a girl with braids yanks his hair. Who are you? She demands. She bows low, her face hidden in shadow. Then she grins wide, all teeth, sunlight catching her glasses. Sion fills him in, arms crossed, unconvinced. She's claiming to be Eugene's older sister, he says. Since when does Eugene have a sister? Honestly, Yusef just smirks. Oh, really? At another door, a man greets her with a knowing look. What brings Eugene's sister all the way here? He wants to know. She tells him straight she's here to take Eugene back and keep that woman safe. She has a knife at his throat before he finishes his sentence. Who ordered a kid to kill her, she demands. Well, he just asks her, calm as ever, to put the knife away first. Her laugh comes out too wide, one hand half covering her face. Sean smirks back, fist still raised, playing it calm. Underneath though, he can tell she's dangerous. Now Eugene spots her through the rain and calls out, relief breaking his voice. She rushes over and pulls him into a hug, so happy just to see him safe. Sean stays off to the side, arms crossed, no part of it. Then, mid-hug, she leans in and delivers the real reason she came. Unfortunately, you failed, she tells him, quiet and cold. Eugene's whole body goes rigid, the warmth of her arms suddenly a trap. Now he's afraid they'll just discard him. Inside, a blonde man turns and calls someone kid, flat and cold. The sister rounds on Sean next, snapping that he's ruined her whole plan. She grabs his arm hard and calls him an amateur. Wasn't she the one who pulled a knife first? Turns out one of them can't resist bragging. He claims he handled the target himself, says the boy's stronger than anyone thought. The sister waves him quiet. Eugene's red was the accurate one, she says, and sends him off so they can talk. Eugene looks down, apologizing, sorry for ruining the operation. No worries, she tells him smiling, a new one's already moving. She holds out her hand. Time to retreat for now. Meanwhile, back home, Sion holds tight to an adult's hand and quietly agrees to something off-screen. The visiting group says its goodbyes at the door, old woman and Yusef among them. A girl waves Sion off, promising they'll see each other again. The mood drops fast. A shadowed figure walks a dim hallway, face hidden, only footsteps for sound. Somewhere close, a man freezes, startled by what's suddenly right in front of him. Of course, somewhere else it's warmer. A man laughing, waving someone off with come again next time. Then the frame cuts to a boy's sharp sideways glance, watchful. What's he catching that no one else notices? He leans close to someone half in shadow, quiet, saying nothing. Down another hallway, a girl walks a young boy along, hand in hand. She says yes, understood, nothing more. Back at the shop, a man offers to cook for him again, gentle and patient. Yusef just says okay, quiet, guarded. He grips his collar tight. I will definitely bring him back, he vows, under his breath. Cut to the school gates, sunlit and quiet, like nothing happened. Inside, past a door marked principal's office, a bald man wipes his face with a tissue, sweating. He explains that they had to convene the school violence committee. It's there to sort out who did what and what it cost them. In a wealthier room somewhere else, a heavyset man in a suit starts laying something out. An older woman leans in, hands clasped tight, listening hard. Then he says something that stops her cold. She holds up a photo of a young man. Excuse me, she asks him. She doesn't understand what he means at all. Her hand freezes around the photo, eyes going wide. In the frame, a young man in uniform smiles back like he's got nothing to hide. It's Yusef. Meanwhile, across town, a church rises out of the dusk, crosslit gold against a darkening sky. Inside, a gray-haired man stares at the stained glass, back to the room. He's asking how any of this happened. Nearby, a hooded figure sits with a phone clutched between folded hands, waiting on word from somewhere. The answer comes back as memory. The old woman slumped at a table, knife in her fist. Hair fell loose around a face gone hollow with fury. Why is she still holding it? Before she can move it, Hyunho's hand locks around her wrist. He doesn't let go. Someone dismisses him flatly. Honestly, just a useless child, wasted effort. The priest closes a fist around his cross, rings biting into skin. Then he gives the order, don't bother that old woman again. Turns out, the old woman was never the real target. On the phone, a woman spots someone she isn't expecting and freezes mid-word. The priest looks aside in the pews, controlled, unreadable. A beat later, still sipping her tea, she says it plain. The whole plan, all along, was the retrieval of Sean. The priest turns to Rachel with a vow. He holds his promises in very high regard. Always. But the grin that follows twists wrong. A tear caught in one eye. His grip stays tight on the cross the whole time. Tattoos crawl over his knuckles as he opens his hand. Everything. Rows of children sit at attention. Arms crossed, eyes empty. That's what everything means. Nearby, a scarred eye watches from under loose hair, unblinking. One of the children, hood pulled up, mutters a small resigned amen. Nothing else. Now back at school, a photo is already loose in the group chat. Two boys outside, one pinning the other down. A message mocks it with a laugh, and within a breath, more phones catch the same image. Students start pulling screens off their own desks to see for themselves. Yusef slams through the door hard enough to rattle the frame. The hallway feels it before he even speaks. Kids flinch out of his path as he strides past the lockers. Question marks cross every face he passes. He plants both hands on a desk and shouts across the room. What's going on here? Why is the air like this? Hyunho sits with his back turned, saying nothing. Yusef looks over his shoulder, and the silence that comes back is its own kind of answer. A grown man leans across the desk and shoves a phone at Hyunho's face. Is this for real? Is he even seeing this straight? The picture just sits there, cold, impossible to argue with. Beside them, an officer's fist tightens on the desk, demanding to know what this even is. The man taps the screen again. This photo, right here, a boy in a maroon jacket pinning another to the ground outside. Naturally, Yusef doesn't buy it that easily, not even close. He wants to know exactly where the photo came from. Three men crowd around a phone screen, unease creeping over their faces. Then two of them drop into a full bow across the desks. They had it wrong, they say, all this time, and they're sorry, Sion. Yusef's hand goes tense on the desk right before the next hit lands. Someone's calling him somebody's lackey now. Yusef blinks. What? He manages, still catching up to the shock of it. In the shadows, a figure bends low over someone stretched out, the frame too dark to read. And there it is, plain as day, Yusef himself, arm up in a peace sign, propped on the shoulders of two shirtless, tattooed men. One of the tattooed men still can't get past it, watching from the bench below. Isn't this going too far, he mutters. Nearby, students crowd a desk with him, and someone just goes quiet. Yusef's face drains white when he hears the accusation. Hyunho's the one they've cornered, grown men crowding down on him. He swears he never touched anyone, then starts walking them back through what actually happened. So the memory plays out. A top-knot bully slams a fist on the desk, grinning, while a classmate flinches at the sound. Another boy finds his seat's been moved. Before he can ask why, the bully raises a hand, snarling he could end up like Hyunho too. Now the bully swings for real, and Yusef catches the fist barehanded. Everyone braces for a beatdown. Instead, the two of them shake hands right there in the classroom. One kid in the back doesn't buy it for a second. A man rests a hand on Hyunho's shoulder while a schoolgirl looks on. Across the room, Yusef turns his head sharp at something behind him. The bully just smirks. A man leans in close, pressing Yusef on why he even asked the question in the first place. Meanwhile, a detective turns the whole thing over in his head. Park Seon wasn't so bad after all, he decides. Somewhere else, a tired man in a cap walks the street, trailed by someone in a red hoodie. Turns out Yusef's caught up in it too. Three men circle him on a bench, asking about that photo in the group chat. It shows him gripping Hyunho's head from behind, and the whole chat's already asking if it's even real. Was this dead mansion again? He can't look away from his own phone. A lean kid with two-toned hair tells his crowd he just wants to graduate quiet, no trouble. Dwarfed between two much bigger men, he claims he's already looking at the adult world. Then he smirks and orders them to bury it before it spreads any further. So this is a crew, someone realizes, and the three men around him confirm it without blinking. A muscular man clenches his fists at the kid, shouting something straight at Sion. Sion just watches, small and worried, from a distance. A middle-aged man goes wide-eyed. Sion, he says, like the name alone is the shock. A bald man fumbles for his phone, insisting it's all a misunderstanding, then holds it up anyway. This kid's already famous among children, he says. There's more. Hyunho sits stiff on the couch as the bald man holds out the phone. Sweat breaks on his skin. No way. Is this really him? The file says no one could ever reach Sion's parents, like he never had a real family behind him. A child like that goes astray easy, the bald man tells her flat out, sweating through the warning. Hyunho's mom just sits there, back turned, listening, hands clenched clenched tight in her lap. Yusuf heads down the stairs on his phone, wondering if this quiets the rumors at all. Elsewhere, a knot of rough men clasp hands, grinning, calling the other side surprisingly naive. Really, Yusuf mutters in the alley, biting his knuckle, half hidden in the dark, caught. Of course she wasn't hiding as well as she thought, and she owns it with a grin. She closes in on Yusuf, teasing him for catching someone's scent while he hid. Yusuf glares, and she just raises a fist near his face, laughing. He ruffles her hair, calling her just a kid next to what he deals with. Honestly, she just laughs it off, denying with a sly grin that it's anything like that. Sean looks up and tenses as she spots him across the alley. She lights up, laughing in the sunset glow, calling out to him. She corners him about the photo, asking outright if it was his doing. Sean scratches his neck, silent. Did she already know everything? Her crude jab finally gets under his skin, and his fist connects before she can react. Bad move. Her bag whips back around, sparks flying, and it's Yusuf who goes flying this time. She's back up, bag in hand, and starts in on Yusuf. You must be. The alley empties out. She crouches over a shadowed figure now. Bag dropped, something small gripped tight in her hand. Now a man in a beige jacket swings hard and fast. Bystander's eyes going wide as it connects. Who sent this one? Sean slams him into the wall while the girl drops down to pin his leg. Blade pressed close. Meanwhile, a masked attacker presses a knife to Yusuf's shoulder, then slashes for his head. Yusuf ducks, grabs the arm, and drives a headbutt in. Is this all you got? Both go down in the fall, but only Yusuf gets back up, fist still clenched. Turns out Sion's fight isn't over either. A girl grabs his raised fist mid-swing, smiling, insisting it can't be true. She swept off her feet in the struggle, and he's still swinging when a man's voice cuts in. What are you doing, Park Sion? Just then, the girl on the ground smiles, faint and unbothered, while a masked man pins her by the throat. Yusuf swings first. Now the masked man rounds on Sion next, demanding to know what he's doing. Hyuno's own voice cracks in with the same warning. Behind them, the girl just lies there smiling, like none of it touches her. A stranger in a suit hauls Yusuf up by the collar, accusing him of hurting Hinho. He turns and pins the girl down too. No proof, just fury looking for a target. Yusuf shouts back that it isn't what it looks like, while she grips his sleeve. Somewhere in the scramble, a girl yanks a boy back by the wrist, shouting at the looming adult. Then Hyunho spots Sion in the middle of it. What's he even doing here? Now the scene shifts, and an older man stares down at Sion in disbelief. Sion just goes still and says he understands, flat and resigned. Turns out it's testimony. A girl recounts finding Eugene covered in bruises, blaming his brother Sion for it. Did Sion really do that to him? Next, a photo of young Sion with what he swears is a toy, plus a friend named Joseph. The account goes on. He only wanted to ask what happened, and that's when the hitting started. Meanwhile, Rachel leans in close to Sean, reminding him of an old promise. This woman is off limits. Then a woman hauls up a limp, half-conscious Yusuf, shouting that the whole story is made up. The scene blurs, just a coat and a photo left on the ground. Yusuf's eyes stay sharp through it, jaw locked. Someone's leaning on his mom now, pushing her to make this woman give Sean up herself. Yusuf goes pale. Please, not that. The girl warns them never to come back, and the two of them just stand there, heads down. Just as planned, she tells herself, already smiling at what's next. Her heels click away. Naturally, the old woman catches up from behind, watching them quietly at first. Honestly, she mutters, straightening her sunglasses, telling him he's still an impossible kid. A man in a dark coat stands close by, unreadable. Yusuf looks up, tension creeping back into his face. The man murmurs something low, and his mouth opens on metal teeth strung with chains. He grins wide, metal teeth catching the light. Somewhere down the hall, a phone lies in a smear of blood. A shadow drops in the corridor, then nothing. Meanwhile, a man kneels at a lavish table and gives thanks to a painting on the wall. Whatever just happened, it's a relief to him. So, a girl perches on a windowsill, high above the city, fixing her hair like nothing's wrong. On the phone, she reassures someone she calls director. Somewhere else, a woman's fist clenches white-knuckled, shaking with rage she isn't showing. Not yet. Two adults watch the same girl from a distance, backs turned, keeping their space. Now back at the snack bar, Sean tears through pizza and noodles like it's a race. Sauce drips everywhere. A silver-haired woman pours more sauce over his plate, smiling like she owns the table. You ordered me, she reminds him, easy and confident. Another topping makes him wince, mint and pineapple. Together, she leans in with an order of her own. Finish every bite, nothing left. Between mouthfuls, his mind's elsewhere. Word just came in. Dominium is back inside Dead Mansion. Back? After everything? Turns out, they're being watched. A man in a wheelchair sits across the room, bandaged leg propped, waiting. Wraps cover his face and one arm too, and there's a smirk under them that doesn't belong on someone this hurt. He rolls to a stop right at Sean's feet. Brushing his teeth, Sean pauses. That voice, he's sure he knows it from somewhere. His chair clatters backward as he startles up, recognition hitting hard. The bandaged man's fist tightens, fresh blood beating under the wrap over his eye. He says he's fine, calm as anything, which is worse. Before it goes further, a voice cuts through the room. enough. Naturally, a silver-haired woman levels a gun, flat-voiced. They're taking custody of the boy, and that's final. Somewhere in the scramble, hands and cloth tangle. Impossible to tell fight from restraint. She sips through a straw, gun loose in her other hand, unbothered by any of it. Beside her, the bandaged man's jacket falls open, a fresh wound showing under the wraps. Then a masked man speaks up. This boy isn't the only one he's here to settle a score with. Now the room goes darker before anyone moves. Just a shoulder, a coat, tension held in shadow. The woman steps up beside the masked man, a submachine gun slung easy across her arm. His eyes widen. Cloth slides off her shoulder as she settles, unbothered by the weapon in her hands. She swings the gun up, aiming it straight at him, and the threat in her voice turns real. Then she says something that stops him cold. Dead Mansion swore never to touch the old woman, so why say it now? She turns for backup, calling out to him. Right, Sean? His jaw tightens, glare sharpening into something close to fury. What did you just say? So, the apron behind the counter reads Hyunho Snack Bar. His mom chops vegetables, tired but steady, while a customer calls in an order for terubi. Now the old woman works the front, serving a customer, then Yusif. He eats like he hasn't stopped all week and orders kimbap on top of it. She just nods and gets to work. Behind that smile, something's eating at her. She looks down, voice barely a whisper, Sion. Kwon Byung-woo holds out his phone in front of Yusef and Hyunho, glasses cold. One boy pinning another by the throat, right there on the screen. At the counter, her hand isn't steady anymore. The blade slips, bites into her finger, blood sprays the board, no warning at all. Sean's already moving before anyone else reacts. Ma'am, you're bleeding, he says. There's a lot of blood. Turns out the blade doesn't just vanish. Someone's hand slips it into a pocket, blood and all, like it never happened. A man in a suit grips a knife at his belt, calm as anything. That's a relief then, he says. Somewhere close, a masked man raises a blade over a woman bound and hooded. Now the old woman's phone rings and her face goes white. Is that true? She breathes, knuckles white around the phone. Then it's her turn. The masked man is already moving behind her, blood on his hand before she can turn. She crumples over the phone, and the only two words that escape her are my son. Somewhere else, an oxygen mask fogs with every shallow breath. Kid, can you hear me? A paramedic calls, leaning in close. It's Hunho, wrist bandaged, 4 in his arm, a doctor's hand steady by the pillow. In his memory, it's raining, and he's screaming at himself. Why did I yell at her? Same memory, she's still on that foggy street, apron on, waiting for a door that won't open. This time it's real, mask still on his face. Mom, he whispers. I miss her. While people rush in at the sound of his name, his mom grips his bleeding arm, asking if he's awake, while someone calls for a guardian. His bloodied hand is still shaking when he reaches out. Someone bows their head over it, undone with relief. Hyunho just cries. In the doorway, Sean watches. He's supposed to protect people, not need protecting. Right now, doesn't matter which boy in that bed is actually his to save. Meanwhile, down the hall, Sean's on a call outside room 305. The plan has changed, says the masked man on the other end, smiling like that's good news. A kick lands off panel, sudden and sharp. The wheelchair-bound man boils over. How dare you? Nearby, a masked woman racks a submachine gun against her thigh, calm as breathing. Two men have Hyunho pinned, arms wrenched back, a gun shoved into the dark behind him, blade to his throat now. The bandaged man vows to handle the other two himself, right in front of this brat's eyes. Meanwhile, a silver-haired woman waits with a fresh cut over one brow, glare sharp as ever. She leans in close beside Hyunho on a bench. What is she not telling him? A woman in glasses walks in with coffee and files, asking why it's taking this long. Under the table, the silver-haired woman's hand presses hard into her own knee. So Hyunho's mom starts it, coffee in hand, asking how anyone causes an accident this reckless. The two-toned haired woman waves her off, objecting to the way she's framing it. Hyunho grips his cup, jaw tight, eyes sharp with anger he's holding down. Why does he get the paper cup while everyone else drinks from real mugs? Turns out, Byung-woo Construction already told them there's nothing to pay. No compensation, they said, not one for the damage done. The silver-haired woman glances away, cheeks warm, eyes wet before she can stop it. What do you mean? She asks, startled, and Hyunho just watches her over his cup. Now elsewhere, a hand lifts fine china off its saucer, unhurried. The woman in glasses turns the real doubt over with a faint smile, wondering if Byung-woo Construction can truly be trusted. Back with the group, the silver-haired woman's stare goes cold and unreadable. Somewhere else, a hand claws for grip as their car takes a hit. The two-toned haired woman drops from a spinning kick meant to end it fast. Instead, she's the one bloodied. How dare they? She spits through a cut lip. She racks a submachine gun anyway, certain they can't take her down. On a bridge somewhere, a delivery truck and a trailing car cut through the night. The bandaged man just smiles, sound of movement close behind him. I really can't believe it, he says. Two men in suits drag a blonde man in, feet barely touching the ground. In his wheelchair, the bandaged man grabs the blonde man's face, calm despite the grip. He calls it an interesting principle, pulling him close by the hair. He yanks the blonde man's head back by the hair, gag biting into his teeth. Behind him, a scarred man holds the blonde man down, who grins wild despite it all. The bandaged man raises a wrapped finger. "I've imagined this once. I bought you," he says. Gagged and held by the throat, sweat beading, his eyes go wide with fear. Then he's grinning too, manic, as the bandaged man's mouth splits into the same wide, unsettling smile. "I haven't even started," the bandaged man says, fist shaking as he clenches it. Now the blade's back at a bound throat, and he isn't finished yet. The bandaged man twists the blade, blood still dripping off his wrappings. He forces the second captive to watch, gagged and helpless. "You'll be next," he says, almost gentle about it. Now the story cuts to a hospital, its green cross glowing against the night. Inside, Hyuno's mom peels an apple and nicks her own finger without noticing. Blood beads on the skin before she gasps, then laughs it off. Hyuno sits up, leg wrapped thick in bandage, while his mom steps out for a fresh one. In the doorway, a man lingers, murmuring that he's just like his father, so stubborn. Who is he, and what does he know? Meanwhile, Hyunho wanders into the dark hallway alone. The nurse's station sits empty, not one attendant in sight. Where is everyone? He glances back, and a masked man looms behind him, tall and silent. Hands clamp over his mouth before he can react. Then he's down, lights out. Turns out someone already has him pinned to the ground, an arm bloodied and slung above him. Two more suits wrench a blonde captive's arm back. Grim work not finished yet. An elevator opens down the hall. Inside his room, Hyunho sits up smiling, unharmed, greeting whoever's arrived. Of course, the visitor rolls in by wheelchair, bandaged head to leg, arm in a sling. His fist trembles shut. Time is all he grits out. He tilts his bandaged face toward the boy. "Are you Hyunho?" he asks quietly. Hyunho's eyes go wide, stammering back, asking who he is. Guards wheel him past, suits flanking either side, while Hyunho watches from a nearby gurney. A bandaged arm thrust toward him, forearm wrapped thick. Naturally, Hyunho reaches over and pokes it once. One of the suits warns him low, "Leave things ambiguous, and it won't end well." Then something makes Hyunho go rigid, eyes snapping up. Well, on a rooftop across the street, a woman in black fires a sniper rifle into the dark. The shot cracks the window right above their heads. A second attacker comes straight through the broken glass, weapon raised, grinning. A man hauls a woman up by the collar as glass rains down around them. "How dare you," she screams, thrashing against his grip. The masked man stands calm in the chaos, watching the new arrival, and says he knew they'd show up. A suited man strikes down at a fallen light-haired fighter, blood pooling beneath him. The fighter twists and slashes back midair, blade catching the suit across the arm. A suited enforcer lunges in, blade already dripping blood. The stranger drops low and catches his fist cold. Now a knife flashes in from off-panel, and real terror floods the enforcer's face. "Did you enjoy catching me?" the stranger asks, calm and quiet, hair hanging low. Then the grin turns feral, teeth bared right against his bleeding throat. Meanwhile, another masked guard takes a hit that doubles him over, blood in his mouth. One punch sends him crashing into the wreckage behind him. A hand grips tight as the corridor smears into motion around it. Minutes ago, the bandaged man had Hyunho cornered. Now he's strapped to his own wheelchair, wrists lashed down. Hyunho's hauled out limp over someone's shoulder, rescue or just another leash. He's wheeled off down the corridor at a dead run. Another guard sent flying beside him, kicked clean off his feet. The corridor isn't empty anymore. A hooded figure looms past the guard, straight for the man still strapped in the wheelchair. Knife already dripping, footsteps calm. The killer walks past two bodies now cooling on the floor. So somewhere else, a man in glasses snaps his fingers, barking a short order. A group falls in behind him, moving fast through a doorway. More men line up ahead, a streak of blood already smeared across the wall. A girl with red eyes catches sight of the hallway and goes still. A hammer swings up over her head while suits close in from every side. She just tilts her head. "Are you cockroaches?" One of them answers by revving a chainsaw to life. Now, down another hallway, a silver-haired woman raises one hand, signaling the men closing in. Guns at her hips, blades strapped to her legs, she smirks, ready to handle this herself. A hatchet waits at her thigh while a suited hand reaches for his own weapon. Somebody's already got a gun raised, muzzle pointed dead ahead. Fists and impacts fly in every direction as the whole group swarms her at once. One man ends up on the floor, bleeding, screaming. She just kneels in the wreckage, gun leveled, calm as ever. Done for now. She walks on through the low light, gun hanging loose at her side. Something drifts through the dark for a beat, the scene shifting to somewhere new. A man in glasses leans in, laughing off the threat. A gun? Two men in suits grab a young man from above, seizing him fast. A strap clamps across his mouth, eyes wide, no way to call out. One man ends up flat on the ground, blood spreading fast beneath him, while the others just stand over him. Smoke still curls off the gun barrel that just dropped a man. The gunman swings it up toward a bound woman's head and warns, "I'll aim for your head." She only tilts her chin and asks, flat, if he means to kill her. Something fast blurs in behind him, and his smirk falters. A hoodie-clad fighter comes tearing through, fierce-eyed, and throws two suited men to the floor without slowing down. Just like that, a fist connects square in his face. Glasses fly, he's out cold before he lands. Down another hallway, a blonde fighter faces off with a suited enemy while a whole crew of masked men closes in behind him, one woman leading them in a dark coat. Through the smoke, two more bodies collide and one goes down hard. Evening now, and the blonde fighter stands over a body on the floor, still boxed in by two men holding knives. A boot comes down on a fallen hand, casual and final. He straightens up in the hallway, fists still clenched, glare locked forward. Of course, he's not done chasing. The bald man comes barreling out of the dark and grabs the fleeing kid hard by the arm. This brat trying to run, the kid braces, blood already on his skin, and grits out. Hold on tighter. One clean punch, full force, lands square in his jaw. He staggers back, blood spraying from his mouth. This is round 2, and it isn't over yet. Then he leaps, driving a full force kick straight down onto him. Meanwhile, the gunwoman fires straight up into the men closing on her, and one drops instantly, blood already on his scalp. Across the hall, Yusuf grips a bat two-handed, straining as a suited attacker forces a knife in toward his fist. Now bloodied and breathing hard, she thinks this fight was never about anyone else, only about her. Back with Yusuf, the attacker's fist gets through and knocks him half off balance mid-swing. Somewhere else, a masked man swings a metal pole down at a cornered blonde kid until someone kicks him clean off his feet. The machete skids away and the kid scrambles under a desk to hide. A toolbox lies open on the floor beside him. Nails, scissors, screws, all in reach. Another suited man's head snaps back from a hit before the kid even sees who threw it. He just stares at the nails and starts laying them out like makeshift spikes. Elsewhere, the kid goes flying, the bald man lunging after him in midair. Knife scraping the floor, he shouts for the kid to try and get away. He threatens to go easy if the kid stops running. A syringe is already glinting toward his own eye, and he doesn't even see it coming. It finds the eye first, bad move. He goes down screaming, knife falling from his hand. He staggers now, one hand clamped over his ruined eye, out of the fight for good. Another masked figure grins around a mouthful of syringes, clenched between his teeth like tiny blades. Turns out this guy's been holding back the whole chase. It's Sean, fanning the needles between his fingers now like claws, saying flatly, "I did go easy on you." How much longer is he supposed to pull his punches? One boot lands on the ledge, poised. Who's next? Sean grabs the fallen syringes and turns them straight back on the man in front of him. Vaccinations, he says, and buries the whole fistful in his chest. The hit lifts him clean off the ground. He's down before he even finishes falling, Sean already standing over him. A shard goes to the next one's throat before he can even scream properly. Blood beads under Sean's fingers. Somewhere behind him, another suit goes flying, arms clawing at nothing, thrown clear of the fight entirely. Now the whole knot of suits closes in, boots and blades pinning him where he fell. More come pouring out of the smoke behind them. Someone barks for the front line to clear a path forward. Meanwhile, a bald man arrives revving a chainsaw, grinning like he's waited all night for this. He swings down, hard. Someone screams for him to stop. It does nothing. The captive throws himself backward off a table just to survive the first pass. The blade keeps coming. He should be finished by now, boxed in with nowhere left to run. Instead, he clears it by a hair, his foot snapping past the spinning teeth mid-swing. How many more of those can a person actually dodge? It grazes past his face on the very next pass, close enough to raise blisters, and he flinches back with a strangled yelp. Turns out the interrogation never stopped, it just changed hands. Yusuf has him strapped to a gurney cart now, one boot braced on his leg, hauling the rope tighter. He forces the man's hand down under the wheel mechanism, and the suits still standing flinch back from whatever's looming over them. Yusuf leans in close, grinning like it's nothing personal, and asks if he's going to turn it off himself. The man screams like the question is the torture. It rolls out over the rooftop, past the hospital's cross sign glowing below in the rain. No, Yusuf shouts, unraveling faster than his target, and someone hauls him back bodily, telling him to get a grip. He pins the man flat and presses the chainsaw down toward his skull. Blood is already everywhere by the time it's planted upright by his head. A knife dropped in the mess beside it. Yusuf crouches close with a needle now, done playing. "Where did you take Hinho's mother?" he says. Just that. Nothing else. So the scene shifts. A blonde young man leans over someone limp on a gurney-like table in the dark, footsteps announcing themselves before he even turns. A white-haired woman stands over the wreckage with a gun still in her hand, telling him she played rough enough that most of the others ran. Behind her, a shadow looms over one more body still on the floor, something sharp catching what little light there is. A masked gunman closes in through the haze, tactical gear head to foot, while the blonde man takes in the bodies scattered behind him. What does winning even look like in a room like this? When it's over, he's the only one left standing, fists still clenched, a knife and a hammer and spray cans scattered around him like the aftermath of something much bigger than a fight. Now a woman in a black coat speaks up, a fresh cut across her forehead, gripping a weapon she probably doesn't need anymore. "You, as part of Dead Mansion," she starts and doesn't finish it. He bends down and picks a rolled bandage up off the bloodstained floor. He holds the bandage up toward her without a word, a silent question. She doesn't move, just watches him from behind that same forehead wound. So he kneels down in front of her instead, reaching for the torn fabric at her thigh and starts wrapping it himself. He winds a second bandage around his own arm and says it plainly. He used his power to protect her. That's it. That's the whole defense he offers. Now, a silver-haired woman looms over Yusef, who's on his knees, gripping her leg like he might fall apart otherwise. They messed with their disciplinarian, she tells him, flat. Yusef presses a knife to his own mouth, grip white-knuckled, and decides out loud. Such risk factors can't be left behind. The collar clutch, the sweat, the choked breath, none of it's real. She covers her mouth, completely sold, and calls him the best. He's already checking whether the act actually worked. Behind him, a gun cocks slow and settles into someone's waiting grip. Yusef clenches his fist. From now on, no more holding back. Elsewhere on the rooftop, a white-haired woman stands over a body she just dropped. Her face stays ice-cold, unbothered. Meanwhile, Hyunho's eyes narrow to slits. Something's just clicked in his head, and he doesn't like it one bit. He looks down, hesitant. What exactly is he seeing? Now, a bandaged, masked man leans in and asks if the stranger's awake. The stranger jolts upright, knocks the desk, and demands to know who's there. He swears he was at the hospital just a minute ago. Turns out they're both trapped in a gutted, dark classroom. Desks overturned everywhere. The bandaged man just sits there quiet in his wheelchair, silent, waiting. The stranger glances back, alarmed, then freezes at a question about the seat. This is Hyunho's seat, he says, voice shaking. A hand brushes the desk. It's covered in scratched, violent graffiti, a warning carved right into the wood. Well, Hyunho barely gets a scream out before the bandaged man's right on top of him. Loose cloth trails off him, one scarred hand curling into a fist. Hyunho's hand slaps over his mouth. What is this thing? So the bandaged man's fury was never really about the wheelchair at all. He rips the scarf down, his ruined face finally bared. It's all because of that kid, he screams. His father steps in, pleading with the old woman that they're victims too. He gestures at his son, wheelchair, sling, bandaged leg, all of it. Turns out there are photos, and he starts laying them out. Old woman's face crumbles as old, buried moments click back into place. Something's hurled at her feet, and her hand flies up to block it. I will take revenge, she says, voice shaking. His father crumples to the floor, sobbing that he couldn't protect his son. But the moment old woman kneels to help him, his grip turns hard, mocking. You're so naive, ma'am, he says, cold now. The bandaged man's hand presses flat against the wall, trembling, holding back something worse. Somehow, it's Hyunho who ends up hauling the bandaged man out to a waiting truck. He doesn't hesitate. Outside, a lone rock sits in a dark garden bed, ringed by white flowers, waiting. Meanwhile, the hooded man's hand closes around a knife hidden in his coat. The memory of tonight's still raw. He won't forget this. Now, a silver-haired woman keeps her gun leveled at Hyunho's side while he holds himself painfully still. Behind them, a braided girl and a small boy trail along. One of them grips a pistol like it's nothing. The same man leans in, bloodied and furious, and asks if the warning landed. Do you understand? Then he drives his knife straight into the stone floor. Sparks fly. It's time, he says, low and certain, to step things up. A bandaged fist slams down over a hand that isn't fighting back. The scarred man grins and promises, now it's our turn for revenge. Then the blade presses flat against bare skin, close enough to cut. Meanwhile, cloaked figures gather in a vaulted underground hall, one wearing a ring set with a blue gem. A gray-haired man looks up at the blade near his throat and doesn't flinch. Nearby, another man grits down on jeweled metal teeth, nothing calm in it. Across town, the school gates sit locked under a fogged, ominous sky. Nothing moves yet. So the masked woman leads her crew past the gate, a young man walking stiff at her side. Behind her, a braided girl racks a pistol like it's routine, and a boy beside her draws a blade, low and ready. Down a dim hallway, a young man grips his own collar, tense, bracing like he's expecting a hit. Close by, a masked woman just smiles and says it plainly. Eradicate the heresy. Turns out a braided girl and a dark-haired boy are already falling into step. Fixing hair and glasses like this is routine for them too. Somebody calls the young man by an old title, and Rachel's name lands like a warning. He turns to face the group waiting below him, a cloaked figure lurking at the edge. White-haired eyes stay fixed straight ahead, sharp and unblinking, while the rest of the group peers out from behind him. A blonde boy asks to borrow a weapon, sweat showing on his brow. Then he confirms it under his breath. The aunt and Hyunho, both somewhere inside tonight. A white-haired woman studies him with a flat, half-lidded stare, unreadable. Face to face now with a stranger, breath held, nobody blinks first. The masked woman presses her gun flat against Hyunho's skull and lays it out in one line. Their goal tonight is to annihilate the enemy. What's left of him if he says yes to this again? His fist tightens, and all he gives her back is a flat. Yeah, I know. They walk him between two women now. The old woman on one side, a stranger in a dark coat on the other. A camera fixed dead on all three. Why is she here too? Walked like evidence instead of family. Their footsteps fall in rhythm across the tile, and somewhere a red light blinks on. Someone just started watching. Well, in a back room, a masked man studies a bank of monitors, a child among the faces on the screen, arming himself as he watches. Nearby, Sean says only one word, flat. Payment. A shadowed figure waits in the dark, features impossible to make out. The masked man leans over his desk and asks the two men across from him if the children on the feed count as killers too. Honestly, a blue-haired man leans against the wall nearby, arms stacked behind his head. He isn't worried, not even a little. Just then, somewhere close, someone stands frozen, legs trembling in the dark, just fear holding its ground. Meanwhile, in a school locker room, a mercenary crew gathers for the strike. A masked man in a wheelchair counts heads and comes up one short, though he was promised 3. The gray-haired one just smirks. Don't we look enough to you? Nearby, a bald man in the group orders the others not to touch the clients they're guarding. The scarred one just adjusts his sunglasses, muttering that these people aren't like the kids. The crew moves down a stairwell together, guns ready. One girl checks her phone. Every camera on campus just died. Now, a small kid in the group suggests splitting up to cover more ground, gun-toting woman right behind him. The pale-haired leader agrees. Spreading out means finding their targets faster. Rachel lays out the plan. Split into teams, report by radio the moment anything happens. One of them scoffs at the plan, unimpressed. Turns out the pale-haired leader's out of patience. He rubs his temple and tells Sean to pair off and search alone. The team splits up. One girl just smiles, eyes closed, calm in a way that doesn't fit the moment. Sean gets paired with a nervous blonde recruit who can't stop glancing sideways at him. In his head, the kid's panicking. An operation, alone, with Sean. So the blonde kid charges into a dark room, yelling for the gangsters to show themselves, fists up. He throws the first strike. Then he just freezes, eyes wide, stunned silent. While elsewhere, one operative warns another. Get attached to people and it puts them in danger. Ordinary people already paid for that, he says. They became Dead Mansion's targets within days. The scarred one leans in close, wanting to know why. Back home, Hyunho's mom sets a plate down for him at the door, tired but smiling. Just dinner, still home. Now, a suited man shows up at Hyunho's snack bar. Mom throws an arm out to block the doorway. Hyunho stands beside her, face gone flat and still. What happens next isn't shown, only its aftermath. A wide pool of blood, a figure walking away with a bag. Embers drift through the smoke like falling rain. A long-haired figure grins into the haze and says it plainly. Because of you. Hyunho's stomach drops. Because of him? What exactly did he do? A masked man presses a gun to Sean's face and tells him to give up. No more running. Rain streaks past as Hyunho turns sharply, sensing motion behind him. Who's there now? A woman in a coat turns her back as Hyunho goes over the ledge. He's falling, with nothing left to grab. Now the shot comes first, and somehow Hyunho's already moving before it lands. She stares back, thrown. Why is he even here? Hyunho shouts back. Does she know him? Meanwhile, another merc drags a girl's limp body down a dark hallway. He drops her on the ground and shrugs it off, claims he only saw her loitering. Rachel's eyes flash when he says her name, teeth bared through the rain. He aims up at her anyway, smirking, gun already cocked. Then he puts a bullet in the girl at his feet, calm about it. Still, he says, there's some loyalty left between them, Rachel. She doesn't wait for the rest of the sentence. Gun already swinging up, she screams 2 words, get lost. Turns out that's the signal. A woman peeks from behind a curtain, eyes wide with fear. Gunfire opens up on someone falling below. A gunman lunges and grinning, firing again and again. Each shot lands, and the fleeing figure jerks with every hit. Something dark slams down through the rain. Heavy, final. Rachel drops through the rain firing, both hands steady on the gun. She lands crouched over him, smoke still curling from the barrel. Someone breathes. Oh, well, someone else is already gripping a gun in the wreckage. A man in sunglasses leans over a broken railing, smirking down at what's left below. Maybe a few more bullet holes will finally drop him, he says, mocking. He doesn't rate the other man's chances against her either, not with skills like that. Then he turns on Hyunho, sneering that even a bear's punch would land harder. He lunges, and Hyunho's thrown backward hard. For a second, all he can think is, why is the gap between them still this big? The gun comes up level with his face. It fires. Just like that, Yusef's jacket fills the frame, already lunging at the gun. His kick cracks straight through the floorboards. A second kick sends the gunman spinning through the air. A fist flies straight at the sunglasses man's face. Yusef flips upside down, slams a fist into the ground, and the floor just gives out. Bad move. Honestly, Yusef just stares through the rain a second, like he's putting something together. You're different from that girl earlier, he says, low, like he already suspects the answer. Of course, someone new is already smirking at him from the dark. A scarred merc. This one's got a name, Dimitri. Cut to snow, and a line of shirtless men aiming rifles, muscle, and scars, and nothing else. It isn't over. Meanwhile, a memory surfaces. A hunting crew closes in on something buried in the snow. The thing that answers back is bigger than anyone planned for. Blood drips from its teeth, it roars. One man doesn't wait for backup, he wades in barehanded and grabs the beast by the arm. One pull and it's off its feet. He's standing over it now, legs torn open, blood soaking the snow. He's grinning, just as bloodied as the ground beneath him. The rest of the crew stays back and watches. Someone mutters he doesn't fight like a person anymore. By the time they're home, the story's already ahead of them. Now the shaved head man is looming over the blonde boy, boot practically on his broken glasses. He asks if that weak swing was supposed to be a punch. Somewhere close, a hand pulls a gun from a waistband, hidden under a red striped shirt. Turns out that boy isn't done falling. He's thrown against the wall hard enough to spark, body folding on impact. Below, the bald gunman crouches over whoever's left standing. Gun dropped at his feet, he's already grinning like it's over. He starts in on some half-finished threat about bears. He raises the gun again, casual, like this part barely matters. Then he stops. Something about the barrel isn't right. He fires anyway. The shot catches the boy's cheek at close range, a spray of blood and debris. He's flung back, gasping. He drops, curled up, hurt but still breathing. Someone's legs step into frame above him. Honestly, the size gap is what's beating him, and he knows it. Blood's on his mouth when he curses it out loud, more furious than scared. Is strength really the only thing that decides this? Well, the bald gunman isn't finished. He lines up another shot, smirking, gun aimed off panel at his next target. The boy just stares back, sharp and unreadable in the half-light. Then the gunman fires straight down through the broken floor at the man below. A voice cuts through the noise. "That's enough, Dimitri." Meanwhile, a woman with two-toned hair has her gun up. She's daring whoever's hiding to just poke their head out. She warns them straight, "Show yourself," and she puts 3 bullets in it. That's when a blade grazes her across the face instead, blood splitting her cheek. She never saw the second attacker coming. A beam of light cuts past her, closer than the first cut. Down the hall, more armed men are closing in, one already firing upward. She doesn't wait for them either. She leaps straight into the gunfire. She mutters that this is nothing but small fries. Rachel finds her crouched behind a door in the wreckage. "Marie, are you alright?" she calls out. Rachel kneels down, both guns raised, one aims straight at the girl's head, demanding she explain herself clearly. What exactly is she hiding? Marie starts to say something happened, then backs off it fast. She insists she only checked for a second. Her eyes won't hold still behind her glasses. Now a new face walks in, casual, waving. A weapon case hangs off one shoulder like it weighs nothing. He finds a masked man waiting on the bridge over the empty pool. Same org he guesses out loud. "Come play," he says. Somewhere below, a boy crouches tense in a stairwell. His eyes are wide in the dark, bracing for whatever's coming. Above, a woman smiles in a way that doesn't sit right, hair hiding her eyes. She says it like she already knows the answer. From the windows above, others are watching too. They call down that the masked man's gotten popular. Now he's got more competition. Elsewhere, someone hauls an injured ally through the dark room, cursing under his breath. The wounded man calls out to Rachel before he goes down completely. "Go to Eugene," he shouts. The bald gunman's head turns. Something's coming his way, and he's smirking already. Yusuf walks up out of the wreckage, rapping his bloody knuckles as he goes. One fight's already behind him. The next one's already waiting. The ambush springs fast. A merc hides a blade behind his back, waiting for his moment, while a suited gunman swings his pistol up from the next stall over, ready to fire. Then gunfire rips through the hallway in a blur of shouting and muzzle flashes. Yusuf takes the worst of it, caught square in the open. Bullets tear into his chest and leg mid-air, blood bursting off his twisting body. Around him, the ambush turns into a full execution. One man screams with a bullet in his leg, clutching the wound as he goes down. Another holds a gun to a captive's head, forcing him still. Bodies are already bleeding out across the floor around them. Now a scarred merc grabs Yusuf's shoulder, gripping hard through the torn fabric. He tears the jacket the rest of the way open, staring at the skin underneath like he's found something. Then he leans in close, smirking. "Did you forget?" Nearby, Rachel gives in to an order she clearly doesn't want, the girl beside her shaking with fear. "Alright, I got it." So she opens fire, gunning down the fleeing mercs one after another before she finally leaves. Men drop mid-stride. Yusuf shouts after her, telling her not to leave the rookie behind on his own. He doesn't notice the hulking merc closing in fast from behind him. The lunge is a blur, too fast for Yusuf to track in time. His fist slams forward with brutal force. Even with his arm raised to block it, Yusuf takes the hit clean. The merc doesn't look bothered at all. He's still talking to Rachel right now, he says. The rookie, he adds, can wait his turn. Yusuf blocks the next strike anyway, teeth gritted, arm braced hard for the impact. The counter lands clean, and the merc goes flying backward through the air. He's back on his feet fast, standing over Yusuf and striking down at him in payback. Yusuf clutches his stomach, confused, blood already soaking through his shirt. He's sure he blocked it, so why is he bleeding? The merc only smirks, gesturing casually like he's explaining something obvious to a slow student. There's an edge here Yusuf hasn't spotted yet. Still, Yusuf straightens, knuckles wrapped and cracking, standing over one merc he's already put down. Don't you regret it? Then the real threat steps out of the wreckage behind him. A muscular, bald bruiser stands over the scattered cash and debris, Yusuf's own shoes barely visible beside him. His scarred grin makes it plain the fight is far from over. He charges forward, mouth open in a shout, closing the distance in a blur. His fist cracks across Yusuf's face, snapping his head back hard. The follow-up kick sends him crashing down to the ground. The bruiser glances back, calm, already finished and unbothered. Meanwhile, a hooded man leans over him, clawed blades resting right at his throat. Yusuf can only exhale. How many of these guys are there? The hooded man cracks his knuckles, blood already dried on his forearm, standing over him on the wrecked floor. He swings the heavy weapon down at him, taunting him to actually fight back this time. Yusef won't stay down. The hooded man's grip tightens hard on his claws. This guy, till the end. He leaps over a shattered desk, chasing the weapon deeper into the ruined office. Elsewhere in the dark, the principal's office door creaks slowly open. The bald brawler's head snaps up, a slow grin spreading. Someone's walked into range. Meanwhile, in a dark office across the school, Hyunho slumped against a desk, knees drawn up. He can't finish the thought. He really did this to him. A pale hand reaches for him out of the shadow behind. He just grips his own wrist and stares, blood drying at the corner of his mouth. A girl leans into frame, hair hanging over her eyes, smiling with no warmth in it at all. Who is she? What does she want from him? A fist cracks into his forearm, tearing the cut at his mouth wider open. A single tear slides down a stranger's cheek, pale hair catching what little light there is. Now, back in the ruined office, the bald brawler kicks the door in, sending debris flying. "Halftime's over, kid," he grins. "Round 2, he says, and this time maybe Rachel had a point. The hit sends the kid sliding across a row of lockers. His scowl deepens, veins standing out, before the next blow lands. The kid's back up fast, fist clenched so hard it shakes, an M inked into his torso, bracing for what's next. A bound man strains against his ropes nearby, blood soaking his collarbone. He says flat out that all of this traces back to him. Behind him, a tattooed fighter peels his shirt off, revealing a black claw mark spread across his back. Someone below flinches at just the sight of his hands. A gray-haired operative spins around fast, harness strapped tight, reading trouble closing in. The clash turns chaotic, more fighters piling in around the tattooed man. One blonde, one behind glasses. He's thrown hard, blood already flying. Somewhere in the rain, a knife drives down into someone caught underneath. Then Yusef turns it, one spinning kick, catching the big man's head dead on. Blood sprays, and for once it's the big man reeling, not him. The big man straightens slow. Someone's just said a name. It lands on him, or maybe on the kid across from him, hard to tell which. He looks up through a broken, bleeding nose, grinning like he's finally gotten what he came for. This time, it was worth the wait, he says. Off-panel, a voice cracks out just one word, Sean. Yusef stands over the wreckage, fists still clenched, chest heaving. Scars run down one leg, marks from fights that came before this one. Meanwhile, outside the city at night, a bald driver leans against his van, smoking. He's grumbling that all he got for this job was a beat-up pickup truck. He flicks his lighter as a masked woman leads a line of children through the fog toward him. A pair of heels clicks closer out of the shadow behind them, and he barely reacts before she's on him. A nun looks down at the children gathered behind her, rosary in hand. "They're the good kids of Dead Mansion," she says. The driver snaps at whoever's on the phone, demanding to know who's calling him now. He barks for everyone to get in before it blows, hustling the kids toward the van. He's barely clear when the blast goes off behind him, and he doesn't even flinch. The pair dives into the van, and she stares back at the blast, stunned. He doesn't stop to explain, he just barks, "Drive." In the back, a nod of children answer as one. Yes, disciplinarian Rachel. Fear keeps every voice in perfect unison. Rachel warns Tom to soften his footsteps, or she'll hear him from anywhere. He says nothing, only grips a fistful of wrapped candy tighter. It's the one soft thing left to hold on to. The bald man lights a cigarette, laughing like he can't believe it. Kids did that? Rachel's face gives nothing away. He leans in close, cigarette still lit, right against her face. She flinches back. "Why are you so close?" she demands, then tells him flatly to put it out. Now he glances away, uneasy, wiping his mouth like he's hiding something. She asks if something's wrong. "No," he stammers. "Nothing." Her scar catches the light, fresh and star-shaped, a second cut healing near her eye. "Well, to be precise, it's different," he says from the front seat. She touches the mark on her own face and admits where it came from. She got it disciplining Sean, the legendary one. Meanwhile, the word hell hangs over the ride, unspoken. Her eyes drop. "But we've lost him now," she admits, quiet. Of course the ride goes quiet after that, just dark road sliding past the window. He glances sideways again, wary, like he still doesn't believe her. Turns out this fight has roots older than tonight. A scrawled brand marks bare skin on someone else's shoulder. An older man grips his arm from below, holding him like property, not a person. A hooded figure lunges in, knife low and ready. The masked attacker raises his blade high, almost impressed. "You're not just a kid," he admits. That's the last thing he gets to say before he's knocked flat. Rolling his shoulder, the boy holds the knife loose. "Men," he calls, low, wanting more. Footsteps close in from the dim light behind him, slow, deliberate. Another one? He barely thinks it before a fresh blade gleams toward him, blood still drying on his cheek. Yusef is grabbed and hurled straight into a mountain of an opponent. A fist connects and blood sprays from his mouth. He gets his forearm up just in time to block the next swing. The impact jarring bone. Sweat stings his eyes as he grits through it, jaw locked tight. The bald man's kick sends him staggering back. A grip closes around his throat, pain flaring through his ribs. Cracked? He can't tell, and it doesn't matter right now. The bald man leaps in, knife aimed straight down at him. Both fighters go airborne, blades crossing in one bright arc between them. Yusef gets there first, blade snapping up at the bald man's eye, close enough enough to end it. The bald man doesn't let up. Fist after fist lands on Yusef's head, and when the blade comes in, Yusef catches it barehanded. Hey, the man sneers. How long does he think he can keep dodging? He expects Yusef to duck again. Instead, Yusef turns the block into a throw. The man goes flying. Now mid-swing, the man asks if he ever won anything as a kid. I never had one, Yusef answers, blocking the next thrust with his shield. Does the guy even know what he just asked? The man doesn't get it. He slams a fist into Yusef's ribs, demanding to know what he's even talking about. Yusef answers with his fists instead, and the man reels, blood spraying from his mouth. Turns out the question wasn't just talk. Somewhere in the rain, a shadowed voice promises to get him one after all. The bald man wrenches Yusef's jaw open and forces something bloody into his mouth. He calls it a souvenir from his visit to Korea, tells him to add it to his resume. Well, Yusef doesn't waste the opening. His hand closes into a fist, and the kick that follows sends the bald man crashing down. The punch lands, and blood sprays from the man's mouth. He's done. Yusef stands over him shirtless, cracks his neck, and tells him, add it to your resume. Honestly, he doesn't even look winded, stretching easy over the scattered papers like the fight cost him nothing. Then his eyes catch something on the floor and freeze. What is that? A hand grips a golf club behind him, already rising. Yusef doesn't see it coming. Too busy staring at a photo he just pulled from the pile. This photo, he starts to say, before the club swings in. The swing crushes the desk beside him. Yusef hits the floor. The bald man closes in, one red sneaker stepping close, club still raised. Naturally, the man isn't done either. Blood still on his chin as he curses and swings again. Yusef moves first this time, and the blade opens a line across his stomach. The bald man locks an arm around his throat, golf club still in his other hand. Yusef claws at the arm, refusing to black out, glaring back through his own hair. He isn't backing down. The bald man ends up on the ground as Yusef straightens over the wreckage, breathing hard. Pinned above the papers is a photo of a blonde man in uniform. It isn't the enemy's file, it's his own. So Yusef grabs the page underneath and reads fast, blade still loose in his other hand, his own file. What is this? He asks, the cut on his cheek stinging less than the question does. Now the trail leads to a glass and steel building, gone quiet under a darkening sky. Hyunho crosses a walkway above an indoor pool, its water black and rippling below, and the quiet doesn't sit right with him. Beside him, a boy with startling blue hair leans over the rail and goes rigid. Something's down there. Could anyone survive down there? Hyunho wonders. Before either gets an answer, a girl in uniform drops screaming into the dark below them. Hyunho's jaw goes tight, eyes narrowing at what he's just seen. Behind him, the blue-haired boy straightens up, grinning. An iron bar propped against one shoulder like he's got nowhere to be. Hyunho taps his earpiece. Rachel, can you hear me? He says, low, and gets only static back. The stranger wags a finger, playful, mocking. He's already jammed the line. His smile splits wider, teeth bared, one word waiting under it. Trap. That grin drags up a memory he's never fully buried. In it, a hooded operative sizes up a guard, too sharp to rush head on, and calls it off. Beside him, a girl reads the standoff and shifts tactics. New plan. In that case, she says, nodding toward the boy behind her. The plan is simple and ugly. Young Hyunho screams on the footbridge, tears streaming, and the guard below buys every second of it. He wipes his eyes and lets his shoulders shake, playing scared and small. Why it still hurts when the fear's supposed to be fake, he can't say. The guard's grip loosens. Just for a moment. That's when the weapon lunges for his face. For a second, it looks like a rescue. The hooded attacker swings down on a gray-haired fighter instead of the boy, and the blow sends him flying, upside down, crashing hard into the tile. He should be done. Instead, he grits his teeth, plants his feet, and swings back. Blood drips from a cut above his eye as the pipe rises into his hand. Then, all at once, he's the one standing over the wreck, smirking, running a hand through his hair like none of it cost him anything. His shoes stop right in front of the boy. He grabs a fistful of hair and yanks his face up, smiling like this is a game. He tells him to keep crying no matter how hard he's hit. Then he does. Young Hyunho sobs, rubbing his eyes raw, a fresh bruise blooming on his cheek. He stumbles forward between two dark shapes, small and swallowed by them, crying because now he doesn't have to fake it. The act gets him through the door. He walks straight up to an armed guard in a dim hallway, still crying, still shaking. The man demands to know how a kid even got in here. His partner reaches for his phone instead of his gun. Later, both of them are on the ground, dead before they know what hit them. These guys, really? The surviving man breathes, staring at bodies he can't explain, while someone beside him just smiles like he called it. Turns out the scream did more work than it looked. Rewind a few seconds. The kid's crying. Enough, one guard says, pulling his partner back, telling him he's scaring the boy. He crouches down, almost gentle, and rests a hand on young Hyunho's head. Behind him, a shape closes in from the dark, something small and sharp already in its hand. So the guard doesn't trust his phone. Something's wrong, he says, apparently. That's the last full sentence he gets. His partner turns and finds him already down, blood spreading past a stray wheelchair on the floor. Meanwhile, the man crouches, hunting for the kid he blames for this. He never sees Sean's knife rise behind him. Blood hits his cheek and he doesn't flinch. Then it's done, the man on the floor, the boy crouched over him, blade still in hand. Now Sean grips his own arm, teeth gritted, hurt too, and goes down barefoot on the cold floor. Above him, another figure appears, weapon case slung over one shoulder. The fight isn't over. Another hunter is already up next. Turns out the next one's enjoying himself, grinning as he drags his bat across the floor. Sparks trail behind him as he taunts the boy still down. Sean glances back, already reading how bad this is. He leaps for Sean, bat raised, and for a second it looks finished. Then something else hits first. Debris flies, the impact shredding the air itself, and Sean stares down at the wreckage, stunned. What just hit that hard? The one behind it grins, gripping what looks like scrap metal, crude as it looks. It's still a special weapon, and she proves it fast. One spinning kick sending a fighter flying. Where he lands, his arm just shatters. Now the hooded man circles back, bat swapped for something worse, a spiked mace, grin to match. Then let's try this, he says and drives it down. Sean screams. Somewhere in his grip, the weapon clicks, resetting for the next hit. On the stairs, Hyunho meets a new attacker, a baton, no patience. Barehanded, he grabs it mid-swing, just enough to open a gap. He clears the railing, blade out, dodging the next arc. It still catches him, and he crashes hard onto the steps. Naturally, the man leans over him like he's doing him a favor. 10 seconds, kid, he says. Then he starts the count himself, from 10, grinning the whole way down. Hyunho bolts down the stairwell as the count drops, 9, then 8. And this isn't a normal hunter. What is this guy? Above him, the hunter watches, calm under all that hair, not even hurrying. Hyunho doesn't wait for an answer. He just runs, as far as he can. Then a boot slams down, blood spraying across the steps. The kick catches him mid-air and sends him crashing through glass. 10 seconds aren't up yet. He grits out through blood. The man grins wider, calls it the look he wanted, and brings the blade down. Now a blade meets his fist head on, and he shoves through it anyway. A bat cracks the glass floor, and he drops straight into the pool below. The attacker leans over the edge, curling a finger, grinning down like it's a game. Underwater, a younger version of him sinks the same way. Arm bent wrong, teeth locked around the pain. The water wanted him this badly even back then. Turns out this isn't new. A trainer claims he said something he never did, and Sean swings at his arm. The man just smirks, calls him Sean, and promises to stop teasing him. Elsewhere, a stranger holds up a red jacket, denying he knows anything about it. Someone accuses him of protecting a person the family erased, and he goes quiet, scratching his head. Young Sean watches from behind, silent, reading every second of the pause. His eyes go wide, the sentence dying half-spoken. Does he know that face? So there's the old woman, gripping a boy's shoulder, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. A trembling hand keeps a small comb hidden behind his back, and he mutters that he doesn't know. A hand ruffles his hair and tells him to ask her himself. Next time they meet, Yusef grins, says he's heading out, and leaves without looking back. Alone again, young Sean just stands there, knife in hand. His face stays empty. Now, back in the present, he's sinking in the same water, arms spread, going still. What exactly is family, anyways? A blue-haired man reaches into the water with a cane, swimming hard toward him. Save me, please, Hyunho screams, arms thrashing for the surface. The man hauls him up, doubled over and winded. Are you really a non-swimmer? He needles. Then he leans out over the edge and holds out a hooked pole. He lunges, straining, fingers grazing skin, and for 1 second the rescue feels real. Turns out it isn't. The pole slips loose and the water swallows the distance again. So, the bat catches Hyunho mid-swing and the water swallows him whole. He drifts down face first, limp, not fighting the current at all. Gone still. The attacker rests the bat on his shoulder like the fight's already over. A bit of fun, wasn't it? He says. But he isn't finished. A hand shoots up out of the water and locks around the bat wielder's ankle. Not this time. The man freezes, completely blindsided. Now it's his turn to go under. He plunges in head first, bald head first, yellow eyes wide, still gripping Hyunho by the collar, and both crash into the pool in one huge splash. The bat rips loose and floats free behind them, weaponless now. Turns out he's been had. The attacker surfaces gasping, "This damn kid tricked me," hauling Hyunho up by the collar in fury. Holland grips right back, fingers locked from behind, while somewhere below them, another blade waits, raised and ready. The chaos doesn't stop there. The bald attacker grabs a second operative by the collar and mocks him outright, asks if he really believed that, then hauls him down screaming. Both vanish under together. One eye stares out from the murk, then it's gone. A masked man wrestles a struggling young man from behind, a blade slashing into the water right beside them. "Let go," he shouts. No answer. The mask only tightens its grip, cursing this damn kid, then lunges in again, blade raised high. Honestly, it's Hyunho's turn to go under again. A weapon looms above the surface as he sinks. He breaks through gasping, clutching the pool's edge, crying into the water. What if the water hadn't been there? He looks up in terror at a man standing over him now. Tattoos climb his arms, the same bat back on his shoulder. He's grinning down like he's already won. The ground doesn't stay under him for long. He's half submerged again, sweating, disoriented. What's happened to his sense of balance down here? A leg kicks off the pool wall behind him, already coming. The blue-haired one spins through the water, wielding a long blade, closing the distance fast. Hyunho reaches out desperately, bubbles streaming from his mouth. The attacker floats above him now, arms spread. He's smiling like he's already won this too. A gloved hand grips a pole underwater just behind him. A scarred, wild-haired man grins, closing in with a blade of his own. Their hands clash in the murk straight for him. This crazy bastard. Hyunho recoils, eyes wide, already bracing to fight back. Hyunho kicks up and glances back down. The masked man's already there, bat raised and ready. No way up looks safe. His lungs are burning and there's still no opening. The man's airborne already, swinging down with a wide grinning strike. It connects and blood blooms out into the dark water. Is there even a way up that doesn't kill him? Not with the man blocking the only route out. Hyunho grabs for a rope and holds on, mind racing. What now? The man's grinning face swims into view. 2 minutes down here already, longer than he'd guessed. Hyunho keeps thrashing toward the surface. It's no use, the man says, hauling the rope taut and dragging him back under. Hyunho reaches for the knife at his hip, waiting for his opening. This is the moment. He thrusts forward, blade first, then a chain snaps tight around his arm. It yanks him back before the blade even clears the water. Bad break. Off to the side, the blue-haired operative freezes, blindsided by something out of frame. Meanwhile, Hyunho is still under, still grappling, still fighting for space. Then his head breaks the surface into driving rain, gasping. The man's hand plunges down after him, something sharp glinting at the end of it. Of course he mocks the knife too, calls it a toy that won't do a thing. He leaps anyway, swinging hard through the water. Hyunho doesn't flinch. He's already got his own line aimed and ready. Honestly, the man's still snarling, rain lashing around a fist wrapped tight in chain. Hyunho throws first. His punch drives down hard through the water, aimed straight at him. It lands. The man reels back, water churning around his head. Hyunho doesn't let up. He grabs the ropes trailing off the man's own gear and hauls him under, pinning him in place. The man grabs him by the hair, forcing his head under again despite everything. Hyunho thrashes, wrenching himself loose. This time he doesn't stop, not until he's breaking straight up through the water. Turns out the pool goes quiet for exactly 1 second. Then Hyunho explodes up through the surface, gasping in lungfuls of air. He looks down at the man floating beneath him. "Don't you ever pull me under again?" he warns, low and even. The man drifts face up now, motionless, his bat and bead scattered in the water around him. Hyunho glances back, breath ragged. He tosses the insult right back. An amateur, nothing more. Nearby, another fight is already underway. A hooded man grapples in close, teeth gritted around something hard, a gun caught in the frame between them. Meanwhile, down a rain-slick stairwell, gunfire drops another wave of dead mansion men. A silver-haired fighter carries a wounded ally piggyback, blood soaking the bandage on her leg. She grits through the pain while bullets crack past them both. Below, more suited men crumple as a second volley tears through the dark. "I'm unscathed. What about you, Mary?" she calls back, never slowing her pace. Now Mary's doubts surface, glasses flashing, sweat beading under the strain. Things have spiraled far past what they planned, she admits, so maybe it's time to pull back. Their leader won't hear it. Red eye blazing, hair whipped by the storm, he snarls that they're wiping the enemy out completely. Turns out they're pinned. The armed woman plants herself in front of the girls as gunfire rakes the hallway. She checks her weapon by feel. It's the last magazine. Not much room left if this drags on. Her phone lights up with worse news. Dimitri's here and so is Yuri. Both of them numbers nobody accounted for. The armed woman needles her anyway, calling her support weak. Mary just adjusts her glasses and keeps reading. Of course she racks another round anyway. The chamber snaps shut, metal on metal, ready before the fear catches up. Down a side corridor, Mary checks her phone alone, the light the only thing cutting the dark. A shape shifts behind her and something in her gut goes cold. Her hand flies to her mouth. What did she just give away? She murmurs to herself that she's made a careless mistake. Phone still glowing in her grip. A shadow looms over her, gun leveled at her face, demanding to know how she could do this. Well, the stairwell goes quiet except for her own breathing. Boots step forward on the wet floor, slow, deliberate, unseen. Mary's eyes flash red, teeth bared, then she lets a rosary swing from her fingers, smirking. "We have found it, Rachel." The masked man levels his gun and recites Dead Mansion's 3 principles like a threat. Obey, don't question, break nothing, the creed drilled into every child the org ever bought. It's the leash Dead Mansion uses on kids like Mari. Rachel's scar burns pale with fury and she demands to know who else came with him. Then the masked man delivers the real blow. Null. "He has returned," he says. "Null. Back from where?" For a moment, nobody moves. Rachel's eyes flare, orange and slit-pupilled, temper barely held. Rachel moves first. One kick sends the gun spinning out of his hand midair. Ding! "That's as far as you go," she says. The masked man freezes, stunned that she's already inside his guard. Mari's grip on the magazine tightens, and everything she thought she knew about this fight resets. Word of the disciplinarian's return won't stay quiet for long. Honestly, Mary can't resist gloating. She holds up the spent magazine, certain that was his last one, and the fight's already over. She's wrong. A fist closes around a hidden blade, and he lunges before she can reset. The blade slices down and connects. Mary's thrown backward, skirt flaring, the shock still raw on her face. Somewhere close, a woman's scream cuts through the chaos, her gloved hand locking onto a blonde man's shoulder. "Mary," she cries. He whips around, face twisted in fury. "How do you know that name?" he shouts. She lunges for his coat, dragging him back into the fight before he can break loose. Wrong call. A second man's already at her blindside, cold steel finding her scalp before she can turn. "That's as far as you go, sister." Across the room, a girl's hand drags limp along the floor, out cold or worse. Something in Rachel breaks, and the curse that rips out of her isn't words anymore, just rage. One man swings while claws rake up at his shins, someone yelling at her to calm down. It's no use. Rachel goes down under sheer numbers, and a girl stands over her, watching without a word. Nearby, a man risks a glance around the corner, one hand hiding something behind his back. Someone else already has an answer waiting. A hooded shape leans in close to a girl who's grinning, eyes shut tight. She's been counting the minutes. In the next room, it's already over. A bound man's dragged up by the hair, a gun settling near his legs. Blood's already pooling on the floor. The girl and the suit don't linger. A hooded giant filling the doorway behind them. There's more work tonight, and one man already knows where they're headed next. Capture Sean. Now, across the city, a woman's already bleeding, hair yanked back by a fist. The building looming over the street belongs to someone specific, Hyunho's mother. Inside, a bandaged hand closes around a blade, and another reaches for it too late. The man holding it wears his scars like a badge. Smiling like this is nothing new. His grip trembles once, then steadies. He leans in close on Hyunho, sizing him up like he's already decided something. Someone like you shouldn't be... What's that supposed to mean? The knife slips from his fingers instead, clattering across the floor in sparks. Hyunho's face to face with the man in the wheelchair now, who's actually been pulling the strings. Well behind him, the scarred man muses out loud, almost bored. They don't even take compensation or revenge. The masked man staggers toward him for support, one arm wrapped and useless. Blood runs down his own jaw now. He wipes it away, almost annoyed this took longer than planned. Naturally, more suits file into the room together, shoes sinking on the tile like they've drilled this. The wheelchair man doesn't even raise his voice. Efficiency is important at work, you know? Meanwhile, across town, Yusuf's not doing much better. Hauled up by the collar into a fight already going sideways. Somewhere close, fists clench around a scrap of torn fabric. The only proof something already broke loose here. The big man goes down hard enough to wreck half the floor, and Yusuf barely looks winded. He runs a hand through his hair, cocky despite every bruise stacking up on him. So a security camera catches him standing there, and it's only then the question hits. Boinglaw Construction's no small name, so how did whoever's behind this know to call in Russian mercenaries? A fresh cut opens under his eye, blood already tracking down his jaw. Yusuf walks off down the corridor, straightening his torn jacket like nothing happened. Something's not right, he thinks, and the thought dies half-formed. Now he's airborne, shirt torn open, throwing the first punch before he even lands. He barrels straight into a bald man's crew of suits. The bald man's face goes white, all he gets out is, you. Someone shouts they found the yellow-haired one. In the same breath, they yank him off his feet and kick him, blood already in his mouth. The suit holding him doesn't even bother getting serious. Forget it, he mutters, not worth it. One more blow sends the knife spinning free and snaps Yusuf's head back. His legs buckle under him, blood streaking his jaw as he goes down. Turns out he isn't done. Held upside down as a gunshot cracks overhead, he still throws his bloody fists up. He crouches back down, a bloody handprint stamped into the floor beneath him. He looks up sharp, clenching a fist that's already glowing with the next hit. One more, he thinks. Is that all you've got? Two pairs of eyes watch from the dark, hidden behind strands of hair, waiting. Meanwhile, across the building, Rachel sits slumped against a wall, bloodied and barely conscious. A hooded figure looms over her, a blade in hand. Are you awake, Rachel? He asks, stepping in close. Rachel screams, blood on her face. Marie, she spits, you bastard. The pale red-eyed figure only glances back, cold and unreadable. Elsewhere, a girl with braided hair sits smiling at her phone, watching like it's a show. A green-haired man sips his drink and asks who the real masterpiece of Dead Mansion is. Rachel goes rigid, blood on her cheek. What is he even talking about? A memory cuts in before she can stop it. A priest grins, palm pressed to a girl's head before a towering cross. Marked, claimed, his newest prize. Why is everyone still so obsessed with that outdated antique? The green-haired man sneers into his cup. She'd had that thought once. Sean must be something else for a man like that to answer to him. Only now does it click. Her eyes narrow sharp under the blood and matted hair. Still on her knees, she looks up. I'll show him myself, she says, who the real masterpiece is. Her hand shoots out and locks around the girl's wrist. Dark nail polish, grip like iron. Mary holds her mug like a trophy, watching Rachel from across the room. Rachel just stares back, blood crusted on her lip, eyes burning an unnatural red. Meanwhile, the monitor wall behind her flickers through hallway feeds. A masked figure in a varsity jacket drifts across one screen, moving wrong, too light on its feet. Then that feed dies into static. Turns out Rachel won't break, not even bloodied. She spits and laughs it off while someone off-panel calls her that little brat. Was the director ever furious about anything but Sean? Mary turns to face someone waiting in the dark, small beside them. Under her sleeve, her fingers close around a hidden cleaver. Ready? Just in case. Now mug still in hand, Mary says Rachel's hiding something, whether she admits it or not. Her face sharpens and she snatches a gun from a bag. I can, she says, flat and sure. The barrel presses into Rachel's skull, hammer cocked, blood sliding down her cheek. Seconds later, she's on the floor. Gun jammed against her face. The door swings open. Oh ladies, the wheelchair-bound man says, sorry to interrupt. Bandages wrap his face and hand, but his grin is wide, pleased with himself. He asks mock polite whether he interrupted at any crucial points. Given the humiliation this woman caused him, a few holes won't be enough, he says. Simple as that. Well, elsewhere in the building, a lone figure lies slumped face down over a desk. Up on the roof, 3 suited men have already finished the job. Their target lies limp behind the razor wire, a boot near his throat, while one snaps a photo. Someone tells the chairman the job went smoothly, thanks to him. Someone's hand clenches into a fist, knuckles white with fury. Below, the beaten man looks up dazed, asking what they think they're doing. Of course, kneeling beside the wheelchair, Mary tells the chairman not to be too upset. Just business. Nearby, a suited man covers his eyes, unable to watch. This how adults handle things? He asks quietly. A hood shifts nearby, half hiding a face in shadow. Mary grips the wounded man's jaw and says his use ran out when he dragged Sean into this. What did Sean drag him into exactly? Blood runs from the gash on his cheek as his eyes go half-lidded. In a garage stacked with tires, Mary stands smirking over another bandaged captive. Below her, something stirs in the dark. She looks down at a masked, restrained figure on the floor below. We have such talented children, she says. Meanwhile, Mary stands cold and sharp behind her glasses, guarded even now. A hooded shape looms close and someone starts to call her name. It cuts off before the word finishes. A gray-haired man grins behind her, too wide, too calm, in some cathedral quiet hall. His hand closes in her hair and wrenches her head back. No way, she breathes. In the dark, another man just watches, hunched, waiting for what's next. Meanwhile, in a wrecked room, Sean looks up sharply, phone still in hand. Debris starts raining down around him. What's about to land on him? Watch out, a girl screams as a bloodied, shirtless man crashes through the floor above. Sean barely braces before the impact lands like a wrecking ball. Wait, is that Yusuf? Nearby, a bloodied face stares out from a wild tangle of hair. Whatever just happened to her isn't over. Somewhere close, a room sits black and empty, waiting. Well, Yusuf's back on his feet, jacket open, fist already clenched. Somewhere in the dark, a hand grips another's arm. The struggle isn't finished. Sion watches, blank and still, giving nothing away. Turns out every kid at the dead mansion starts the same way. A smiling man walks a small boy in by the hand, telling him he's not like the others. This one's different. So the man leads him through a heavy door flanked by hooded figures, faces hidden completely. With a thin, cold smile, he calls it our dead mansion. The boy's eyes go wide as something clicks into place. A tattooed man looks him over in a bare clinical room. Congratulations, Sean, he says. The tattoo gun buzzes near the man's grinning mouth as another holds the boy still. The needle nears his neck. Tears sit in his eyes, but he doesn't move. Cut back to present, Mary's stare is cold again, unreadable behind round glasses. Meanwhile, Sean stands amid the wreckage, shirt torn and bloodied. Facing down the chairman wheeled in through the ruined doorway. Above them, a cloaked woman crouches on a pipe, dead still, watching. Mary stands over another man crumpled on the floor, his phone slipped from a limp hand. Whatever he knew, he isn't telling anyone now. A masked figure screams a warning about Mary before he's cut off. Yusuf's already moving, unfazed. I kinda already knew, he says. Now he decides, hit first, ask questions later. His fist clenches, veins standing out, trembling with the promise of it. Of course she goes for the low blow first, mocking him for not hesitating to hit a girl. She doesn't move, doesn't even flinch. His fist trembles inches from his own face, right at the edge. Mary barely gets the taunt out. Hyunho's mother wouldn't like that, would she? Before Yusuf's fist lands. She's airborne, glasses flashing, already twisting to counter on the way down. Is she breaking the rules on purpose? Yusuf wonders, watching her fight like nothing is off limits. He grabs her collar mid-strike, deciding that question can wait. Mary takes the hit and grins through the blood, murmuring something about Sean's kind of punch. Then Yusuf staggers, caught cold by a return blow he never saw coming. Then she flips it. Mary grabs him mid-strike and slams him down through the floor. He crashes through the debris, trying to name the technique that just took him apart. Nearby, a battered woman looks up through blood and bruises, barely holding herself upright. Yusuf keeps falling, streaking past a wall smeared red, headed straight for where she waits below. Now battered and shirtless, Yusuf hauls himself up and roars the order across the wreckage. Go after her, Sean. The woman kneels behind him, spent as he turns to the next problem. Someone drops a claim about hidden hands pulling strings behind all this, and Yusuf's eyes sharpen, wary. Beside him, a girl bleeds from the nose and forehead, urging him to move now and hear the rest later. Meanwhile, they run together past a body slumped on the floor, no time to check him. Is there a mastermind behind Mari after all? Right now, only one thing matters, catching up before it's too late. Fist clenched, Yusuf puts it together. They know exactly how to slip past the 3 principles built to leash them. A masked figure kicks the wounded girl down the stairwell shaft. No warning. Yusuf leaps in after them, aiming a kick at the shape below. Turns out the mask was hiding gloved hands cradling vials of blood-red liquid. It's Mary. I'm just getting started, she says, calm as anything. Debris shatters around her from every side, and Mari doesn't flinch, arms crossed at the center of it all. Not a scratch on her. The blast throws Yusuf backward through the air. Fire and rubble burst outward behind him, swallowing the hallway whole. Well, Mary braces through the second explosion, shielding her head as sparks rain down. Yusuf throws up an arm too, sparks stinging across his skin. Then it clicks for him. She raided the school's science lab for this. It would be dangerous to inhale this, he mutters, pulling back from the smoke. A kick catches him across the face, snapping his head back. Yusuf screams, thrown by the force of it. So, she isn't finished. In the rain, Mary's spinning kick connects, blade sharp, and his arm splits open, blood spraying across the torn sleeve. Mary doesn't let up, and her fist cracks across his face. Blood bursts from the hit. Who's been watching him this whole time? So, he's got nothing to fight with, not even a chair leg. Then his fingers find a broken shard on the floor. He swings it low across her retreating leg, and the blade connects. Now he's airborne again, blade first. Mary lobs something round and heavy at him, taunting that this is something only he can do. It slams into his shoulder and bursts into blood, and he staggers back, arms crossed over the wound. Fire blasts across his face. The fireball swallows him whole and throws him backward through the rain. One more burning punch sends him flying again, flame trailing behind him. Meanwhile, Mary just keeps walking, stepping past the small fires she started. Behind the mask, her eyes stay flat. She doesn't look back. Yusuf's alone now, blood running down his arm and wrist. He leans over the table, breath ragged, blaming that bear-like guy for how close it got. He bows his head into the shadow and goes quiet. Cut to Mary's face, and the smile on it is all wrong for someone hunting a wounded boy. Yusuf slams his bloody fist on the table. Also because of me, right? What did one heartbeat of hesitation just cost this time? Turns out the hunt isn't over. Boots step through the dark room, past the blood on the floor. Mary picks through the wrecked library, calling for him to come out. She spots the blood trail leading up the stairs, and that much blood is hard to hide. You're still alive, right? She says, blade at her lips. Yusuf presses a hand to the wound and folds himself between the shelves, not moving, not breathing loud. Above him, her boots keep coming step by step down the blood-marked stairs. Mary walks the library balcony, boots crossing footprints already going rust dark. She's still hearing it, the director calling her rival the greatest. Was that call too hasty though? In her head, she's a kid again. She watches a man force eye drops into a boy's face, gripping his small shoulders hard. A woman in round glasses scoffs at the same claim, calling it absurd. Now she stops over a fresh blood pool on the floor. Too hasty a call, she decides. She drops into a hard landing, boot cracking wood underfoot. Below her, something dark and small lies sprawled across the floor, a scrap of blue beside it. Up close, it's just debris, scattered and hard to read. Not blood, not quite. She stares down at a stapler someone dropped or threw. She crouches for it, muttering a question at the stapler in her hand. Someone answers. Yusuf leans against the shelves, shirtless and bloodied, dismissing whatever she just said. She stays low, watching something glow faintly on the floor beside her. He expects her to fold under the taunt. She doesn't. He swings fast. She blocks with her arm, then puts him down, one blow to the head and neck. In seconds, she's got a weapon pressed into his bloodied arm, pinning him down. Now up close, his shoulder shows an old tattoo, half healed, half torn open again. Stitches split on his forearm, blood soaking through the wrap. He cuts her off before she can start in on masterpieces. Already sick of the word. Then he throws her back through the air, blood flying from her mouth. He leaps after her through the rain, driving a strike down as she lands. He stands over her a second later, fist clenched, glaring down. He wants answers now. A raised hand mocking, demanding she look at him. Know the method? He snaps, gripping her face hard by the chin. To break the three principles, he means, eyes locked on hers. Turns out the grip doesn't loosen for a while, his hand lost in shadow over her face. When he finally lets go, her cheek is raw and red. The greatest masterpiece, she thinks, almost laughing at the phrase now. Is this all you've got? He taunts, jaw already bruised from the fight. So he looms over her again, one hand locked on her shoulder. He grabs her face and squeezes until she groans through gritted teeth. To break the three principles, he repeats, bent low, forcing the question back on her. She's hauled up, limp, wrapped and carried, hanging upside down in his grip. Honestly, something in her breaks loose instead of fear. Her face twists into a wide, unsettling grin as he grabs her chin again. She reaches for him laughing, the tattoo on his back stark under the library light. Naturally, that laugh rattles him. Sweat breaks over his bruised skin as the words land. Is there really a way to break it? Then he crouches over her, fist clenched, one question hanging in the dark aisle. Do you want to know? He asks. The scene cuts away to a quiet house under gray daylight, gate shut, one tree standing still in the yard. Years back, in a different house, a man narrows his eyes. The woman beside him claps a hand over her mouth. She's staring at young Mary, buried in paperwork, who's just calmly fixed an error in someone's submitted paper. So, behind her, an elderly woman sits facing away while two silhouettes watch without a word. What are they even measuring? Mary doesn't seem to notice or care. She just laughs hard, hands pressed to her cheeks. Now, cup in hand, Mary pads down a grand staircase toward two figures still working at a desk below. She brings coffee. The woman barely glances up, telling her to just leave it. Turns out something Mari says stops the woman cold, hand at her chest. She turns back to the page, scolding under her breath. Not that it lands, Mari just smirks. Meanwhile, a bearded man mutters he needs to rest for a bit, book still in hand. The woman heads down past him as the house quiets for the night. Later, that same man's on the phone, sly and relaxed, clearing the room for privacy. A robed man crosses the dark room to where Mary's still up, papers stacked neat at her elbow. She's finished organizing the data while he slept. He blinks, glasses in hand, then checks every page himself while she waits on his verdict. Elsewhere, a man bows before a doubting woman who tells him to ask him herself next time, and Mari only nods, meek. Someone holds up a photo of a smiling couple, and her stare goes blank. Who are they to her? Fists slam the desk. He's tracked the man down. A hotel past the edge of town, room 307. Someone screams for him to stop, and Mary just looks up, confused. Of course, his stare turns cold, and he turns on the elderly woman instead. No warning. Cups and papers scatter as she takes the hit. Glasses knocked crooked, hand pressed to her cheek. Do I look inferior to you? He asks, standing over her, then walks off and leaves the mess behind. Outside, the church sits dark against the sky, one window lit. A priest finds Mary alone inside and starts to speak. Sorry, she stammers, bracing for the same anger she just watched. Instead, his hand rests gentle on her head, and something in her flinches, then settles. Minutes later, they're sitting side by side on a couch, talking quiet, calmer than she's been all day. Later, a gray-haired man rests a hand on her head too, smug, murmuring something about her making sense. Mari looks up, dazed. Am? She asks, like she's questioning her own name. She ends up kneeling at his side, cup in hand, a tattoo reading faith inked into the palm still resting on her hair. Her face goes flat, dull still. The question she just asked stays unanswered. Now, years later, Mary touches the bruise blooming on her cheek. Sean's back, she notes, and this time neither of them walks away clean. Yusef grabs a fistful of her hair as they fall through open air together, battered and bleeding. He won't quit. His punch lands hard and throws her backward down the stairs. Mary counters with a long curved blade, glowing white as she swings up from the stairs. A hand seizes her flying hair, but she crouches low and braces through the blow. Then she locks eyes on her target and promises she's getting serious now. She clashes hard. The shadowed shape meets her strike head on. The impact leaves the air streaked red, the wall warped from the force. So Yusef expects to hold the upper hand after that punch. Instead, her blade finds his shoulder first and blood sprays before he can flinch. He can barely keep up, wrist still caught in her grip before her kick throws him back. Blade still raised, Mary turns on Sean next, a kick and a swung textbook driving him down. Leg dark with blood, can he even stand this time? She looms over him grinning. Haven't you thought about it, Sean? Meanwhile, across the wrecked shelves, Yusef slams into a masked attacker, tattoo stark on his back. Turns out her words echo something Sean's asked himself. How do you take on grown professionals? Papers on a nearby desk are stamped destroy type, right beside the knife that did the job. One old memory answers her own taunt. A grown killer crumples while the boy watching barely reacts. She grins, half mad, and asks if he's ever felt it himself. Battered in the doorway, Yusef braces with a book like a shield, wondering if madness is really nonsense. Well, Yusef catches her next kick clean out of the air, tattooed forearm streaked with blood. Feet trade blows fast in the rain-soaked stacks. Then her book cracks across him. You're obsessively aiming for it, aren't you? She spins low through the rain and brings the blade down across his head. He staggers. Blood streaks his face, the fight nowhere near over. Sean grits his teeth through the pain, blood already slicking his skin. Then he freezes mid-crouch on the railing. What's coming at him now? Mary drops from above, blade high. Sure, she's caught him blind. She hasn't. Sean's counter meets her weapon head-on and blows it apart in a burst of white. Now she crashes through the wreckage below him, and Sean's the one left standing over her. Bruised and furious, she still calls herself the greatest in Dead Mansion. Sean grips her arm until it bleeds. The greatest? You? He asks. He keeps pressing, asking if that's really all the fight she's got left. She turns, hair curtaining her face, grabbing the railing as the fight swings again. A blow catches him clean and throws him through the debris. Meanwhile, a masked, horned fighter closes on someone else nearby, blade a hair from taking their head off. Years back, a boy punches through glass without flinching. A giant of a trainer looms over him, promising a technique built to guarantee a kill. By the time the lesson's over, it's the boy's own hand holding the bloodied blade. Back in the present, that same fighter swings a club overhead, leg still bleeding from the fight. A blade catches his hand. He recoils, roaring through the pain, but keeps swinging. Turns out Mary's close enough to see it from the shadows. She goes still. Wait, is that Alexander? He answers with an explosive hit that sends his opponent flying, weapon torn from his grip. A man stands over her, blood streaked across the floor. Wind rips through her hair as she tries to speak, the word barely out. it. So it calls up an old memory. A man in a priest's collar rests a hand on a child's head, promising she must be the best. Then the sky goes dark and quiet, nothing but falling ash. Sean drops on her from above, knife already in hand. He lowers the blade toward her throat, hand trembling against her skin. Can he actually go through with it? He freezes, curses under his breath, and lets the knife fall instead. He hoists her over his shoulder and walks, muttering that the talk of breaking the 3 principles was always a lie. Elsewhere, someone lies bloodied on the ground, gasping out one word, director, and the man himself is the one standing over them. Night falls over the gate of a church-like mansion, one window still lit. In the chapel, a corpse already lies in a spreading pool of blood. His scarred hand tightens on the hilt, driving the sword through a kneeling prisoner. Another example made. Meanwhile, someone watches through wind-blown hair, smirking in the dark. On a stormy rooftop, a suit looks down at Hyun-ho, soaked and limp in his pajamas. Then we'll just throw this kid, he says, while another watches the rain fall. Nearby, a young woman lies collapsed in the rain, barely conscious. A hooded shape looms over her while a suited man grins down. Hands yank Hyun-ho back as she's dragged toward the fence, begging them to stop. The man in black taunts him about an old boast, that he'd never go down. Hyun-ho glares through the fence while rain falls over wilted flowers in the dark. He grimaces in pain, then crawls through his own blood while the beating just continues. Elsewhere, 2 more suits complain about the filthy rain while they wait. A girl walks out in her school uniform, and they confirm she's the one they want. Hyun-ho kneels by the fence, looking back in fear at a body beside him. A hand swings a blade through the rain, an attack about to land. Time to run? The memory hits. Young Hyun-ho grins, knife raised, and drives it into a man's wrist. The man roars, "Are you from the dead mansion or something?" Then flings him through the air. He crashes down, and above him the man reels, knife falling from his bloodied hand. Now, a masked man leaps toward a fallen figure, while Hyun-ho watches from a distance. Debris scatters in the rain. Hyun-ho stands gripping a knife, glancing back as a shoe steps into blood nearby. The masked man suddenly remembers the gun in his jacket and pulls it free. He kicks Hyun-ho down and presses the gun to his head. Another man collapsed nearby. Is this really it? Something old switches on in him. Is he the kid in danger now? The one nobody's coming for? One suited man can't even hold his gun steady, too scared to fire. Hyun-ho drags himself through the rain toward them anyway. This is pathetic, he mutters through soaked hair. The suited man levels his gun at him, done playing nice with a brat. Feet scuffle across the flooded concrete as the two collide. Blood blooms across the man's shoe. First cut his. Well, Hyun-ho freezes at what his own hand just did. Did that blade really move on its own? The man staggers, blood already in his shoe, gun swinging back up. Hyun-ho doesn't wait to answer himself. Already airborne, boot leading the fall. The gunman fires anyway, caught mid-fall, shot going wild through the rain. Hyun-ho clamps his teeth into the man's ear. He won't let go. Somebody nearby yells that he's pointing a gun at a kid, appalled. The gunman doesn't care. He shoves the barrel straight against Hyun-ho's skull, promising to kill him first. Turns out the kick lands before the trigger does. Hyun-ho's boot cracks into the masked man's gun hand, impact ringing through the rain. The man staggers back, amused. "I take that back," he says, retracting whatever he'd said before. Calm like nothing happened, he grins into the storm. Rain keeps falling on a parked van outside some nondescript building, headlights off. Meanwhile, Rachel lies nearby, dazed, blood soaking through her clothes. Mary hangs upside down in the dark, wrists bound, wounds raw down her arm. "Did I lose?" she mutters, half conscious. Somewhere close, a pale scarred man grips a wooden case, demanding to know where Sean's gone. Yusef sprints through a corridor, shirt torn, bruises fresh. He doesn't stop. Of course, the interrogation doesn't wait for her to heal. A masked man holds a syringe to Mari's leg. He's done with small talk, ready for real questions now. He empties it into her, calling it nothing but a confession drug. Her whole body convulses the second it hits. A blonde man leans in furious, demanding to know what she's been doing behind his back. Mary just smirks through the restraints. "Didn't need the drug for that," she says, unbothered. A hooded figure yanks her up by the hair. Blood soaks her collar. She's still smiling. Along with Noel, she adds, "Blood fresh on her sleeve." Honestly, the hooded man can't believe what he's hearing. He grips her face, forcing her chin up, refusing to let her look away. She keeps smiling through the blood anyway. "That's right," she says. "The true legend of Dead Mansion you've been hiding." Now a blonde figure steps from the dark and says it flat, "Noel is alive, Rachel." No shake in the voice at all. It starts right there. Sean's crouched low in a hallway, bracing hard. He looks up sharp and freezes. A gloved hand shoots out of a dark doorway right beside him. Then the memory jumps back on him. He's pinned against glass, slamming both hands, shouting through it. Further back still, slumped face down on a classroom desk. Dead weight. Someone screaming his name. Now he's back in the present, hand on a door handle, sweat on his face. It stops cold at the edge of the frame. He doesn't move. Meanwhile, in the rain, an older man reaches forward, grim and worn. Nearby, a half-shadowed face turns into view, smiling faint and wrong. Wrong smile, wrong place. A blonde face eases a door open, careful in the dim hallway. He turns sharp at the sound of his own name, mouth falling open. Sean, you were here? He manages. Sean brushes past the question, already checking the kid beside him for wounds. Yusef glances back at the two behind him, Sion and Hyunho hobbling along on crutches. They keep moving without a word down the dim corridor. Then Hyunho's head snaps towards Sion, stunned, demanding to know why he's even here. Well, Yusef's got an answer for that too. He may look like a monkey and act foolish, he says, but there's more to him than that. Sion just grins up at him, pleased despite himself. Turns out the tension's not just in the room. Even their shoes read like a standoff, school loafers next to red high tops. Cute standoff. Hyunho limps on behind them, leg bandaged, cast dragging with every step. Every step costs him. What did Sion even do to deserve landing in this? Sion lags a step behind, half hidden behind Yusef's coat, sweat on his face. The three of them keep walking, Hyunho's mind circling backward the whole time. In the end, all of this happened to him because of what, exactly? Yusef stops and turns on Sion directly. Done waiting. Just say it, he presses. What exactly is going on here? The memory answers before Sion can. A girl stands frozen in a classroom doorway, staring at a boy slumped face down over his desk, not moving. That's the moment this all began. Hyunho lunges, grabbing at Yusef's leg, trying to force his way past. Yusef should hold him back easy, hurt leg and all. Instead, Hyunho breaks loose, stumbling forward, shouting, I want to. He starts and never finishes. Yusef's jaw goes tight. He says nothing. Down in a dark stairwell, Mom stands wounded, robe open over bruised ribs. Sion spots her and calls out, voice cracking. Go to the parking lot, she tells him. Rachel will be there. Join her. She rests a hand on his head anyway. He can't help but ask what's wrong. Sion's knees give out mid-step, and Hyunho catches him before he hits the floor. The kid's out cold. What happened to him? So Yusef stands with his back to the others, arms crossed, saying nothing. Sion won't meet anyone's eyes either. This is all I can say for now, he tells them, flat and final. Yusef's fist curls at his side, still turned away. I'm sorry is all he manages. Hyunho hefts Sion onto his back and keeps moving, but he isn't finished. He grabs Yusef's wrist hard. What aren't they telling him? He wants the truth, right now. Turns out, a boy drags an unconscious man down the corridor a few minutes earlier, and Yusef just watches. He stands frozen, staring at his own feet, doing nothing. Then something else moves in the dark, mist curling into a face with eyes. Yusef's jaw goes tight, and he doesn't blink. Well, Boots step forward out of the shadows, unhurried. A voice compliments him for noticing, calling him sharp. The man turns something over in his hands, calm, claiming he was once really nervous. He starts to walk off, saying Yusef's quite something, and cuts himself off mid-word. Yusef scoffs, tense under the calm. He expected someone terrifying, not this. I am Jang Hyun, the man says, smiling like the name should mean something. Jang Hyun. Why does that already feel like a threat? His fist stays wrapped tight, collar open, ready. Now a snowy alley outside a walled mansion, guards posted at the gate. Two men stand watch, rifles slung, one smoking through the cold. Inside, a scarred, tattooed man drinks straight from the bottle, sprawled across a couch full of empties. Naturally, he looks down at someone kneeling before him. You didn't come here just to worship peacefully, he says. Tattoos bare, priest's collar loose at his throat. Behind him, a cross-tattooed attendant leans in with the real warning. The director is furious with him. She calls him barefoot and it isn't friendly. He barely reacts, muttering that he has no idea what she means, and drinks again. Off to the side, a bald man reads from a heavy book, eyes wide, taking in every word. Then a tattooed hand reaches toward him. An accusation is coming. Meanwhile, a private jet cuts through the night sky overhead, and a voice presses him on the phone. So what, it asks? Was that also a coincidence? Back inside, the bald man tenses, eyes glowing white, one arm torn and bleeding. A hooded shape is just there, and he flinches back, gripping a black folder. The priest-collared man leans in close, mocking his size. For such a little guy, he says, rosary swinging, smirk never dropping. Called little, he yanks his glasses off, eyes blazing white. He barely moves before a tripwire slices his cheek open. Blood beads down his jaw. So Barefoot just grins, delighted, pointing up. Check this out. Thin wire crisscrosses the whole hall, floor to ceiling, and the kids on the balcony are watching every second of it. He taunts the kids on the balcony, calling this whole thing child abuse. The tattooed man beside him just crosses his arms, silent. Then Barefoot draws a revolver. They're finishing this today. A blonde kid launches off the balcony at him, fist first. The tattooed man presses his gun to the back of a school uniformed boy's skull instead. Vincent, he says, calm, using the name like a leash. Turns out Vincent feels it too, and asks straight, something's wrong here, what is it? The tattooed man's eyes narrow, already working out an answer he isn't ready to give. Meanwhile, a scarred hand closes around a sword hilt, resting over an open file full of photographs. Handcuffs, a blade, a fallen cross, a scripture-worn book. The room reads like a ritual, not a rescue. A suited man recoils on the couch, gun in hand, shouting at whoever's reaching down at him. Somewhere close, one bloodshot eye watches, half hidden behind long hair, and doesn't doesn't blink. Whatever gets said next hits the suited man like a slap. He can only stammer, "What did you just say?" while the tattooed man sits at the center of it all, a nervous boy pinned beside him. Now, dawn breaks over the skyline, quiet like none of that happened. Somewhere else, a new day's already starting. A dark-haired man strolls past Yusef, who's leaning against the wall with a knowing smirk. Yusef's eyes cut sideways, sharp, tracking him. The man just tightens his wrapped fist and smiles, like he's already won something. "I am Jang Hyun," he says, plain, like the name should mean something. He raises his bandaged fist, ready to move. Yusef goes cold, the name digging at something buried. A wolf-eyed shadow looms over him in his own head. Jang Hyun spins into a kick while Yusef's back is turned, weight already resetting before it even lands. It connects clean. Yusef's head snaps back, eyes wide with the shock of it. Hyunho crouches low, smirking. Did that guy actually block it? The fighter answers with a hard punch toward his face, then leaps into a spinning kick aimed at his head. Honestly, Hyunho's counter gets there first. His fist connects, blood flying from the impact. Is that all he's got? One more kick sends the fighter airborne, and he slams into the stairwell wall below. Hyunho's eyes narrow, sharp even through the silence. He hauls the blonde fighter up by the collar and demands answers. Battered and dangling, the guy still claims to be the legend of Dead Mansion. Now Hyunho just smirks off the brag, the big daddy, whatever he calls himself. He plants a kick that sends the man crashing into a wall. Glass sprays from a window somewhere above, already falling. Yusef stares, shirt ripped open, stunned that someone really went out that window. Turns out it's Hyunho. He's the one who crashes through the shattered glass, plummeting into open air. Good child, they used to call him. Is that even what this is? He hits the floor hard, glass biting into his palms. A hand yanks his collar, a boot slams down beside his head. His hands are already wrapped and bleeding. How much more can they take? The two-toned hair man crouches over him, ready to finish it. Then a masked figure grips the man's skull from behind, forcing something into him he can't process. He freezes, then snarls that he doesn't understand what's being said to him. Well, Hyunho doesn't wait to see how it plays out. One clean kick lands square on the man's face and sends him flying. He leans over the wreck of him in the sunset glow, smiling faint and cold. "Did I almost end up killing you?" he asks, calm like it's nothing. The two-toned hair goes still against the floor. Meanwhile, rain hammers down on a building across town. A dark van idling below, waiting. Inside, a woman presses a gun to a captive's skull, hissing that she doesn't understand her situation. The captive freezes. A private jet cuts through the night sky, bound for Korea. A scarred, pale-haired man grins and says Igor, the strongest of barefoot, won't be showing after all. Seconds later, the jet blows apart in a wall of fire. Naturally, a white-haired man lifts a phone to his ear. On the other end, someone recoils, blood already streaked across his collar. The voice locks something into place behind the man's eyes. He answers, slow and easy. Asked why, he grins, because he's standing with the director right now. Beside him, a shirtless, bloodied captive sits in silence, a sword laid across the floor between them. A bloodied hand presses flat against dark glass. Proof enough, someone already paid for that lie. He looms over a frightened girl in the car. "What do you mean, Noel?" she stammers, his real name finally slipping loose. He keeps talking, one hand pressed hard to his head, stalling. Then he grins wide and admits it outright. "Sorry, I lied." Blood drips slow from a wounded man's chin, his face half hidden. Whatever Noel's game costs, someone's already paying for it. Now, one shaken operative can't stop trembling, hair hiding half his face. A tattooed man screams himself hoarse at a calmer one, who just takes off his hat. More men crowd into the hall, and a watching boy goes tense. So a long-haired brawler grabs the blade with his bare hand, cursing the cultists out loud. A scarred man meets the rage with ice, daring him to finish it. "Fine, let's do this." Calm footsteps stride into the middle of it, and one flat order kills the fight before it starts. The tattooed man freezes silent. The scarred one blinks, thrown that she stepped in herself. Turns out the peacemaker is Sophia, standing arms crossed like she owns the room. Even inside Dead Mansion, nobody just walks in and kills a knife fight with one word. Word spreads fast. Sophia actually showed up. She has the tattooed man held at blade point now, calm as ever. Whatever she says next, he's not fighting it. She just stares off. Honestly, the room feels it before anyone speaks. A chill crawling down the long-haired man's neck. A shadow falls over him, and two grown men just lock up, frozen mid-fight. Impressive. Someone breathes. Those two can't even move. Sion watches her with open admiration, practically starstruck. A priest and a bald, muscular man step into the tension with a vague warning. Sophia isn't buying it. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Meanwhile, across town, a fenced rooftop waits under a gray sky. Now on that roof, Yusef snaps at a bound, gagged captive. Is this some kind of game? Then he wheels on Hyunho and grabs him by the collar. Since when does Yusef get to decide who stays and who goes? Yusef doesn't let go, snapping that Hyunho should go check for himself who he really is. He was just told to bring Hyunho back, and he says it like a threat. "Bite me," our boy fires back and swings first. Yusef reels back, hand flying to his mouth, then spits and glares, something small dangling from his grip. Bad move. Hyunho has one question now. How far is this about to go? Something in Hyunho snaps and his fist moves before his head does. The man in the red jacket reels back, then holds something out with shaking hands. Yusef just watches, silent. Meanwhile, across town, Null grins into his phone camera and asks how it's going for Hyun. Somewhere, a blade rests sheathed beside a body, blood soaking the floor. A barred window glows behind him as he warns Hyunho not to fight again. Hyunho's jaw goes tight, but he says nothing back. What does Null even want from him this time? In a grand, empty hall somewhere, a cloaked figure stands watching, silent. Hyunho holds up his phone, and Yusef's eyes go wide at what's on the screen. Honestly, these days, all anyone talks about is Yusef's face. He mutters about the fuss, more annoyed than proud. Of course, Null isn't finished goading him either. He drifts down the staircase with his sword, mocking how weak the legendary Sean turned out to be. Then his voice turns cold, telling him to stop trying to play someone's parent again. Hyunho cracks his neck and pockets the phone. Whatever's next, our boy's ready for it. Out of nowhere, a fist swings at Yusef, and the fight breaks wide open. Blows trade fast, both of them pinning and throwing, neither backing down. Yusef leaps down for a heavy stomping finish, aimed straight at Hyunho. Yusef's stomp comes down like a hammer, meant to end it. Hyunho holds firm. Stunned, Yusef just stares, then admits, "So this is your true strength." Sean touches his bloodied cheek and reads the message waiting on his phone. The legendary Sean of Dead Mansion, it says, turned out somewhat useful. Is that really all he ever was to them? Now, in the hush after, Hyunho looks out at the sunset and thinks how fast the time's gone. Yusef stands beside him in silence, faint scars catching the light. Then Sion comes sprinting up, panic all over his face. "Dead Mansion," he gasps. "There is a big problem." Yusef turns toward him, already bracing for the worst. Near broken glass, the man in red spins around sharp. "That guy," he blurts. Then he drops, face down, out cold among the shards. Sion drops down beside him, gripping his shoulders. "Get a hold of yourself, Sean," he shouts through the broken window. Sean doesn't answer. Now weeks slide by in falling ginkgo leaves. Sean walks the leaf-covered street alone, hood low, stopping under a bare tree outside the school gate. He glances back once, blonde hair catching the wind under a faded hoodie that reads archive. Turns out the story's already all over the news. Kwon Byung-woo faces a grudge tied to his own child. Wheeled past a wall of cameras and guards. Someone's coming for Yusef through his father. On the train, he watches a stranger's phone from 2 seats down, giving nothing away. Is this really where the trail leads? The Hyunho snack bar sits shuttered, a notice taped to the metal door, closed for weeks now. He crouches, forces the shutter up, and drops into the dark. A gun barrel meets him before his eyes even adjust. The one holding the gun is bald, aim steady, ready to fire before a word gets said. Then he eases it back half an inch. "You're the last one," he says. "Now everyone's here." Meanwhile, someone else sits nearby, legs crossed. Adjusting a boot like this is routine. The bald man turns away, rubbing his neck, muttering something about how well they all get along. A green-haired girl stands handcuffed, fist shaking, while a masked figure looms close enough to warn her without words. A gray-haired man walks up, gripping a knife, calm and cold. He leans into her face, telling her to talk before it's too late. A blue-haired kid crouches on the table, bat pressed to her forehead. She doesn't flinch. He watches in silence, wondering how many of them are one wrong word from turning on each other. Well, the youngest of them steps forward anyway, sharp-eyed and unbothered. "Calm down," he tells them. They've all heard enough already. The green-haired girl stays cuffed to her stool, a masked man crouching close in front of her. He looks down at his own hands, jaw tight. If they can't even trust each other, how is anyone supposed to trust him? Word moves through the room instead. The head of the mansion has been kidnapped, and that's not all. The gray-haired man stands arms crossed while the blue-haired kid keeps the bat ready. His hands start shaking before he's even decided what he's about to do. Someone grips his hair from both sides, and he doesn't fight it. "So what's your proposal, kid?" the bald man asks. "We're going to form a temporary alliance," he answers, without blinking. The pale-haired woman watches, arms crossed, unconvinced. They share the same enemy, he tells her. So for now, the Korean kids are teaming up. The blue-haired kid isn't buying it. Crouched on the table, bat grip tight, sizing him up. "Why should we team up with you guys?" Yusef doesn't flinch, he just turns and walks off. One sharp glance thrown back. Now he narrates it himself, climbing a building's outer wall as he talks. Barefoot, Dead Mansion, he calls it first, an old label from his own file. Then a sharper one comes to him. How about Bad Child? Below him, the crew answers the call, an odd mix of ages and faces looking up. Hoodies, a girl with a long braid, an old bald man standing over them all. This is who's willing to fight. He keeps climbing, same motion, same grip, weight held on tile far above the street. Our bad kids have only one goal, he says, plain as that. The shot lingers on his legs, straining against the wall. The group looks down and one voice calls the name that matters. Null. Below them, a dark-haired boy stands rigid, yellow eyes steady. How do you protect people who keep getting hunted? He answers it flat. Our mission is to fucking crush that bastard. Footsteps close in. A bald man, sizing up the smaller, beanie-wearing one beside him. No one argues argues the plan, while one of the girls on the table says she kind of likes the name. Yusuf looks out over the sunlit city instead of answering. The archive hoodie hangs loose on him, calm on the outside, somewhere else in his head. Elsewhere, a white-haired woman squares up to a man with his back turned, arms crossed tight. She says nothing. She just stares, eyes hidden behind long hair. A hospital sign marks the next stop. Green cross lit against the sky. Rachel stands by the window on a call, asking how Sean's doing. He lies there with an oar taped to his arm, eyes shadowed. Is it really over, he wonders, the thought trailing off before it finishes. A tattooed man takes the news on the phone and lets out a breath, relieved. Retrieving Sean, he says, won't be a problem now. Nearby, a boy asks Vincent where to put a stack of books. Ordinary chores going on around the plan. Naturally, he backtracks to explain, holding an old leather book while he talks. They came the moment Sophia's warning reached them, but the director was already gone. He curses under his breath. One more thing, he adds, and the boy watching him goes tense. A boy stands on a dim staircase, phone lifted toward the light. On another call, a woman's grip tightens around hers. If he took the ledger, she starts, and doesn't need to finish the thought. Blood drips off a blade onto a floor scattered with maple leaves. A white-haired swordsman stands over a man he's just killed, sunset spilling through the doorway. A girl in a kimono kneels nearby, shaking, blood pooling near her knees. He turns to face her next. Noel smiles, red eyes calm despite what's on the floor. I came to save you. He extends an open hand toward her. Around them, the room is full of bodies, autumn leaves drifting down onto the blood. You already know what saving means to a man like him. Turns out the ledger's already being worked. A hooded contact confirming buyer names and addresses one by one. The tattooed man passes by mid-call, voice tight. They've got too few people to cover it all, he admits. And that gap is the real risk now. In a stained glass room, a priest reads aloud from a book, a bespectacled man standing close beside him. Someone watches from the shadows, unnamed, unmoving. Elsewhere, a woman's face fills the frame, a phone glowing near her jaw, her identity kept just out of reach. A white-haired swordsman perches above the street, sheathed blade in hand, smirking into the dark. Red eyes glint behind him, a hooded figure lurking near the tower. Meanwhile, the bespectacled man bites his knuckle, phone to his ear, holding back panic. Now, Rachel stands over Sean's bed, phone to her ear. They were only checking the 3 principles, she says, when they found him like this. On the line, a tattooed man's knuckles go white around the phone. Honestly, Sean lies still under the 4 line, Rachel's hand wrapped around his. A faint mark shows near his eye, skin pale under the hospital light. Just a body now. The rain turns back time. A bodyguard's shout cuts through the storm, someone already down behind the car. The priest steps up to the woman under her umbrella, accusing her outright, eyes gone unnervingly blank. She doesn't flinch, and only asks what he means. She drags the boy, young Sion, away by the wrist before he can even look back. He just stares down, arm locked in her grip, rain soaking through his hair. No way to run. Naturally, the priest reaches out an open hand, smiling like he's the one doing the rescuing. Behind them, another figure drops past the car and hits the ground. Sion just watches, rain and tears running down his face together. Next thing he knows, he's slumped in a hospital bed, 4 taped to his arm. He wakes up lost. Hospital? What happened? Yusuf's mind flashes back. A gray-haired girl vaulting overhead, boots first, Hyunho grinning beneath her like it's nothing. 4 still taped to his arm. He clenches his wrist and mumbles, yeah, that's right. Then his eyes go wide. A tall, coated figure looms over him fast, face hidden in shadow. The 4 stand crashes. The cart tips. Something's gone wrong. Elsewhere, Hyunho sprints down a rain-soaked street, screaming after someone. Ma'am, is she safe up there? He reaches a dark apartment tower, floor 5 blinking over the elevator. Of course it takes its sweet time. Off balance, our boy lunges at the button again, pleading with the closing doors. The doors split at last, spilling light into a dark corridor where someone's waiting. He walks it down anyway, fist clenched, until the light catches a sword hilt on the stairs. Great. The man on the steps grins like an old friend, red eyes glinting behind the bars. Why does the stranger already know him? Hyunho turns hard into the dark. Who are you? Noel comes down the stairs fast and grabs Hyunho's hand before he can pull back. He grips hard, studying his face for something. Recognition, maybe. So Noel tightens his grip and asks it straight. You really don't remember me? He's sure he told him already, he says, smiling like it's a private joke. Hyunho answers with his fists, not words. One punch drops Noel flat on the stairs. A kick keeps him down. Pinned, Noel shrugs it off and changes the subject. A bigger problem now. Turns out the bigger problem is a memory. Young Sean kicked clean off his feet. Choosing parents, he snaps back, furious just at the question. Null draws a blade instead, and asks what kind of person that boy really was. A stranger in a long coat walks calm through falling snow, dress shoes clicking on stone. Young Sean's eyes go sharp, bracing for whatever comes next. Null looms over him in the rain, blade raised high. Weren't one of the good children, he says, and the sword comes down close enough to cut. Since when did anyone else get to decide that? Above him, a stranger under the umbrella settles it cold. Raise him or sell him off. Which one hurts less to hear? The tall man looms over him next, tattoos crawling across his knuckles. A woman in a wide hat and pearls watches from the rain, silent. Meanwhile, in that same rain, Yusuf says something colder. He liked how it wagged its tail when it saw him. He says flat, now it can't bark anymore, and the tall man steps in close behind him. Get away from me, old woman says. You're not someone like me. The tall man steps in instead and claims him. They'll raise this child now. His tattooed hand lands on the boy's shoulder. It's decided. They walk him down a church aisle next, past pews and stained glass, the boy small against all that scale. He learns fast how to play the good child, the one who listens to his mother, while the whole room prays on behind him. Now Noel sits with his hands clasped, red eyes simmering, back in the room where he's telling all this. He raises the same blade over young Sean, who screams all over again. He smirks down at him. Over and over again, Sean. Every parent, every time. Young Sean stares at his own reflection in the blade. Blank. Nothing looks back that he recognizes. Null's first stolen parent, a man carries her body through the rain. The boy lies face down in the water, alone. The blade still slick with blood, red eyes locked dead ahead. Whose blood is it this time? He lifts his bloodied hand, smirking, and says, yeah, that's it. Back in the present, Hyunho grips the bloodied hand before it can move again. How many more times can this story repeat? Blood smears near his collar as Yusuf watches, jaw tight. Meanwhile, a gothic church tower rises over the dark street, windows lit inside. A door creaks open just wide enough for someone to slip through. Turns out he's found exactly what he came for, a hidden wine cellar. Here it is, he mutters, grinning down at the bottle in his hand. So it was hidden after all, just like he thought. A tattooed man looms behind him before he can pocket the bottle, arms crossed, calm, unimpressed. You don't let just anyone into your home, he says evenly. He spots documents scattered across the table and freezes. What is this, he demands. Security placement for your clients, the tattooed man answers, and execute breaks half loose through his teeth. Now outside, two guards stand watch with rifles slung, the mansion glowing gold behind them. Inside, an old man smokes his cigar, never noticing the boy watching him from below the window. So this one's Barefoot's strategic planner, the tattooed man says, working it out loud. He uncorks a Romany coat with the tip of a blade. That bottle alone could get you killed if the director ever finds out. He lifts the bottle toward the hooded figure at his side. How about this, he offers. Half threat, half deal. The cork pops and dark liquid spreads across the table. Wine or blood, no way to tell. Wine glass swirling, the tattooed man leans back across from him. What? He says sharply. Those kids of his, the three principals, how did that even start? A hand reaches out of the dark, silent. He sips his wine before he answers. Most of the kids who end up here were abandoned by their own families first. A gray-haired man rests a hand on a small shoulder. The smile's too wide. Behind him, the children sit huddled, arms crossed, staring at nothing. An old woman's face fills the frame, round glasses hiding her eyes. Laughing or crying, no one can tell. Beside her, a man in a priest's collar stares down, giving nothing away. The tattooed man swirls his glass, about to speak. Then he does. Not exactly a good child, he says, but a child who wanted something. Now, that becomes a picture. A boy stands alone in the rain, someone in a priest's collar watching him from behind. Hyunho catches his wrist and stops the knife an inch from skin. You can never be a good child, the man sneers, blood still dripping off the blade. Turns out the kick isn't the end of it. Hyunho sends him flying, but the man climbs back up grinning, sword already drawn through his own blood. He stands over him again, throwing the same words back down. Can he really never be good enough? Meanwhile, across town, a fist rises toward old woman as she stands under her umbrella. Nearby, someone drags a man in glasses who's barely conscious. Somewhere else, a man stands frozen, knife still dripping, muttering that maybe the enemy's right. A white-haired man grins at the blood on his hand like it's exactly what he wanted. So Hyunho stares him down. If he gets rid of the man who swore to kill his mother, does the threat finally end? The swordsman grips the hilt and speaks cold. This is the problem with him. Then the blade slides free with a sharp, ringing hiss. He blames the bloodied man kneeling in front of him and drags the blade across his face for it. Then he kicks Hyunho down and lays out the law. The dead mansion has 3 absolute rules. He swings everything he's got, blaming him for every year spent under someone else's control. For 1 second, it's working. Then the counter lands and he's airborne. Hero tattooed mockingly across the knuckles that just broke him. Still in his pajamas from being dragged out of bed, he lunges at the swordsman one more time. One wide slash sends him flying again, the blade shattering in his hand from the force of it. The swordsman raises his katana over him, ready to end it. He grabs for anything to block it, and the blade opens his hand instead. The next strike blasts him backward, a slipper flying off his foot as he crashes down. Still the swordsman keeps coming, blade meeting his arm in another close, brutal clash. Then he catches sight of a masked man closing in and grabs his collar first. Got you. The punch that follows sends the masked man reeling, one hand already flying up to grip his sword hilt in return. The swordsman spins straight back into the fight, sword already free. His slash catches Sean mid-air and slams him to the ground. Now the swordsman needles him. That sword's annoying, isn't it? Sean's jaw tightens as the man grins wide, gripping something big and black in no hurry at all. Sean answers with his fist straight into the blade's arc. Contact. The swordsman actually laughs, impressed a punch could meet a sword at all. So Sean surges forward again, fist raised for one more shot. The swordsman reads him easy, meets the punch with steel instead. Not close. The strike lands clean, and Sean's sandal flies off his foot as blood streaks his eye. How is that blade even faster than this? The same swing shatters what's left of the sandal and sends him flying backward. Turns out he's not done. A hand locks around the swordsman's wrist, hate inked across the knuckles, red eyes blazing behind white hair. Cut to a stranger flipping through case files, sharp teeth bared as he laughs off a question about some kid. His finger stops on one name in the papers, Sean, and the room goes quiet. To him, this one's the most important piece in play. Meanwhile, a man in a suit steps into the stairwell shadows, tense and alert. The swordsman squints at him, murmuring Sophia like he's expecting someone else. Whoever this is, his fist is already clenched. He drags Sean backward through the corridor, knife pressed to his side. The suited man doesn't blink. It's been a while, little Sean. Who even calls him that anymore? Cut back to Sean on a rain-slick street, pajama sleeves soaked in blood, staring at nothing. Another pair of feet stops across from his, closing the distance. Meanwhile, Yusuf rakes a hand through his hair, eyes narrowing at something off-screen. Then they go wide. It's close. In the rain, the swordsman lunges again, knife leading. The impact rips the corridor apart, debris flying as Sean's blasted backward. He's falling now, arm out, reaching for nothing. A shadow falls with him, matching him step for step through the drop. Then impact. Sean's hand shoots up as another man lands sprawled in white just below him. Cut to Yusuf. Another suited man yanks him hard by the shoulder, his coat looming over him. He looks up startled, but he doesn't back down. Yusuf flinches, eyes wide with alarm. Down the hall, a bike lies overturned in blood. Above it, a window hangs shattered, blood smeared on the sill. The parking lot waits far below. The long-haired man stops behind Hunho, hand trembling toward his shoulder. His eyes go flat and sideways, already deciding what happens next. He grabs Hunho's collar and yanks him off his feet, taunting that he'd looked this weak all along. His grip stays iron tight. Meanwhile, the man glances up the hall. All business now. Another man crouches low nearby, gripping something dark, waiting on the word. Adjust it, he orders, flat as a checklist. The crouched man tenses at the command. Somewhere close, fabric folds in tight, holding its breath. The man slings Hyunho over his shoulder. Stop, Sean, someone screams off panel. Even like this, he twists and pulls a girl clear. He shields her with his own body. By now, cuffs, someone notes, flat as fact. He hangs limp over the man's shoulder, carried down a stairwell into the dark. Now close in, the man says it plain. So trust me, Sean. Trust him for what? Hyunho's eyes narrow, hard and unreadable, giving nothing back. The man grips Hyunho's arm and Hyunho flinches, wide-eyed. He leans in close, taunting that Hyunho still remembers this much. What does he remember that this man's counting on? So the jeep tears through the city streets. Hyunho sits stiff in the back, sweat on his face. The man beside him asks if he even understands the situation. Behind the wheel, the man smirks, a knife loose in his hand. He thought it was just a rumor, he says, almost amused. Now his hand lands on Yusuf's shoulder from behind, and Yusuf flinches, caught off guard. He's asked whether he really trained under Sophia. Yusuf just grins, like this is a challenge, like he wants a rematch. The man goes quiet, weighing something behind his eyes. A hand reaches for the door handle, a watch catching light, someone about to step out. Meanwhile, the car jolts to a stop near a crosswalk, someone shouting for the driver to pull over. It speeds off again, and Yusuf's left standing on the sidewalk with a girl. Then, I'll get going now, he tells her, and walks off alone. Well, back in a car, Yusuf reaches for his bag by the dashboard. The man beside him clocks the brand on the tag and goes still. He pulls off his sunglasses, staring hard now. Something's changed between them. Yusuf clutches the bag tight and bolts, the man shouting behind him, chasing hard. Outside, alone, Yusuf stands gripping his own jacket, staring down. Something in him's gone cold. Just then, a man on the phone panics, begging someone to stop. Right now. Off-screen, a voice already knows. It's him. Yusuf leans against the car, catching his breath. Passers-by just see a good-looking kid who probably lives in a nice house. They've got no idea what's tearing him up inside. Then an old woman collapses on the sidewalk nearby. Yusuf reaches down without thinking, one hand out. Afterward, he just stands there, alone. Meanwhile, the scene cuts to an empty warehouse. A van, a punching bag, crates stacked in the dark. A bandaged hand rises toward the light overhead. It's Heinho, sprawled on a mattress on the floor, worn out. Someone's carved a number into the wall beside him. 470. Scissors lie scattered near his legs, next to a beat-up punching bag stand and an old storage chest. This place doubles as training ground and makeshift home. Then his hand jerks up again, eyes wide. Something above him just moved. What was that? A girl watches from the floor, barefoot, as a white-haired man walks in through the door. He raises a hand in greeting, smiling with his eyes closed, a cross earring catching the light. Calm, almost friendly, too relaxed for a captor. His footsteps come closer, unhurried. So he asks, casual as small talk, if anything's new around here. Then answers himself, yeah, he decorated the place a bit. As if this were his own home. The girl crouches by a vending machine, wrists bound with rope, a punching bag and a snack machine. In a room like this, it doesn't add up. The two stand close, her bare feet against his shoes through a curtain of hanging cords. A shirtless man lunges at him with a knife. It should land clean. Instead, the white-haired man catches his wrist mid-strike. Calm, not even looking down, no contest. He drags the same man off by the wrist, running. The guy barefoot, phone still gripped in his hand. Now back with Hyunho. The white-haired man forces him into a seat, demanding the truth, calling him by his old nickname, Hyun. Hyunho's face goes blank and stern, and he starts to explain something about what they have. The man cuts him off, leaning closer, insisting it's the truth. His red eye and the scar across it catch the light. He leans down close and tells Hyunho, "Trust me." Mask pulled low over a scarred jaw. His hand rests on the sword hilt, blade drawn just slightly. Like the wrong move could ruin everything. Hyunho gives in. He promises to keep looking for that person, serious now. Hyunho jerks upright, startled, repeating what he just heard back in disbelief. Something about a fun place. Then the scene cuts to school. A teacher stands over him with a notebook, tense, while Sion watches from the classroom door. Sion walks out of the locker room, bag over his shoulder, badge on his blazer. Two classmates watch him pass in the hallway, already whispering. Turns out word about him is spreading fast. He picks up his things at his desk, sighs, while a man in glasses watches quietly from behind. He turns to a girl sitting nearby, hood up, hands in his pockets, and holds up a photo. She looks at it and nearly gags, mutters something about there being a limit to how far you can twist the truth. Sean grips his own hair, disheveled, panic in his eyes. Some memory won't let go of him. Why can't he shake this? It drags him back to a table where a huge man, a spider tattoo across his chest, looms over him. Two others watch, tense. In the memory, Sean looks small. Scared. Well, his arm tenses on the table. He stammers through an explanation, sweating, unable to look up, something about the picture. The words trail off. Then he grabs the tattooed man in close and tells him, "Just follow me." Now, the schoolyard sits empty, barbed wire lining the roof like a warning. Somewhere off panel, a voice sneers, "How ridiculous. Something's about to break." So, three men corner Sion in the parking lot. One bald, one tattooed, one capped. They want to know if he thought those mocking photos were funny. One throws a punch mid-sentence aimed at Yusef instead. Yusef doesn't flinch. He flicks the guy's jaw and sends him reeling, blood and spit flying. Now Yusef stands over him, calm, while the other two close in. He needles one, something about running with the same crew once, fist already cocked. The third just stares back, arms crossed, scarred neck, not moving an inch. Then it drags Sean back into an old memory. A hulking Dead Mansion enforcer looms over him, crouched and sweating, mocking his faith in the three principles. "Stupid little Sean," the enforcer sneers, before switching to another method entirely. What choice does he even have? Sean answers by kicking two men down at once. Uniform torn, no hesitation. Then a mop gets smashed against a post and swung up like a weapon. It catches Sean mid-motion and sends him flying. Blood in the air, vowing through his teeth that he'll pay it back. He twists mid-fall and drives a kick straight into the weapon, landing hard and clean. Meanwhile, back in the lot, Yusuf spins a kick into a bat-wielding thug and shatters the weapon on impact. The thug's face goes wide with shock as he drops. Yusuf flips him off balance and lets the broken bat clatter to the ground. Someone calls him back inside, and he just walks off, unbothered, stepping past three beaten men. The hallway beyond sits empty and quiet. Too quiet. Turns out nobody sees it coming. Yusuf's fist has been shaking, head down, rage building for reasons unclear. Then he drives it straight into Sean's face, no warning at all. Sean goes down hard, and even through the pain, he clocks that something else is working here. Why him? Whatever hidden trigger just fired, it's stronger than he braced for, even at a fraction of its dose. A man in a long coat steps into the hallway, asking if this is class 2-1. Sion just looks at him, saying nothing. Of course, the excuse comes wrapped in fake politeness. A big man grips a passing student's shoulder. "Sorry passing through," he says, nervous despite himself, while Yusef reads the moment as a threat. His fist clenches, eyes hardening. Wrong guess. A boot slams down before Yusef can finish the thought, and he's sent flying through desks and chairs. Wood and metal scatter as a bystander in a vest ducks for cover. The big man doesn't slow down. He walks straight through the wreckage, finishing what he started on Yusef. Yusef stumbles into a desk, catches himself, and smirks instead of flinching. So Yusef answers with a kick of his own, leaping straight into the air. He lands it clean and looks down calm, like the fight never touched him. Meanwhile at home, Hyunho runs a hand through his hair, weighing an idea. If Null's goal is him, finding him should be easy. I'll be the bait, he's already decided. At the dresser, a woman packs her bag, no idea what's going through his head. If being found is the goal, he figures he won't fight it. Then she asks him straight out where he's headed. She checks her lipstick in the mirror, calm as ever. He watches her sideways, wary. Then, still touching up her lips, she asks the objective of this operation. Honestly, in that uniform, badge pinned straight, he could pass for any ordinary kid. Then she asks the one question with nothing to do with the mission. Does he still believe that old woman is his parent? Does he even know anymore? He says he doesn't know, snatching up his bag before she can push further. Don't just brush it off, she warns. I really don't know, he says again, walking off with his back turned. Then, without warning, the memory comes. A man carries a limp woman through the rain, an umbrella held over them like it still matters. Behind it, something older surfaces. A boy's hand closes around a bloody knife in the dark, face blank with shock. Is that him, or just something planted? Turns out he's not the only one carrying old pain. Somewhere else, a girl touches her scarred forehead as the pain flares again. She wonders if he even remembers. Then she grabs a man by the tie and demands an answer. Is he still going through with it? In a dim hallway, two men lean in close. One's on crutches, foot bandaged, trading a name in a half whisper. Back with the girl, she looks away, silent, the mark on her forehead still showing. Well, the plan doesn't wait. A boot drives him straight to the ground, and Hyunho doesn't fight it. If it's the bait they want, he'll gladly throw himself in front of it. Nam can only watch, flinching. Through the wreckage, a figure in a tan vest strides forward. A faint smile is already set on his face. Yusuf crouches among the broken desks, eyes sharp, ready for whoever comes next. Of course, that's when the real problem shows up. A hulking man walks the hall, biting his nails, spider tattoo across his chest, two men trailing nervous behind him. Someone goes down mid-fall, blood at the throat, eyes wide with shock. Yusuf spins into a kick, sending a suited man crashing down onto whoever's still on the floor. He lands pinned under a broken table, arm hanging limp. Yusuf catches the next kick clean, both hands locked around the leg. Then the fight turns on its head. He redirects that same force straight into Hyunho, sending him flying toward the window. Glass shatters around him as he crashes through the window. Mid-air, no time to brace. He lands crouched on the other side, glass still falling, a gritted grin cutting through the pain. Then his balance goes, and he's tumbling across the tiled floor below. One word slips out: no. Now he looks up fast, startled, chest heaving from the fall. Meanwhile, a student ducks low as debris rains down the hallway. A crowd gathers fast. Two men drag a shattered door past them, and word spreads that a fight just happened here. A man in a coat points down the hall, demanding answers. Hyunho's mom just stands there, calm in her white coat. The girl beside her covers her mouth in shock. A masked man hoists the injured man over his shoulder and carries him off. Mom turns and walks the other way. Now Hyunho stands over Yusuf, smirking, taunting that he's changed since they last threw hands. He slams a strike down onto Yusuf's head. No hesitation. Going easy on me, he snaps, keeping up blow after blow. Yusuf fires back a kick, but Hyunho blocks it dead on his arm. The blow sends Yusuf into the wall hard enough to crack the plaster. He glares up, breathing hard, and tells Hyunho flat out he's not interested in this. Hyunho keeps coming anyway. Hyunho shouts back, demanding to know if he really means to keep going. Hyunho lunges again, reaching for Yusuf's head. Yusuf swings back fast, and Hyunho just watches the punch come, calm. Then he grabs Yusuf mid-swing and throws him clean through the air, flipping him end over end. Yusuf crashes through a glass barrier, shards scattering everywhere. It should be over. Instead, Yusuf pins him to the floor. He warns him flat out, keep pushing, and he won't hold back anymore. Hyunho just smiles up at him, unafraid. Turns out he's not done. Hyunho cracks his knuckles and heads for the bathroom stalls, smirking. He spotted sandaled feet hiding under one door. A blade slices past his face as a stranger taunts from the stall. He claims he can find that person too, just as easily. He drops down fast and slams Yusuf to the floor. Yusuf barely gets the mop up in time. Yusuf grips the handle tight, breathing hard, glare locked on his attacker. The stranger crouches over the mop, blood trickling from a cut near his eye. Who knows? He shrugs, smirking through the blood. He looms over Yusuf in the stall, then lunges across the tile, fist first. Yusuf braces low, mop raised, but the stranger charges in with fist swinging. One sweeping kick sends Yusuf flying, upside down through the air. The strike lands full force. The stranger's shoe is the last thing anyone sees. Hyunho comes through the door and lands a spinning kick that catches both of them at once. The stranger and Yusuf alike take the hit. Both go down. Yusuf reels from the blow, caught in the middle of it all. Now it's just the two of them, rod swinging, steel ringing off tile as Yusuf barely ducks. Blood runs from Hyunho's mouth. He's smiling anyway. Too noisy, he mutters. Someone's bound to hear. He's got Yusuf pinned against the mop pole, bearing down. Yusuf isn't having it. He grabs Hyunho's wrist and warns him, let go or things get worse. Turns out Yusuf's got the leverage now, and Hyunho hits the floor hard, sliding under a shattered window. Yusuf checks over his shoulder, jaw tight, already knowing one thing. This isn't over. Somewhere between the hallway and the roof, the fight spills out into the rain. Hyunho's got Yusuf gripped close now, a pipe raised over his head. Would it hurt a lot? He asks quietly, and there's nothing playful in it. Yusuf looks up at him, calm despite the rain streaking his face. It would, he admits. Yeah, it definitely would. Hyunho's knuckles go white around the pipe, and he brings it down. He expects the pipe to land clean, but it doesn't. Yusuf twists the weapon back on him and sends Hyunho off the ledge. He hits the street below in a burst of dust. When the dust settles, it's Yusuf standing over him, weapon still dripping, a badge glinting on his jacket. The fight has flipped completely. Meanwhile, a masked figure picks his way across the wreckage, closing the distance. Hyunho crouches low, gripping a bloodied hook, wary of every angle. Above him, Yusuf's traded the pipe for a knife. Blade held low, neither one backing down. Hyunho swings again, and Yusuf reels back as the masked man breaks into a sprint toward them. Yusuf grabs his skull. My body is reacting, he gasps, like something inside him just switched on. Someone reaches for his sleeve, gentle and achingly familiar. The woman who raised him, or so it seems, she tells him it's not about the clothes, and he blinks, confused, a cut stinging under his eye. He tries a smile through the blood, swearing he's fine. Her hand closes around his wrist, too tight, too sure. His eyes go heavy, the hallway swimming out of focus. Anesthetic? He can't even guess why. So he goes down among the scattered papers. Nearby, Yusuf still gripping his own skull, fighting whatever just switched on inside him. The woman crouches and gathers him close like she's comforting a child. Her smile doesn't move, but her eyes have gone flat, glowing red. Now she steps over the phones she's already smashed, calm as anything. Plenty of questions are coming for him now that he can't run. Whatever this was, she's got at least one of them caught. Somewhere else, in what might be memory or warning, a boy cradles a bleeding man's head close. The man's barely breathing. Whose past this belongs to isn't clear yet. So, abandoned kids are everywhere. A gray-haired man in priest's black smiles with gold teeth, walking the aisle of an old church. Below him, a hooded figure blesses a kneeling crowd. Boys huddled in dirty clothes at their feet. Now, a woman in a lab coat talks about a hospitalized kid while Yusuf listens close by. The kid is Hyun-ho, laid out on a bed in his school uniform, wrist bandaged. Yusuf's face goes cold. Korea's dead mansion, he mutters. She calls interrogation her specialty, calm and certain by her desk. Yusuf stays guarded, arms crossed, sweat on his face. She flips a switch and crosses to the bed where Hyun-ho lies, still and silent. Turns out it's a dream. A blade nicks close to his scalp, hair falling near the barber's boots. The barber warns him to hold still or wear a scar, cutting anyway with an eerie smile. When it's over, Hyun-ho's face goes blank, eyes half-lidded, already giving up the fight. A hand grabs his shoulder. Hyun-ho looks up into a half-familiar hooded face. Carpenter, uncle? The figure grins wide, tongue out, and the blade presses flat against his skull. Hyun-ho jolts upright, breathing hard, sweat soaking through his shirt. Just a dream. A doctor leans over him, smiling, and asks if he's awake. He winces in pain, kneeling to check the fresh bandage on his thigh. Did Nuna patch him up? Her eyes flash red as she leans in close. Cooperate, and we don't have to be enemies. In a quiet clinic room, the woman sits close, watching him with that same unreadable smile. Has anyone ever loved him, really, in his whole life? She leans in from behind. A few questions, Jang-hyun. Framed through binoculars, the two of them sit close together in that room. Someone masked watches from above. Rachel looks stunning with black hair too, he murmurs, half convinced it's her. Now he decides watching from a distance isn't enough anymore. He wants to get close enough to know for sure. Meanwhile, the school gym sits quiet under a gray sky. Hyun-ho hunches over a sandwich, jaw tight, refusing to answer. No, I can't tell you, he says. On a foggy bleacher, the girl beside him refuses to talk. She isn't picking a side, she says. Jang-hyun has to stay alone. He turns her word over in his head. What does cooperating even cost? Then a woman leans in close beside him and he startles. He never sees her coming. So, the girl just smirks under the questions. A fresh cut above her eye. A hooded figure reasons coolly, push a kid's story and they crack. Nearby, two girls murmur, one scrolling her phone, barely watching. The girl keeps her face composed, already working out how to play this. Turns out, the boy beside her fills in the blanks. Noel had a goal, and he'd ask for help. Her eyes flash red. Meanwhile, across town, Sion's crew corners a kid on a bench, mocking him as an easy mark. A masked man drops from above and grabs him. The honey trap springs shut. Sion slips. His legs kick over the edge, dragged toward a fall. The girl sprints toward him, fists up, while a masked man watches, drink still in hand. Now the bearded man saunters closer, drink in hand, grinning around a gold tooth. He drapes an arm over Hyun-ho's shoulder like they're old friends. Hyun-ho stays stiff. How does the stranger already know his face? Meanwhile, a shirtless, tattooed gunman crouches on a ledge, rifle trained on a suited man below. A shadowed figure grips a blade, ready to cut in. Then the gunman leaps, both guns blazing in midair. Well, the masked swordsman walks off, blood on his blade, a red cloak trailing behind him. Snow falls. Another man stands over the kill, smiling faintly. Naturally, the goggled man grins, carrying a boy on his back while he fights. He strikes down a hooded attacker without breaking stride. He mocks the very rule he's breaking. Then a pale figure with burning red eyes drives a blade clean through him. He goes down mid-laugh. The swordsman's blade catches a boy across the leg, and blood sprays as he's thrown backward. He flies past the blade, uniform torn, screaming. Rachel lunges into the fight without hesitation. The swordsman grins, sword still wet with blood. Senorita Rachel, now I'm even more excited. Meanwhile, a masked man braces for another strike. Spear raised, Hyun-ho lunges straight at him, demanding why he's here. Behind them, a disguised Rachel goes still, watching. His panic drops away. Something colder settles into his face as he grips the shaft. You'll meet plenty of even prettier women, he says, flat. It isn't a joke. Then he drives the spear straight through the man's chest. Blood sprays across the rooftop rain, one clean thrust and it's over. Dying, he pulls Hyunho close, instead of pushing away. Null sent a message through him, he says, and it isn't a warning. He's still smiling when he says the last of it. Kill you too. Meanwhile, another of Null's men kicks a schoolgirl down a stairwell. Just one more body he doesn't care about. Rachel presses her gun to his skull. Ora, she says back to him, cold. He twists free in a blur, and her shot goes wide. Now he leaps and swings on her from above. His blade shatters against her guard, and blood blooms on her sleeve. She's airborne across the wet rooftop, closing the gap fast. He thrusts again, sure of the finish. She kicks the blade aside instead, grabs his leg mid-air, and slashes him down as he falls. The rain swallows the rest of it in a blur. Turns out he's not done. A second knife comes up as Rachel fires again, point blank, teeth gritted through the rain. He grabs her coat and drags her in close, blade against her ribs. The blow snaps her head sideways, hard enough to blur her vision. He leans in anyway, smiling. Señorita Rachel. Of course he's not fighting alone. Another fighter grabs him by the collar, pinning his staff between them. The two trade blows along the rail, while a hooded figure watches from below, unmoving. Across the roof, Hyunho's own fight has cost him. His eyes are barely open. Is this the same boy who just walked away from a kill without blinking? Naturally, his mind slips somewhere else. A flash surfaces, hair towel dried, a shower already finished. Someone off-panel startles him with a question he can't place. Then that dissolves too, pulling him further back. Further back is training, a robed instructor grinding the same grip into him until his arm shakes. That's how you learn it, the voice says, flat as a rule. A woman nearby watches, pleased with herself, like she already knows how this ends. Well, the rain hasn't stopped for him either. A helmeted attacker's baton comes down from above before he can get his guard up. It throws him clean off his feet. A bloodied hand closes tighter around a fresh blade. Somewhere in the falling debris, a hooded figure gets back up, blood already marking their collar, face hidden. So one fist closes at the center of it all, trembling, veins standing up under the skin. It's Hyunho's. Is this still him, or something Dead Mansion built and left behind? The wild instinct in him is finally awake. Hyunho slams into the ground, thrown by the last blow. He doesn't move. Then he drops into a crouch in the dark, breathing hard. Something in him just snapped. Meanwhile, outside the school gates, a grimy van marked Russian waste disposal idles at the curb. A foreman checks his phone, jaw tight. It's Null's order, he says. Word spreads through the crew fast, workers crowding in around him to listen. So the crew stands over him, boots planted around someone down in the dark. The tattooed thug racks his pistol, already bored, and calls him nothing but one brat. The brat doesn't stay down. An unseen grip wrenches the thug's arm back, gun and all, before anyone can react. One worker wonders if this guy's really that good. Another scoffs, calls him just some flirt with a big mouth. Then the panic hits. Nobody can explain what's happening. A blonde man in a fedora steps in close, reaching to inspect the gun himself. A helmeted operative grabs the gun, turning it over in his hands. Another reaches in with a blade, set to finish the job, but the two-toned haired man just smirks. Since I'm not on your side, he says. It's a warning. This hunt just turned on itself. Fists close around the helmet and rip it back. The two of them go flying, one boot cracking into the other midair. The masked man lands the real blow, blood spraying from his opponent's mouth. Only the dark-haired man is left standing after, cold-eyed, hair whipping in the wind. A hand rakes across the sand mid-strike. Hyunho lands low in a crouch, eyes burning white, facing him down. The armored man's already bleeding from an earlier hit. He stands his ground anyway, spear braced, grinning through the pain. Turns out that red cloth is a cape, snapping as he twists it into a whip. Señorita Rachel, he calls up, mock courteous. There she is on a railing above, watching the whole fight, unreadable. Since when does one of Null's men know Rachel by name? Now a masked pursuer grabs a fistful of that red cloth from behind. Hyunho bolts, sprinting low across the rooftop. Boots hammer behind him. The gap keeps closing fast. Somewhere behind him, a voice growls in frustration, hair whipping in the wind. For one blurred second, the gap is almost nothing. A dark-skinned mercenary catches the cloth and hauls it taut, gold ring flashing, confident. It looks like just fabric until it isn't. White claws punch straight through the weave and catch Hyunho across the body. He's thrown backward, still gripping the torn cloth, falling through open air. How many more are waiting in the dark? A fist looms close on his face before he can recover. Above him, a masked spear wielder flips through the air, blade angled down. Then a gloved hand locks onto his collar and yanks him in. Nowhere left to run. The spear wielder slams him down with one hard strike, boot already advancing. He pins the spear flat against Hyunho's neck before he can rise. Caught. Blood streaks the tip and Hyunho's eye flicks back at him. Now Hyunho drives past him and the enemy staggers back onto his own planted blade. He goes down laughing, blood soaking his shirt, gripping his jacket like a trophy. That's how it should be, he says. Hyunho's eyes go cold and sharp. What's it going to take to put this one down? Hyunho's kicked skyward, a blade burying itself in the dirt beside him. The enemy flies past overhead, and his mask slips off midair. Barefaced now, he lunges again, pole weapon dropping down from above. Meanwhile, Rachel watches from above, a scar catching the light near her eye. Is this boy underneath the mask really Miguel, she wonders? His reputation never sounded like this. Miguel swings his pole down at Hyunho's head, and it connects dead center. The beast in front of him is attacking with real hunger, Hyunho thinks. Fine, he wants to look sharper too, and he plants his foot into Miguel's skull, hard, no hesitation. Hyunho tumbles through a forest of thin iron spikes, upside down and falling fast. Something explodes close to his skull, and he braces on instinct. He twists between the bars mid-air, blood already streaking his side. He lands hard on an open court. A masked figure is already closing in, spear raised. The weapon looms right at his face, no room left to dodge. So the fight tips into a chase, one impact bleeding straight into the next. A masked pursuer vaults the chain link fence after him. Teeth gritted, gaining fast, a thrown blade sticks into the ground a breath from his foot. He clears it, eyes glowing white, twisting past more blades raining down. He sprints flat out now, the pursuer's shadow closing in behind him. Something huge slams him down into the wreckage, a shadow that dwarfs him completely. He's stomped flat while he's still crawling, and still he won't stay down. Not yet, not yet. I can do more, he grits out. How is anyone supposed to fight something this big? A close, hooded glare stares him down, waiting to see if he'll get up. Then the frame blurs into streaks of speed, and everything cuts away. When it clears, he's already skewered. Two blades punched clean through his chest from something massive behind him. He drops backward into the fall, and for a moment, there's no fight left in him at all. Turns out the memory that surfaces right then is an arena, some other lifetime. A spiked bull dragging a man clinging to its horns. Its hooves tear the sand loose with every stride. And somewhere in that memory is the shape of the tactic that just put him down. Back in his own body, blood runs down his chin, and his eyes cut sideways, wary, still counting the threat. A hand reaches down towards something huge and dark below him, red eyes glinting in the murk, another hand straining up to meet it. Whatever comes next is already walking toward him, curved blade in hand, shirt soaked through with someone else's blood. He's smiling like this is nothing new. He smirks under the blade's edge, calm before he swings again. The strike catches another boy mid-step and throws him backward through the air. One more slash punches clean through a metal canister, spraying red mist across the street. Rachel looks up through it all, a fresh cut open over her brow. She doesn't flinch. Miguel keeps coming, blade drawn, cutting through the chaos. He doesn't stop. Somewhere above, a shadow drops from a window ledge toward a parked van. A voice rides over it all, cold and sure. If you can't tame them, you put them down. A gray-haired handler spits the rest, calling them things, not kids. Meanwhile, across town, Yusuf sits alone in a dark room, hands on his knees, staring at nothing. Now he's standing over a man who's already on his knees. He grabs him by the hair and yanks his head back, blood spraying from the scalp. Who are you? The man demands, still acting like he's the one in control. He isn't. Yusuf's fist answers instead, and the man goes down hard. By the time it's over, the van is packed with bodies. One of them mumbles that this kid already knows too much. Hyunho's hand closes around a bundle wrapped in blood-soaked cloth. Below him, the old woman comes down the stairs, calm and unreadable, carrying something in her hands. How long has she been lying to him? He remembers Nuna's warning now, and he believes it. His grip tightens on his own collar, sweat running down his face. Guess he was deceived by Noel. She spots the blood on his sleeve and stops, hand hovering over the stain. That wound, she starts to ask, but he's already leaning into her. She carries him on her back through the dark street, steady despite his weight. His mind drifts somewhere else entirely. Is Jang Hyun really alone out there right now? Now, a masked operative picks up his phone and gives just one word, Eden. On the other end, Noel's voice stays quiet and certain, laying out the next order. Finish them, he says, flat as that. So, a man in a white coat drags a limp body out through a doorway, legs trailing behind. Somewhere close, a gun barrel presses into a woman's temple, point blank, waiting for the word. Hyunho braces against a massive hooded figure, its cloak already dark with blood. Behind him, a muscular man levels a nail gun at his chest, phone still pressed to one ear, casual as anything. The shot lines blur red and streaked over and over. Nothing about this fight is over yet. Hyunho lunges toward her, one word tearing out of him, Nuna. A blade opens his side before he can reach her. Pain drops him to one knee. Meanwhile, across town, a bare-chested stranger stares at his phone after the call cuts off. Whatever he just heard, it yanks him straight to his feet. Claws rake toward Hyunho's skull, close enough to graze hair. Is this it? Then a woman with burning red eyes shoves between them. She's raging. He nearly put a hole clean through someone's skull. Now the man with the nail gun braces as a hooded shape swings an arm his way. He looks up mid-motion, breath catching, words dying in his throat. A capped attacker spins into a kick, then grabs the nail gun barrel and wrenches for control. Only when he sees the other man's face does he ease up, almost amused. So it's you. The reputation comes rushing back. They called him the Legend of Dead Mansion for a reason. Sean's boot pins the man down, stun weapon in hand. He kicks the helmet clean off and fires. For a second, the pinned man twists free enough to aim the weapon back up at him. It doesn't matter. Sean's strike lands first, and the fight is over before the shot ever fires. Around him, the cost is still standing. A man kneels, spitting blood. A woman curls her body around a child to shield it. Back in the present, the man just rests the nail gun on his shoulder like it's nothing. He stands there in his boots, still and silent, while someone below starts talking. Turns out someone recognizes him. A young man recoils, kicking back in shock. That, beside him, a girl with a bloodied face puts it together out loud. He's the one they'd been talking about. He just smiles, easy and cocky. The nail gun rests near his own throat like a threat pointed at himself. Bad sign. Elsewhere, cuffed and calm, a green-haired prisoner drinks from her cup like she owns the rooftop cafe. Hyunho sits across from her, the whole skyline stretched out between them and the silence. She looks tired, chains resting against the table's sugar jar and creamer. Nothing about the scene says danger, except the cuffs on her wrists. Well, she says she can't lower her guard yet, not until he proves he's cooperating. He just stares back, not fully buying it. Turns out she has more to say. She asks if he knows there were earlier generations of good children before his. Version 1, she calls them, made a whole different way. Chains circle both her wrists and ankles, heavy despite the coffee and small talk. Hyunho cuts in, is this really important? She calls it another form of cooperation, and keeps going. The version 1 children, she says, trained a completely different way. Hyunho's eyes go wide. Handcuffed hands drop a sugar cube into her coffee, calm as anything. For a second, the image bleeds into memory, just a flash. A schoolgirl swings a bundle of books like a bat. A soldier pins a hooded man to the ground behind her. Then she pours in the cream, unbothered. Every one of them, she says, was built to order, tailored to whatever the buyer wanted. Meanwhile, the sugar tongs click against the rim, one quiet beat before the real question lands. The boy studies her over his cup. Are the old ones stronger than his own generation? He wants to know. She shrugs inside her cuffs. Version 2 trained harder, she says, so version 2 wins. Now the muscular man swings a slab of steel through the gunfire meant for him, sparks skidding off the metal. Sean dives straight through the crossfire, bullets missing him by inches. He plants a flying kick into the raised weapon, closing the gap in midair. Is he fast enough? Impact. The blonde fighter piles on, boot cracking toward the man's skull. The nail gun snaps up and blocks it clean. Expected. Only the muscular man doesn't fold. He twists through the impact instead, veins standing out with the strain. Then he turns the block into a counter. One sweep of his leg later, tools scraping the ground. Now it's the blonde fighter spinning through the air. The fight flipped in a breath. A masked man reaches into the pouch on his belt for a weapon. Too slow. Yusef is already on him, one strike putting him down before the gun clears its holster. Turns out the muscular man carries a tape measure along with his tools, and he stretches it across the body he just dropped like he's logging inventory, not a person. Roughly 841, he notes. Flat, the same cold math the version 2 training built into him. So, the scene blurs through a streak of speed lines to another fallen man. Bruised and bleeding himself, he keeps measuring anyway, calling off the next number. Arm length, 614, long ones 2. He grabs his next target and throws him hard into the pavement, debris kicking up on impact. Somewhere in the fall, he takes a hit of his own. He lands upside down, drill and tape measure scattered around him, blood running from a cut on his scalp. Still, he finishes the count. Task's done, he says, like the injury never happened. He's still down when a light-haired figure steps out of a bright doorway behind him, and the moment tightens again. Sean pulls back a torn curtain, eyes locked on someone out of frame. Not down for the count already, he needles. Then just a shadow crosses a chest. The next hit already loading. The muscular man snarls back, calling him a brat who knows exactly how to get under someone's skin. Know what, Junior? He grins, flicking sweat off his shoulder like a threat. Sean turns the weapon over in his hand. What's this thing really capable of? He names it Flat, Agata, field slang for a frame mold, and he's already worked out the whole set in his head. Hyunho comes in with the gauntlet already spinning, a kick and a burst of force behind it. Yusef meets it head on, leaping into a kick of his own. That again, he mutters, already sick of it. Hyunho reads his stride and his speed, running the numbers before the next exchange even starts. He fires the gauntlet straight into the incoming kick, timed to the half second. Contact. Yusef takes the burst full on, boots skidding back through the wet. Well, elsewhere, a two-toned haired fighter kicks a gun hand wide as a second attacker lunges up from below. He spins through the block and keeps swinging, fist already bloodied, grim through the whole exchange. One more hand thrusts out of the chaos, fingers set for the next grab. Just then, the tool-armed brute closes the gap in a blur, snarling that running away won't help. He lunges through the air, screwdriver flashing, boot crashing into Hyunho's guard. A blade point presses into Hyunho's shoulder before he can turn. The hit launches him clean off his feet. Now a hammer swings down, pinning him flat to the pavement. He doesn't move again. Now Hyunho's back on his feet, deflecting the next swing with his own knife. The screwdriver spins loose, useless now. The brute barks something furious and confused, not making sense of it, and fires anyway. Kali Arnis? Hyunho realizes, reading the man's footwork mid-swing. It's a stick fighting style built for close range, repurposed onto a gauntlet. He swings back hard enough that the brute has to duck. The clash sends debris flying. Both fighters slam hard into the ground. Something lunges from the wreckage, a hand reaching straight for him. Sweat stings Hyunho's eyes. The brute grabs a tool off his belt, and now he's stronger by the second. What's that thing running on? No time to answer, the tool's already swinging down at his skull. Meanwhile, across town, old woman walks home on the phone, laughing at nothing in particular. She has no idea a shadow's just fallen in behind her. The clawed man drops from above, fingers curled like blades, straight at Yusef. He punches through the dark, tearing the air open toward him. Ordered to retreat. Was that Null's command? Yusef's fury spikes mid-fight at the thought. The clawed man vaults a brick wall, already smirking, playing with him. Stay right there, Yusef roars and gives chase. Damn it, he pushed himself too hard this time. Yusef's side is already screaming. He grabs a shovel-sized weapon off the ground and swings it down on a stranger crumpled below him. The recoil punches straight back into his own jaw, blood at his lip. In a parked truck nearby, the driver watches the chaos, muttering under his breath. That damn yellow-haired brat, he says, shaking his head. Now Yusef's clinging to the truck's roof as it speeds off, a whipping chain throwing sparks past his skull. Didn't you hear what I said earlier? He shouts down, reaching for the driver. So his target goes down hard, sideways, eyes wide with shock. The struggle keeps going, bodies tangled against cold metal. Turns out the chase ends the other way around. A shadow falls over Yusef now, pinned flat under a hard white light. Somewhere just out of frame, a shape steps closer through the dark. A voice above him warns him, cold. I told you to stop, didn't I? Somewhere close, a grinder snaps on, blade spinning fast. A shirtless brawler drags it across a rebar rod, sparks exploding as he grinds the metal down to a point. Meanwhile, a windshield explodes in a spray of blood. The driver behind it can only gasp, stunned at whatever he just saw made. Claw marks already open on his neck, and he stammers that he only meant to kill time and leave. A white-haired shape answers from the dark, unimpressed, and drives something straight through his back. A lone fighter drops onto the truck's roof like it costs him nothing. Blade already out. Interesting, he thinks, watching the wreck he's found himself in. Now the muscular brawler swings a fist slick with blood, and the truck's side mirror catches him looming over a blonde fighter just getting flattened. Then the tables turn. A nail gun cracks into his skull from below. He grits his teeth, snatches it up, and swings it back as his own weapon. But the blonde fighter is already on him, pipe cutting a fierce arc toward his head. A masked, shirtless enemy dangles off the truck's side, taunting him to bring his best. Yusef doesn't turn around. Through the truck's shattered window, wind whips Yusef's hair as the wreckage rolls past outside. Somewhere in the dark, something rises up with glowing eyes, and whoever spots it first goes rigid. What is that even? Turns out the chase isn't over. Someone goes airborne above the truck roof under a bridge for one long heartbeat, then gravity wins. The masked man slams into the ground, tumbling, scraped, and bleeding down one arm. He staggers through the smoke, off balance, gear hanging loose, his mask slips, one arm hangs bloodied at his side, then his hand goes slack. What's left when the dust settles is rubble, a slab of broken stone, a bent beam, nobody left standing to claim it. Dusk settles over a quiet street lamp already lit, the chaos left behind for now. Well, he isn't done running. He crouches in a doorway, blood soaking one shoulder, bracing at something off panel. He drags himself to the gate of Jinsol Wood Industry, telling himself he had no choice, not really. Rubbing his neck, he sighs that this whole thing has gotten seriously troublesome. Then he looks back down the street. You really chased me all the way here? Above the rooftops, the pursuer he can't shake drops back into view, weapon already in hand. How much farther does he think he can run? Cold-eyed, two-toned hair catching the last light. Yusef stares straight down at him. Nearby, an old man drags a handsaw across metal, sharpening it slow. He hauls open the wooden gate, and Yusef is right there in the doorway, weapon gripped, watching. The rebar rod plunges through him before he reaches the door. He screams. The old man's face goes white with horror. Eden, he cries out, and the boy everyone's been hunting finally has a name, and a father watching him fall. So Yusef stands over him, rebar still in hand. The boy lies pinned and bleeding beneath him. Now the fight is over, and Yusef just stands there, back turned, head down, saying nothing. So a man in a dark coat grabs Yusef's collar, fist cocked for one more hit. A black-haired stranger yanks him free instead and hauls his limp body clear. The stranger keeps going. He swings a rebar rod at another shadow while the old man watches, blade in hand. Somewhere close, an eye goes wide, bracing for the next hit. The old man lunges first, sure he can win. One punch. His head snaps sideways, blood already flying. Well, beaten and bloodied, he's left on the ground. One question gets barked down at him. What does he think he's doing? A young man stands alone by the bridge, sunset behind him, blood tracking down his face. He doesn't wipe it off, hand just hanging at his side. Unreadable. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to an abandoned building. Dusk light spills through broken windows, empty and still. Inside, a tired man slumps at a table, rubbing the back of his neck. Across from him sit Yusef and his father Kwon Byung-woo, a guard standing behind them in silence. Turns out there's a memory behind it. An old man collapses and the tired man screams, lunging to catch him. A white-haired attacker stands over him with a bloodied knife, the same gash marking the man's shoulder today. Before that, the man and his father had walked this road, already wary, already not trusting him. Yusef stares at the old wound on the man's arm, turning the timeline over. A month back? Was that Sophia's blade? He says nothing, just glances away as family photos line the shelf behind him. Honestly, his father bows his head at the table, muttering he has no excuses. Yusef just waves it off, calling it fine, already old news. A hand reaches for the phone on the table. No word from the handler since that day, the servant says, just orders through this phone. Yusef listens hard, doubting that person could really manage all this alone. Naturally, his father stares at the photos, saying he never asked for this when he ordered Eden. Ordered. Yusef repeats the word like it doesn't fit in his mouth. His father agrees to tell him everything he knows. Yusef stands over him and asks it straight. Did he really buy Eden? Meanwhile, outside at dusk, Eden crouches alone, hugging his bad arm. His eyes flick around like he's still waiting for the next blow. Just an empty alley now. Debris scattered across the ground, quiet. Elsewhere, a dark-haired man sits in a holding cell while a guard watches from the doorway. Beside him, Yusef. Both faces hard, both saying nothing yet. So a hand grips his neck from behind, and the voice wants an answer. What's he going to do now? He's already turning it over. Noel's dangerous. But that's not the question that matters. He watches a younger man pass, perched tense on the bench, tracking every step. Whatever happens, he decides, protecting his father comes first. In an old photo, a hand pokes at a boy's laughing face, a memory that used to feel simple. Meanwhile, an old man sits alone in the dark, checking his phone. His hand finds a childhood photo, a boy gripping a big man's hand outside a shop called Jinsol Woodworking. Even father bought me for a reason. Hyunho looks down, troubled, turning the old wound over again. Does protecting a man who once bought him even count as family? As long as his father isn't hurt, he decides nothing else matters. Now Yusef rakes a hand through his hair, restless. Hyunho watches quietly, then finally pushes him. Talk to your father more. Yusef leans back, waving it off with a smug grin. Talk about what? Turns out his father just keeps working, alone at the bench, hands worn from years of it. That night, Yusef sits outside in the dark, head down, turning the same thought over. To his father, he thinks he's never been anything more. A hand finds his shoulder. Gentle and wordless, it says enough. Well, back in the cell, he kneels now, shirt torn, a hand reaching for his head from behind. He looks up warily and says nothing. What's even left to fight for in a room like this? Then it hits. An explosion rips through, debris tearing past in the rain, and fire climbs the wall with a roar. Two shapes stagger against the blaze, one thrown forward, the other lunging to catch him. Yusef looks up, wide-eyed. A figure in a dark jacket looms right beside him. 20 years back, Eden's story starts here. The doors creak open at a shop called Jinsol Woodworking. A man wipes his glove clean, blood on it, some rough job just finished. A boy stares into the dim room past him, then breaks into a scream. Dad! He bolts, fists clenched, teeth gritted, cutting across the yard. His feet skid to a stop, something sharp glinting at the edge of the ground. A man in a blood-streaked jumpsuit tugs the boy to move, then kneels to make him an offer. The boy just stares back, flat and unimpressed. Seriously. Now years fold forward and the man laughs, carrying him piggyback through the yard. A woman guides a child across the street while he watches from the corner with the other kids. From the car, the man watches him run for the gate, waving, happy, no idea what's coming. He presses his hand to the window, eyes closed, smiling faintly, holding on to the moment a little longer. So, a boy sprints across the road with a truck bearing down on him. Someone gets flung through the air instead, blood spraying past a driver, frozen in shock. He lands grinning, blood-soaked, calm. Somewhere close, a hammer lies dropped beside an empty chair. Now the scene cuts to a Gothic cathedral tower. Inside, a bearded priest stands mid-sentence, addressing what just happened, his eyes pale and unblinking. So, he's talking to a haggard, disheveled man chasing a rumor. Since he first heard it, the man says he searched every corner for the place behind it. The two stand close, sizing each other up. Turns out he's found it. Dead mansion. Only that place, he insists, can make what he needs. A hand lays a document on the desk. Inside it, skeletal x-rays, case file fields, a subject, a place, an order form for a child. The priest agrees. This is the right place. Then he slides over the product form and asks the man to fill it in. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Jinsol timber industry. Autumn leaves piled by open doors. Inside, a towering suited man looms over another, who cowers by a chair. A hand settles on a boy's head. He stands stiff, a cross pendant around his neck, dressed like it's a funeral. At his feet, an adult's arm lies motionless on the floor. Whose hand is that? The bearded man gasps, eyes wide. He lurches toward the boy, sweating, and grabs for him. Jinsol, he chokes. It's me, you're... He's already given him a dead son's name. The boy bows his head, greeting the priest as father. While backpack still on, he plants his feet wide and screams. Turns out the man reaches for him across the table, and the boy just walks past. He only stares back, hard and unreadable, then turns away, head down. Outside, snow falls past an empty chair by the workshop door. Now the boy gets home, watching the man work a nail gun from across the room. Without turning around, the man tells him to go rest in his room. He pauses, bag in hand. What was he even going to say? The man's mouth curls into a faint smile. He doesn't doesn't show the boy. Then he grips the boy's wrist, hard, bandaged fingers digging in as the boy pulls back. Moments later, the boy's on the floor by the kitchen doorway, not moving. He glances back over his shoulder, startled. Yes, he answers. Blood still marks the rag in his hand. Still, the woodworker asks if Eden wants chicken tonight. Eden says nothing. He just watches him, wide-eyed, from below. Yes, I'd like that, Eden says, and for once the grin isn't forced. Dinner is nothing fancy. A takeout box of sauced chicken, 1 can of soda, a single bulb over a worn little table. They eat side by side in the small apartment, quiet and close, almost like any ordinary family. Meanwhile, nights like that don't last. The woodworker drinks alone now, can after can, unshaven, hollow-eyed, rain streaking the window behind him. On the table sits a photo of another boy, the son he actually lost. He's laughing in some sunlit afternoon Eden was never part of. Eden sits close by, barefoot, mostly forgotten. Eden tells him straight out, he was made to replace his son. He says it plainly, no accusation in it at all. Does he even know what a line like that costs him? His father freezes, the jar shaking in his grip, eyes gone wide. That's why he'll do anything to satisfy him, Eden says, forcing the smile so he won't have to watch it land. Something in his father breaks. He turns away, jaw tight, then buries his face in his hands. You don't need to, he mutters. There's no reason for any of it. Turns out, this isn't Eden's first cold night alone. Something small pulls his attention. The memory slides back further to before this house, before the chicken and the quiet table. Snow falls over an alley stacked with bagged trash. A smaller Eden stands under a street lamp, gripping a sack, waiting on someone who isn't coming. Back in the house, Eden slips the curtain open while his father sleeps. Instead of bed, he sits at a screen, eyes darting sideways, on guard. Somewhere close, a man gasps in pain. Then his father jolts upright out of sleep, sweat-soaked and wide-eyed. Now, somebody shouts his name down the stairwell in alarm. On the floor lies a small machine, crashed and broken. Eden just holds up the fix between his fingers, blood running from a fresh cut on his chin. I figured out the problem, he says. His father stares at the blood on Eden's hand, sweat breaking across his own face in horror. What does perfect even look like to a kid this young? Eden just smiles through it. Closer to being perfect, right? A hand reaches for his cheek and Eden laughs, bright and open, like the cut doesn't matter at all. Years later, the same man stands alone in a dim room. A photo frame still watches from the dresser, phone lit in his hand. Whatever the call says, it breaks something loose in him. His face turns. Quietly, he starts to cry. Turns out the photo shows a boy holding his father's hand outside Jinsol Woodworking. Eden, he murmurs, and the name catches in his throat. He lingers in the doorway, hand trembling, then sinks back into his chair. Just an old man, alone with what's left of the photo. A sudden crackle outside snaps him out of it. His head comes up, startled. Now a girl in a floral kimono crouches in the doorway light, sparkler burning in her hand. No need to worry, she tells him, calm as anything. He turns toward the light, uneasy, and asks who's there. But of course, pack it all together, she says, and it hits different. The sparkler in her hand bursts into a bright, violent flare. Silver hair flickers in the shadows behind her, watching. The blast rips through the dark, debris and fire flung wide. One shape flies through it. Yusef throws himself over the girl as embers rain down. Meanwhile, the doorway gives way, and the old man drops through fire and smoke. Father, someone screams, but the flames don't answer. Fire spreads fast around him, fallen and still. The girl crouches beside him. She's smiling, unaffected, like none of it touches her. Two men break through the smoke at a dead run. Somebody yells for them to stop, the warning lost in the roar. So Hyunho lunges for the gray-haired man wrecking the scene, trying to pull him off the old man. Can he get him clear before this gets worse? The kick lands first and blood is already on his face. The gray-haired man raises a scythe over the fallen man despite a warning to stop. He swings anyway. Yusef lunges in first, fist already flying. Turns out it isn't over. Hyunho crouches low, already bracing, as a dark shape looms behind him. A blade cuts clean through the smoke. A gunman presses the barrel to the gray-haired man's scarred head. Hey, he warns, flat. It looks like the gunman has him beat. Instead, the gray-haired man's blade beats the bullet before the shot lands clean. Hyunho crouches low, ready to move, a hooded figure closing in from below through the fire. The armed man stays at his side. Well, the armed man plants himself in front of Hyunho like he's shielding him. Assistant, someone calls him, nothing more. Then the gun presses into Hyunho's back. Is this rescue a trap after all? Got it, the man asks, and it isn't really a question.